let's get this party started, guys. I noticed that Fresh and Fit went on Tim Pool's thing. I guess Tim Pool has Timcast and his own channel. This one is on Tim Pool's channel. It's the Culture War, episode 27: Dating, Masculinity, Men's Issues, and Marriage with Fresh and Fit, and I guess Jason Howerton. I'm curious. I mean, we're fresh off Fresh and Fit's massive L they just took from YouTube for being, not for what they're saying, but for being provocateurs and how they're saying it. And so, like, yeah, let's see what we got here. The Culture War with Timothy Fullerton. Let's okay. When does it start?
Fresh and Fit.
There we go.
And
I think last time they were on here though, they got in. This is when Tim Pool was pushing them on the whole thing where they were falsely copyright striking people for criticizing their content.
welcome to the Culture War podcast. We're gonna be talking about men, dating, masculinity, marriage.
I love men. That's right up my alley.
And we've got a couple of really interesting gentlemen hanging out to have this discussion. Of course, we got Fresh and Fit. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Woo! Yeah, I'm pretty sure the worst, considering they have never been in a stable relationship. So it seems interesting. Like, yeah, we're gonna talk to these guys about dating and marriage. It's like, oh, are they? They're not really dating people. They're not doing traditional dating. They're just kind of messing around. They're not married, so why talk to them about it? It's just weird.
Let's go. Fresh and Fit, one of the most controversial podcasts on the internet. We talk about a bunch of things, whether it's making money, how to date properly in a modern day world, getting in shape, getting your fitness on point, and just becoming a better man in general. The number one male self-improvement podcast in the world.
Let's go. Well, who are you guys individually?
Okay.
Oh, Myron Gaines, former Special Agent of Homeland Security Investigations. I did that for approximately 10 years. Then transitioned over to the content creation side, had a fitness business. And then I realized, wow, guys need help with getting girls as well. So we kind of, encompass all of that and help guys become better so that they can become more attractive and just live the life that they want.
Right on.
And I'm Fresh, Freshman CEO, island boy from a small island, came here with big dreams, started a podcast with Myron, talk about dating, lifestyle, success, and now we're here today on Timcast.
Right on. We got Jason Howerton hanging out. Grab that mic, buddy.
Yes, sir. Yeah, what's up? I'm Jason. I am the opposite of you guys. I
Love
am
my channel.
I'm
Thank you.
boring.
I appreciate that.
I'm a boring dad, business owner.
I feel like you're a manosphere person. Who just said that you like my channel? Why do I feel that way? Oh, you are, right? Angela Knight. I feel like I've heard you before. I've heard of you before. Why do I know your name? I feel like have I seen you on one of these podcasts before? I'm curious.
And Lindsay, we're dating.
What is this? Get out of here.
Owner who really, my family is my life. I run a business, a digital agency where I do pretty well working with creators and influencers. And then I also have a High Value Dad, which is basically a network trying to help dads become better versions of themselves as dads, as leaders in their businesses, all that kind of stuff. And so that's really my mission right now, even more so than the business, is really trying to help fathers discover kind of who they are and who they need to be the best leaders for their families. Because cool. People get off track in this modern society. So there is some overlap, but I would say our philosophies are a little different, but I'm excited about it.
Well, let's get right into it, man. We keep hearing about men being in crisis. Young men, this is an interesting point. There was this data that came out a few years ago that shows men under 30 are increasingly staying virgins. They're not having sex. Now, the funny thing about that is...
Yeah, true. Not me. No. Yeah, I mean, listen. I honestly think the majority of that is because men are, for the most part, I think it's just that men are really just focused, preoccupied on like a lot of video games and like pornography. I think that men are more socially awkward. I think part of it is that like they don't have fathers, guiding them into, helping them talk to women. I think that a lot of the landscape has changed, obviously. Women are becoming obsolete. Angela Knight's the woman who wrecked MLD, the loser who went viral for the... Yeah, I know the indoor guy. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's interesting.
I was talking to Seamus Coughlin, and when I brought this up, he's Christian, conservative, very Catholic. He goes, based. And I was like, based? And he's like, because on the surface, it's like, oh, young men not having sex is a good thing. And I'm like, no. The Christian conservative perspective should be it's a bad thing. The liberal perspective should be it's a bad thing. And the conservative view should be these men should be married. And they should not be virgin. They should be married with a wife and having children. And they're 29 years old and they've never had a real relationship.
Well, I think the statistic is actually that like men 30 and under haven't had a sexual partner in the past year, and that number has similar-ish for women. I think that's what it is. Something like that. Like the men reported not having sex I think it's 20. It's a third of men. I think it's in less than like the past year or something. I don't know.
So just in general, outside of that, we see all this stuff, toxic masculinity. We hear stories about men in crisis. Suicide rates are going way, way up.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to kick it off, what's going on and why is there an issue with men right now?
You want to kick it off first?
I mean, for the most part, guys nowadays want to have a lifestyle where they have women, of course, you know, the cars, you know, the job, the career. But for the most part, guys nowadays are struggling.
If you want that lifestyle, that's going to be why you're not going to get a girl. If you're just focusing on cars and wanting women, because then you're just saying you want a bunch of women to fuck. I mean, you're literally objectifying women. It's the same as when we're like, I just want a bunch of guys to have sex. It's like, okay, if you want that, chase your dreams, brother. But if you want to be like a human being, you find a partner. It doesn't mean you have to force a relationship, but like, not a bad idea to date, to be with somebody potentially in the long run. I mean, you're that like instantaneously, if you go into an interaction with a woman with the intention of actually sleeping with them, or excuse me, with the intention of actually potentially dating them, you're going to have a higher chance of that relationship, because they're going to realize you just want to fuck them if you're just there to fuck them. And then you're not going to be able to do that. Like it's that simple. You know, you have to, increasing your dateability is about actually, you know, being somewhat on par. Women don't really want to necessarily have casual encounters as much as dudes want to, you know. So if that's what you want to do, go for it. But women are going to pick up on that, and it's not going to happen, you know, unless you get really good at manipulating women. In that case, I mean, you know, God bless you, I guess. I personally wouldn't recommend it. But yeah,
because girls, once again, want a dominant, successful guy that has their shit together. But
yes,
men, I guess, for the most part, are kind of like subduing to, I want to say, the TV stations that they watch, you know, what they hear on the radio waves, what they see in, like, you know, movies. And it's more like men are not becoming men like they should be. And you could blame it on technology, social media, whatever you want to blame it on. Men are not becoming men. And women are becoming more masculine. And I feel like, for the most part,
I feel like part of it is that women have money now. And so women have a greater amount of selectability in the guys that they want to date. It's not really that like deep. Like back in the day, guys came to the table with money, and girls came to the table with like looks and homemaking skills. And now women are coming to the table with money. So now guys have to, you know, they have to adjust. They have to be a little bit more than just a paycheck, and not being able to get a divorce because that used to be bad and illegal. Now it's a little more normalized. I don't think divorce is ideal, but you know, women don't have to endure. They don't have to endure situations. So you have to come to the table with a little bit more than just shitting and farting and working 12 hours a day. You know, take the good with the bad. You got to be a little bit more of an empathetic person. I think it's hard for men sometimes because, you know, I got a pretty big ego. It could be difficult for me to listen to anybody else, let alone a woman. But you got to try to be a little bit introspective and like actually focus on like, okay, what could I be doing to improve, to be more dateable? You know, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Just do a little more to be a little more dateable. Try to be a little bit more what women want. So you're going to probably have to be a little bit more empathetic, a little more emotional, but in a positive way. You don't have to go around crying everywhere. But I think it's cool if you can confide something into a girl you're with. You know, you can actually relate to them emotionally a little bit. You don't have to cry on the first date, but there's nothing wrong with being like, yeah, you know, and talking about stuff. So
you look at women today, they're in school, getting careers, getting high-paying jobs, and they want a man that's more dominant than them. And men today are not that. So
yeah, what do you think, Jason?
Sure.
I have a question. What can you just for the context of this conversation? Can you define what you like? What is a man? Like, what is it like? The ideal man. What does that look like?
Adult human male. But not
it's Andrew Tate, guys. I fucking love him.
you understand the basic.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be a man in the philosophical sense, I guess?
Correct.
I like how Tim Pool needed to make sure that we made sure that we exclude trans people. We got to make sure we bring up trans people. Which I find interesting because what it means to be a man has always been philosophical. Like different cultures, I think they fucking Roman culture, like fucking dudes that fucked guys, but they were the dominant ones. That was like a real man, you know? But yeah, I mean, what it means to be a good man to me, I mean, really it's just what it means to be a good person. But some people like to, I think there's especially a lot of men gravitate towards the mythology of what it means to be a man because historically that's been fucking awesome. I mean, it's a guy that has everything, the money, power, respect, etc., etc. And there's like a whole mythology in it. And that's what guys want. They want to have money. They want to have power. They want to have respect. And I think that that's cool. I think that they should always also try to be good, you know, positive impacts in the world. You know, maybe not sex trafficking people. That's, I think personally, hot take, sex trafficking. Not a big fan. I don't know how about you guys feel. Am I the only one? Yeah. but okay. I mean, listen, man. For me, when it comes to like trans men and shit, because they lightly touched on trans people. I think it's so bizarre that people in the manosphere even talk about trans people, whether a trans man is a real man or a trans woman is a real woman, when they don't even know how to be men in and of themselves. When your fucking messiah is a literal sex trafficking rapist, I'm thinking that maybe you don't know what it means to be a man. So personally, might want to stay away from talking about that topic.
Correct. Yeah, I think most people can define it a different way, but I would say what a man is to me is a man that has family as a main priority, has as well.
All right, right off the bat. Okay, whatever.
A good stance on, for example, having a foundation of success, which means monetary gain, and then I would say as well has the integrity and leadership skills that most people want to have.
Okay, that's fair. And so so this is what I would say is that for men today, they're getting a lot of conflicting messages on what they should be doing, right? You have one faction that is telling them that their masculinity is toxic, that it's sexy.
There's no faction that's telling there's not really a faction telling men their masculinity is toxic. Feminism isn't saying all masculinity is toxic. TikTok feminism is saying all masculinity is toxic, right? But most feminism is just saying like, hey, men should be a little more feminine, which I agree with. It doesn't mean you have to be fucking walk around in a dress. Being more feminine could just mean that like you express yourself better. You're a little bit more in tune with your emotions. It's not really this hot take. And it's about like expressing yourself before you have an emotional outburst. Men are emotional. They usually manifest through anger. When men keep their emotions in, they get violent. We know this. So it's good to get that out in healthy ways instead of letting it build up. That's all it really is about. You know, that's it. It's not this like huge hot take. Dudes don't need to go around wearing. I mean, if you want to wear a dress, be my guest. I don't care. You don't have to wear a dress. Just be a little bit more emotionally in tune. Be a little bit patient, especially if you're with a woman. Sometimes, listen. My wife goes through hormonal changes sometimes, and just be patient with her. And not that I don't either. I mean, I'm having like a dog shit day today. I've been just kind of quiet to myself the whole day, but. My point is come to the table with a little bit more patience, love, and understanding. Prioritize love a little bit more. Don't think it's gay, because that's one of the things. Like, some men are so insecure that anytime somebody says like, oh, be a little bit more feminine, they fucking melt down, because that's like some kind of a question to their masculinity. Because like, hey, maybe if you were a little bit more empathetic and emotional in a positive way, no, that's fucking gay. It's like, okay, relax. Like, you don't have to be so insecure that you can't like cope with saying like how you feel for the fucking day. So
just open doors for a woman and all these things equally as bad. And then there's kind of another faction that is telling them,
who's telling them that you can't open door? Okay, whatever.
A couple of different conflicting messages. One is to abstain from doing some of the things that traditionally are masculine, like being aggressive in your career, growing as a professional.
To do that.
And then there's another faction that says, I'm just going to be blunt about it, like for lack of a better way to phrase it, like get money and bang bitches. Basically, is like that's kind of like the what I see across the internet.
Hey, don't be afraid. Yeah, just focusing on getting money and women is loser shit. Yeah, I'll just say that.
Of this masculinity.
I mean, that's a good start though.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with like wanting to get money, right? Like you should try to listen. Here's the thing. I think it's great to try to be as successful as you can be without stepping on people. That's the best thing that I would say. If you have to make an entire business on shaming women or abusing women or abusing anybody, really, you're a piece of shit. Do your best to grow as a person without being a scumbag. And so
what'd you say?
Get money is a good start if you're trying to build a foundation for yourself as a man. Absolutely. I would argue with the bang bitches part. Okay, I'm not here to be the Puritan at all. I'm not like the morality police saying sex is bad or like don't have sex with women. Not at all what I'm saying.
Yeah,
what I'm saying is
gross.
that when you become a man, when you're out of college,
Don't have sex with women, have sex with men. Because think about it. Men probably have had sex with more women, which means that if you have sex with a woman, you're having sex with every guy that they've ever had sex with. So basically, being gay is straight. Am I right?
and you need to start charting your path to become a functioning man in society. And
True.
Ideally, you want to be a
true.
high value man, right? You want to become something of substance. Your goal.
Yeah, when you're like, listen, again, I say get it out. I mean, I fucked around a lot when I was younger. I mean, I'm not going to lie. So whatever, I was a little bit of a fuckboy. I don't look back fondly on those days, Sometimes I do, but I don't. But you're gonna go like the way that you develop in your 20s and like you're really your early 20s or your late teens and to your mid 20s. That's really what's gonna set the stage for you. So you want to make sure that you if you're just focusing on trying to get sex and money the entire time at the expense of actually developing relationships, you're gonna be emotionally stunted, which is a problem that I had. I was poly for a very long time, and like it was difficult to become monogamous, but I'm like actually happy. I'm not coping. I'm not like, I'm actually happy because if I really wanted to, I could go back. I don't want to. Like, there's something very, for me, positive about being in a monogamous relationship with my wife. It's very like nice and emotional. I'm focusing my energy on like actual success in my career, which is something, you know, because I would spend, you know, when you're fucking around girls, like you're spending a lot of time looking to talk to other girls. You know, you want to make sure that if you want to have a family in the future, at the very least, you should always have it in your head when you're dating girls that you are open to a relationship and not just be purely sexual. So,
goal should be to meet and engage with women in a healthy way.
Sure.
And if that results in, you know, mutual sexual behavior, great, do your thing. But in my opinion, in your head, you should know that what you're working towards is to build a family.
Yeah, 100%.
Because
I agree with
there
this
is,
guy,
I don't think you even become a man in the real sense until you have a family. It changes you in ways that I can't really even describe. Like it turns you into a different version of yourself to where your entire life you're focused internally on what you want and chasing pleasure and chasing, you know, various things. When you have a family, it completely flips that inside out and you become a selfless protector, provider of your clan. Sure. And so dating should be in pursuit of that. I'm not saying it should happen instantly. Maybe it takes you 5 years of dating and maybe a lot of sex.
No, like I said, like it should be in your back of your mind. You shouldn't force yourself to find a date. If you're 20 years old, don't try to be with the person you're going to be with forever. But be open to it. If you search too hard for something, you're going to find it, but you're not going to find it in like its best form. You're going to get fool's love. And it's like fool's gold, get it. You want to date with being open to being with somebody, and if you don't think you want to be with somebody in long-term capacity, then don't date that person. I know it's such a hot take, right? I think you should do that, but if you don't find that person for a while, that's fine.
Happens and it's great. Like sex is great, it's fun, it's cool, but this idea that you know, get it out of your system and you just have sex with a bunch of women as you're, you know, figuring out what you want to be in your life, I think is more dangerous than people think.
I get what you're saying. I get. I mean, there's so many different ways to interpret that. Like getting it out of your system. I understand. Like I think it fundamentally is okay to sleep with different. Like one of the things for me that makes it easier to be in a monogamous relationship is because I've already been with like enough women that I'm okay. I don't feel like I'm never going to find something that's going to be better than what I have now. So for me, getting it out of my system is realizing like I'm never going to have better sex than I've ever had before than I am with my wife, because our sex is like very compatible. It's very good. It's pretty solid. It's pretty solid stuff. So getting it out of my system, I've experienced everything that I want to experience. You know, except the femboy, of course. But hey, you know, maybe one day. No, I'm just kidding. But I've experienced everything I need to experience, so I don't look back and go like, oh man, I wish. Like I'm pretty set in stone. So I think there can be some benefits to sowing your wild oats. But if your intention is to just rack up as many bodies as possible, then like I guess I see what you're talking about.
From a brain chemistry standpoint, what you're kind of training yourself to become long term, I don't think people think about those implications.
I think he's got a good point, though.
Okay. So let me be very clear. I think the family is the cornerstone of every thriving society. The nuclear family is absolutely needed. We believe in a nuclear family. We don't tell people to not pursue a nuclear family. However, pursuing
that's not true though, because you tell people that they have to hit this arbitrary number of 50 bodies to have sex with, which is just stupid. Like you are like the message that Myron talks about is antithetical to like the nuclear family, whether he wants to admit it or not. When you tell men that they have to chase this arbitrary number of fucking 50 girls before they're, you know, whatever. It's just like not productive. It's not helpful. It's not conducive. If you end up having sex with 50 girls as you find your true love or whatever you want to say, that's fine. But to set that arbitrary number is not putting the goal in mind for that man to actually find somebody. The immediate goal in their head is, oh, I have to hit 50. And it's a real thing, right? So like, yeah, no, you're not for the nuclear family. You're and it's okay that you're not. This is one of the problems, is it's the cowardice in the message. If you were just like, yeah, I'm fine with nuclear families, that's not my thing. Okay, I'm with you on that. That's fine. Be honest and upfront. But when you pretend that you're male advocation, like family oriented channel, when you're not, that's where things get stupid. Like you're just lying to people. And the people who believe them are just like, I feel bad for you.
nuclear family in today's day and age without prerequisite experience is extremely dangerous given what you're up against. So what we tell guys is, because you asked earlier, what is a man? I think obviously duty, purpose, leadership, strength, integrity, and the ability to provision, right? And when you have all these traits together, you're going to be you could be a good father. But what I want guys is to be in a position where they've experienced women, they understand women, and now they're coming to that choice on their own, right? And they're deciding to
Sure, you don't have to fuck 50 women for
do that versus being forced into it, pressured into it, etc. Because the things that were in place before to make family an appealable pursuit for a majority of men are no longer there. I'll explain what I mean by this.
Yeah, let me hear what you
Thanks to feminism, social media, the modern day world that we have now, where we live in what I call a Uber Eats type society where instant gratification is a thing, women have changed, and women have changed significantly.
We've all
Not only have they
changed,
changed, they've changed to a point where it's no longer in their best interest to stay within the confinements of a marriage. Now, even though I believe in marriage, right? Contrary to popular belief, people think that we just tell guys to run
You don't, but okay.
around and have sex with women. No, we tell them have sex with women so that you're in a position to pick the best woman. Because unfortunately,
Everybody is beheld to like ideas of instant gratification. This isn't a woman-only thing. But okay, let's.
most women don't come pre-assembled. Back in the 1950s, etc., we had religion, we had society shame, we had the fear of God, etc. All these.
Okay, but none of the values you preach align with any religious values. You preach as much sex as possible out of marriage. So like, what is this weird virtue signal? Realistically speaking, like, yeah, values have definitely changed, but a lot of the values from religion is like stay with the person that you're with at any at any expense. You know, potentially toxic and dangerous for either of the people in that relationship because they could get abused by their partner and they feel like they have to stay because that's what God tells me to do. And it puts them into a shaky situation. Okay.
These things were training wheels that kept women in line to be good, dutiful mothers, daughters, sisters, etc. But these conventions are gone. What do we have now? We have a modern day society where we tell women to be promiscuous. We tell women to go get your bag, girl. We tell women to go on OnlyFans. We tell women to make money by any means necessary, regardless of if it destroys their image.
Sure, there is an aspect that like normalizes women doing OnlyFans, and this is like younger girls on TikTok. Absolutely, it does happen. It's not a societal thing. Again, I find it frustrating when you have people like any of these people and like Tim Pool who think that online stuff is like the actual real representation of the world. Like, sure, like before they're complaining that all feminism is bad. No, it's not. Like only TikTok feminism. It really is TikTok. Social media feminism is like virtue signaling bullshit that's anti-male. It's the same thing with this OnlyFans idea. Like, yeah, get your bag, girl, get your bag. But frankly, I think it's wounding down. It seems like a lot of it is changing. The dynamic is reducing. Women are realizing they'll do only. I remember I had a person come in here and they were like, Papa God, I came in here a while ago. There's a girl and she's like, I mentioned I'm wanting to do OnlyFans because my friends are doing it and they were making money. And I was like, oh, you know, if you want to, you could do it. But I think you're better off going to school because that was their intention. And they did. And then it's like, you know, a year later they came back like, yeah, I'm better off now. All of them realized how much they hate it. Like, these women aren't doing OnlyFans and being massively successful. The overwhelming majority of them are doing it, and they're failing at it. They're realizing that if they want to make money, they have to show their whole fucking pussy and asshole, and they just don't want to do that. It's intrusive. It's mentally draining. It's distressing. A lot of them, you know, and if you really want to be successful on OnlyFans, it's never going to be private, and these women are realizing this, and that things are shifting. And so, like, yeah, there is a movement to normalize or more normalize promiscuity, I guess, in general. But frankly, I think that everybody that has high body counts should just be considered disgusting. Not just only women while we praise men for it, right? So, like, it's not this massive issue that we're trying to make it seem like. But
so what I'm saying is that I need guys to adapt to the new normal, and that's why I tell guys, hey, you have to have certain things in place. And I think a guy shouldn't even think about getting serious with women unless he's had sex with at least 50 partners. Yeah, now, that even though that sounds crazy, the reason why I say that is because women nowadays are more promiscuous than ever before. And if a guy isn't in a position to be able to identify women that are worthy of a serious relationship.
Not for nothing. Women are more promiscuous than ever before. Women still have lower body counts than men, generally speaking. The statistics are self-reported, so women might be lying down while men might be lying up. But generally speaking, I think that women tend to be more sexually reserved overall. Right? And you're typically going to find a woman in your sphere. If you're a guy that doesn't have a lot of sex, you're probably not in the same spheres with girls who like to have a lot of sex. Right? Like your average fucking, like they talk to girls that are in party spheres. No shit, they have tons of bodies and they're all about OnlyFans. And it's like, it's as if they think that every woman is just like that. So yeah, they're like, yeah, women are so promiscuous now. You're in a promiscuous sphere. You're all whores. You know? I've never really dated or met a woman that's had that high of a body count. I think one or two girls. One lived in a trailer park. She was wild, bro. But That's it. Like when I met my wife, like she's pretty reserved. I mean, I married a woman who's a social worker. You know what I mean? Like that's she's not going around hoeing all the time. I didn't meet her at a club. I mean, I met her on Tinder, but you know, we had similar values. So generally speaking, you're really not going to find a woman that has like so many more bodies than you. That's going to be like so crazily unrealistic and all this other shit. For the most part, you're probably going to find somebody that's like in your sphere. It's in your element. You're going to attract the crowd that you're around. And so, like, yeah, this isn't happening in this robust way. It's like, oh, these women are so promiscuous. They're more promiscuous, generally speaking, but they probably haven't fucked around. Like, you guys have probably fucked around as much, you know?
Well, he's going to get taken to the cleaners because most women have more experience with opposite gender than men do. If I told you have a boxing match in 5 years and your opponent is going to be training every single day and knocking people out, would you train or would you just sit in the house lethargic? You'd probably train, correct? Well, most guys,
yeah, sure, I would.
Guys effectively do is they sit in the house. They don't go out there and talk to more women. They don't understand female nature. They don't know how the world really works when it comes to dating and intersexual dynamics. They go into that boxing match with that person that's been training for a while and they get beat up. Why do they get beat up? Because women get training. What I mean by this is experience with the opposite gender as soon as they hit puberty. Men are hitting at them all the time. Men are telling them how to, men are trying to court them, etc. So women become very good at figuring out what the opposite gender wants, leveraging that to their advantage and able to extract resources, time, attention, etc. And most guys don't have the skills to deal with that.
I just kind of feel bad if you're this, the problem with this is that, listen, if you come into the game, we'll say, thinking that women just want to extract resources from you, you're never going to be happy. There are going to be people that are going to try to extract something from you all the time. I was with somebody who I was working like 60 hours a week. They didn't love me. They were incredibly lazy. They didn't care about me. It was a horrible relationship. I didn't act the best version of myself that I could have. I'm ashamed of the way I acted, but it's hard to when, like, and we were both bad for each other. Like, I'm not going to completely shit on that person, but you know, I will a little bit. Those people are going to exist, and sometimes they're not. Those people are not doing well nowadays. Those people will never be happy because people will realize that they're just there to try to siphon, you know, the life out of you. And your best bet is to like learn to move on in a healthy way. You know, I tried to be dedicated to different relationships and it didn't work out. And the best thing you could do sometimes is move on. But if you're thinking that everybody's going to do this, what you need to do is learn to identify those people and cut and run before it gets bad, rather than just assume all of them are there to extract wealth, as if you're trying to engage in some kind of a game. It's like all the girls, they're all going to be trying to extract something from you. So you need to learn how to get the better of them. It's not like chess. Like if a relationship is that mentally stressful, like just fucking be single at that point. You're going to find some people like that. You need to learn to identify them and stay away from them. You don't need, but to try to teach men that all women are coming at you with this kind of like weird mentality, that's destructive to men's, just destructive to men and their ability to create and be in relationships. So
I'll clarify one point. You said in today's day and age, it is no longer in the best interest of women to get married. But I think
to keep the marriage going.
But it is just a semantic point, right? Because I think I understand what you're saying. It absolutely is in the best interest of men and women to have a marriage going, but society pressures women in other ways and offers.
They're rewarded.
Yeah,
I don't think that's
there's
true.
certain rewards like OnlyFans. Which I'll just come out and say, like, OnlyFans.
So you're saying that women have an incentive to leave a man because they can do OnlyFans? Just no, you're just being stupid.
It's prostitution. It's just the digital version of modern prostitution. It's one thing to say that there's
without the STDs and potential physical abuse. That's probably what really separates it.
Like porn on the internet. Yeah. So someone does that. You know, people have made the argument it's digital prostitution, but there's no actual engagement between the individual. OnlyFans, literally, the men will message the woman who provide a menu of items, and then they will then pay the woman specifically to engage in an act.
Yep.
Like that's prostitution.
And do that. You could just look at the pics, sure.
And I just want to say real quick, like I gave a very overall and general sense of what's going on in the dating marketplace and intersexual dynamics between the two genders. I'm happy to go into each one more specifically, but what I meant in that regard was women are not incentivized to keep the marriage going. Once they
yes, they are. This is just stupid. I don't know what to tell you. Nobody wants to get divorced. Nobody's happy getting divorced. Statistically speaking, men do better after divorce than women. I know they've been pushed on this by destiny. But either way, it's such a terminally online thing to think like, women are incentivized to leave. No, they're not. Nobody wants to get into a marriage just to leave the marriage. Like, what a waste. Like, this isn't a video game. Like, it's not like you can just do a do-over. It's what a horribly destructive thing. Especially since women with kids tend to have it harder than men with kids, or single women with kids tend to have it harder with single men with kids. So, like, why would they want to move on? Nobody gets into a marriage thinking I'm going to leave, right? What ends up happening is like sometimes people fall out of love, and sometimes different partners will lose interest in being there for their other partner. I'm not saying it's more men than women, but different people check out of different relationships in different ways. They don't express themselves. They're not emotionally healthy. And the relationship dies. And it's because of the lack of effort from two people that develop resentment slowly. And you have to avoid that. And it's hard. It's difficult to do that. You know, you have to try to have fights that are actually productive. And it's not easy to have a productive fight with somebody that you're with when you're angry at them because you feel like they hurt you. It's not easy to approach a conversation with somebody that you love a lot that said something that you feel like was targeted or hurtful and made you like feel like less of a person. Because you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. But oftentimes when you can do that, you can kind of move through that in a way that's more productive so it doesn't happen the next time. It's an ego issue. And as a man, I have a tremendous ego, just like a lot of other men, and it can be hard. And that's one of the difficulties of it. It's hard. It's difficult to put your emotions aside for a little bit to have a conversation sometimes. That's really where the problem comes into. But you have to learn to do that.
Reach a certain threshold, maybe 5 years, 10 years, depending on the state. Well, it's cheaper for me to just like, or I'm going to be in a better situation if I divorce him,
no, you're
get
not.
the money,
no,
leave, get the child support, get the alimony, whatever it may be. So women don't have the same incentives that they used to have.
It's a magical idea. Like, what is the average child support? $400 a month? What is that per year? Like $5,000 a year? Costs $17,000 a year on average to raise a kid. You're not better off becoming a single parent with child support. They think that child support is magical. And you might say, like, what if the guy has a lot of money? Okay. Like, that's not the normal. We're talking about average. On average, you getting a divorce as a woman who will probably get the kid, you're fucked. If the guy has no interest of being in like there for their kids, you're getting a third of what you need to raise that kid, on top of the fact that you now need to deal with childcare costs, et cetera, et cetera. So
have to keep marriages going. That's why women initiate 80% of divorces in the West.
Initiation of divorce doesn't mean it's their fault. I'm not saying it's not their fault. I'm sure it's a mixture depending on the relationship. But the reality is women initiating the divorce doesn't mean that women are the ones that are causing the divorce. It doesn't mean that men are either. But I would argue that a woman probably has a little bit more of a reason to initiate a divorce than a man. It makes a little bit more sense if you're a man, especially on average, that's making a little bit more money than the woman. When you have more financial access, more access to leave. When you are the financial provider, you're the one that makes more money, you're not going to benefit as much as the woman from leaving the relationship. And when I say benefit, the benefit here is if the guy just stays in the loveless marriage, goes and fucks another girl, and comes back home and goes to sleep, whatever. If he decides to get a divorce, yeah, he might pay alimony. He might have to pay child support. He might feel like, so he doesn't really have the incentive. Meanwhile, the woman that's stuck in the loveless relationship, just like the guy is, she's going to say, I need to start initiating divorce so I can get alimony, so I can leave. So I have the money to leave, so I can maybe get a job. But a lot of situations, women will put their shit on hold. Women will put their life on hold a lot of times, so that they can support the guy that they're with. And so if you're in a 20-year marriage with somebody, if you're in a marriage with somebody for 20 years, you are going to put your life on hold, which means you're not going to be able to come out the other side as financially well. Okay, so that's why women are going to have to be like, okay, I have to initiate this divorce. And like, yeah, I believe in alimony for whichever person makes less money. You know, generally speaking, they probably put their life on hold for the other person to be supportive. That's usually how a relationship will work for the most part. If you guys make equal amounts of money, I imagine that, like, you know, whatever, they'll split it in that capacity. But yeah, so women have more of an incentive to initiate divorce when it's loveless because they're not in a happy situation and they have less freedom than the guy, I'd say generally speaking. But overall, there's no advantage to getting a divorce. Right? Does that make sense? That's it. And again, I'm not saying it's all men's fault or all women's fault. I'm just saying it's interesting that he'll read a statistic that 80% of divorces are initiated by women and then instantly decide that it's because it's the woman's fault, instead of being like, okay, maybe there's an issue with the man as well. But he's just teaching men to be victims, perpetual victims, and that's like the biggest problem here, right? So, do I have the YouTube alerts on? Just not reading them for some reason. Huh. Weird. Are you guys
Kevin
serious?
Slim super chatted $5. Myron's hair went from balding to budding. He's the new Benjamin Button.
Oh, maybe he got a little hair transplant, huh? I guess good for him, huh? Yeah, but thank you for the donation.
Okay, so part of my issue is a lot of this is we're speaking in generalizations, right?
Of course.
So like, and I think sure, but I think just like anything else, I think your experiences or your opinions are based on your experiences and what you've learned throughout your life. And I would push back to say, at least telling men as a general rule that those things are true, I don't think you're doing them justice. Because
what specifically?
Well,
I agree.
Well, number one, that women are not, there are not women out there who are incentivized to, like, when you build a family.
This guy's gonna get steamrolled. It's gonna be so bad. He's gonna optically, Fresh and Fit are gonna come out of this looking really good, I feel.
With a woman, and it should be very selective. You should be very, very careful of who you decide to start a family.
But that's my whole purpose, is to say most women are not necessarily going to be in that position to be worthy of a relationship. So you have to be extremely
true. And the same thing with men. Most men aren't going to be in that situation to be worthy of a relationship. Just to be clear, like both parties need to be worthy of each other. So
it's like because girls,
it doesn't require you to sleep with 50 women to get to that point.
But okay,
like
let's say it's not 50.
That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of women to sleep with.
60. 40.
Okay, and then
we
also,
don't know. So
now,
generally speaking, 50.
It could be 5.
Let me clarify. When I say 50, I'm not saying you're at 41. Hey, you found the right one. Hey, man, no, you still got to do.
That is what he's saying. I just want to be clear. Like, I watched enough of him to know that he has like a hardline 50. Like, it's just a stupid point. Like, no, if you hit 41, maybe you're okay. Why 50? Why 41? Why do you need to go through that many women? Especially since in order to like when I used to fuck around, I would be in like monogamous relationships. Well, no, I wouldn't. I'd be in long-term sexual relationships with a few different women. Right, that's what I would do. So I didn't rack up 50 bodies. You have to literally be going out to just have sex once and then move on. You're not going to learn how to deal with women. You're not going to learn how to be in a relationship with a woman or understand them emotionally to the degree, even if to figure out how they're being emotionally manipulated potentially, which is some of their argument, unless you like legitimately date them in a significant capacity, in a meaningful capacity. That number is silly. If you want to just have sex with a bunch of women and figure out how to do that at any cost, like, yeah, go around and just fuck a bunch of girls. Like, whatever. That's what you want to practice for, that's fine. But if you're trying to practice to be with a woman, having sex with a woman a bunch of times isn't going to help, especially considering Myron has already admitted that he's not even good in bed. Like, which is weird. It helps to be good sexually. This isn't like a joke. Like, this is legitimately him talking about how he thinks eating pussy is disgusting. This is him talking about, how he doesn't care about the satisfaction of a woman. And so like all he's doing is putting his penis in girls and coming. That's all he's doing. He's not learning how to be emotionally attentive. He's not learning how to actually be physically satisfying. And let me tell you, one thing that's going to bother anybody in a relationship is not being physically or sexually attentive to your partner. So Myron doesn't know how to be in a long-term relationship. The only thing he's going to teach you is the only thing he has to offer is money. And once he doesn't have that anymore, he's not going to be able to be somebody anybody wants to be with. And I guarantee you that any woman that does marry him is just going to hate him because there's nothing there. He's not particularly intelligent. All he has is money. He doesn't know how to satisfy women emotionally, physically, or sexually. He's just going to exist and be constantly berating of them. The only women that would date him are women that hate themselves because they have no self-respect. So, like, you're not going to learn to be in a healthy relationship listening to Myron's advice. You're going to learn how to like what's the strategy? Make as much money as you can so you can emotionally berate the woman you're with, and then when they say, hey, this is upsetting me, you say, I pay all the bills, so you need to deal with it. It's all you're going to learn to do with when listening to the bullshit that they preach.
Do 9 more, dude. You got to keep going. That's not a steadfast number. But what I am saying is, in general, right, 50 is going to put you in a position. What I'm more interested in for the guy is to have the correct mindset to assess female character and to understand female nature. And I know at around 50, you have some semblance of how women move. Because the thing is that a lot of guys don't understand that men and women are really different in how they approach relationships, how they view the world, how they deal with their emotions, etc. Most guys think women are like guys. They're not. They're completely different. And I want guys to have an understanding of fundamental.
Most guys don't think that women are like guys, but okay.
Mental understanding of female nature before they get into something as serious as a marriage, where the woman can absolutely destroy them because she has all the cards once you're married.
But you don't need to have sex for that.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, why do you keep donating this? This person's donated the same thing 3 times already. It's Myron's hair went from balding to budding. He's the new Benjamin Button. Like I appreciate the donations, but I've seen them already. Like I don't know what you're. Like I don't.
R34P3
I'll let it play
super
again.
chatted $5.
Why do you keep
Myron's hair
saying
went
this?
from balding to budding. He's the new Benjamin Button.
I'm assuming I've seen the pictures. It
Kevin
seems like
Slim super chatted $5. Myron's hair went from balding to budding. He's the new Benjamin Button.
Okay. I'm assuming
R34 PTR super chatted $10. Myron's hair went from balding to budding. He's the new Benjamin Button.
Okay. I don't know if you guys heard this before. Somebody told me that Myron's hair went from balding to budding. He's the new Benjamin Button. I'm assuming, because I saw I saw Abba and Preach's video on Fresh and Fit in the thumbnail where it looked like he's getting hair removal or whatever. It looks like he is. What I find funny, though, is like you'll criticize women for makeup and all this other stuff, and then you're going to get hair transplants. I mean, like, listen, me personally, I'm balding. I don't really care. I really just don't. But I mean, why be so insecure? You know, why being so insecure?
Well, like,
okay, go ahead.
Once again, when it comes to dating, right?
Yeah.
It involves everything, and sex is a big component on some level. Because if you think about it, when does it really start? You meet
but
a girl.
You guys don't know how to have sex with women. Like you admire and admitted it. So what is this?
You go on a date, you have an experience, but that ends with what? The result is sex, because you want to procreate. So ultimately, that's a big component of your relationship. Now, if you don't have that in place,
I do with my wife, but I usually just want to fucking nut.
It doesn't happen. Are you really dating that person? You're not. So that is important.
The other thing too is the reason why.
What?
The result is sex, because you want to procreate. So ultimately, that's a big component of your relationship. Now, if you don't have that in place and that doesn't happen, are you really dating that person? You're not.
Okay, that's just a dumb thing to say. So absolutely, sex is very important. But when you, this is what is the dumb. This is why, like, this is how they're so dumb. And the guy's not going to be able to push back correctly. You need to sit there and take notes and be able to push back. What he's saying is, like, it's really important to have, like, basically 50 bodies because sex is really important. You need to be good at it. One, you guys don't prioritize actually being good in bed. You're just looking to have as much sex as possible. The best sex you're ever going to have is with somebody that you're in, like, a long-term relationship with. My wife really has been the only person that I've ever been with that somehow it just keeps getting better. It's actually very bizarre. But when you're more comfortable with somebody, especially when you're a little bit more sexually intense and you're like, you know, you're not super vanilla. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with vanilla sex. You know, if you're sexually compatible and that's your compatibility, that's awesome. But it helps to be much more comfortable with them. And if the only aspect you're practicing, first of all, is sex, you're going to be worthless when it comes to every other aspect of a relationship because it's more than just sex. But two, you guys aren't even like actually learning to satisfy these women. So like you're not coming prepared. You're coming. That's it. You're just coming. That's all you're doing. So, like, yeah, if you want to get good at being in a relationship, you would practice being in relationships by dating, not looking for some arbitrary sexual number.
So that is important.
The other thing, too, is the reason why I want guys to have that sex is because for men to be good with women and to pick the right girl, they need to have something, what I call an abundance mindset. And we don't have an abundance mindset and you're operating from a scarcity mindset. Any girl that throws you sex or gives you some type of intimacy, you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to commit to her. So I want guys to know what it's like to already have had sex with women.
Yeah, I generally agree. You shouldn't commit to the first girl that'll have sex with you. But you don't need to have sex with 50 women to learn that.
Understand that it's not that special. I need them to get desensitized to it to a degree where they're able to assess the woman on her character versus her sexuality. So many guys make the cardinal mistake of, she's hot, she's great in bed, I'm going to commit to her. Not knowing that she's crazy, she's not a good candidate for a long-term relationship, and they get taken to the cleaners. So I just want...
But the thing is like your argument doesn't make any sense. And I'm going to explain to you why. Let's say you meet a girl. And you start dating her, and the sex is like, oh man, this is the first girl that would fuck me in like a year. And you settle down with that girl, and you decide to come and become in a relationship with them. 3 months in, you're like, oh man, this girl is crazy. Well, here's the thing: if you probably didn't marry them in 3 months, so you can still leave without getting a divorce. Like what they're saying, the justifier assumes that they're going to get into a marriage. Like, no, you're probably going to know most of a person after 3 months. You should be able to identify if that woman is shit or not. Right? Same thing with a man. You're not supposed to marry them. You know, take a couple of years. You should know by then. And if you don't, if you get married and it turns out that they were a real piece of shit, that might happen. That is an outlier. That's not with most people in general. So what you're saying doesn't even make sense. It's so easy to push back against like the dumb things that they're saying. I don't know what this other guy's doing though.
I want guys to have an abundance mindset. And a lot of times when a guy isn't sexually experienced but a girl is sexually experienced, it comes back to what I said before. If you're going to go into that boxing ring with someone that's been training for the past 10 years.
Okay, so then like date women that aren't super sexually experienced. Like, okay, typically people just date women that are on your level sexual wise.
And they know how to deal with opposite gender and you don't. Well, she's going to finesse you. She's going to say all the right things. Oh my God, I've never felt like this before with a guy. You're not going to know how to defend against that when you don't have the same sexual.
I mean, this is going to be a hot take, but I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with a woman saying that, depending on what their intention is. If their intention is, a lot of times women will do things for men that make men feel like men. My wife says shit. My wife doesn't say anything sexual to me. Well, I guess I wouldn't know. Maybe she does. my wife knows how to make me feel like a man when I need to feel like a man. And I think that's an aspect of a good woman. Sometimes a woman needs to know when to stroke a guy's ego a little bit, make them feel good about themselves. Guys do it to women all the time. Oh, how do I look in this dress? You look beautiful. Oh, do I look fat? No, you look beautiful. Men do it all the time, you know? And I'm not even lying when I'm saying that, but like, you know, you think that a guy's ever going to be like, maybe you don't look amazing. I mean, there are times where I'm like, maybe you should, that's outfit, you're not going to like that. I'll tell my wife, I said, you're not going to like you way you look in that outfit. But guys do that all the time. Like, I'll throw out compliments to my wife. She looks good, but I do it for her to make her feel good. Like, guys do this shit all the time. Like, my wife is always beautiful. I always like the way she looks, but I'll make sure that she knows to make her feel good about herself. The same way my wife will do the same things to me. So I won't be like, oh, you never had a guy make me feel this way. That's not necessarily a bad thing if they're just trying to, like, stroke that guy's ego to make him feel like more of a man. There's nothing wrong with, you know, pumping up your partner. Gas him up, you know? That's people are egotistical creatures. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're doing it just to extort stuff out of the person, like obviously wrong. But I'd say most times people just do this just to like make their partner feel better. And the way that he puts like some kind of a predatory spin on it, like that goes to show you how unintelligent his like dating experience is. Like he doesn't understand things, basic things.
Experience as a woman.
You have to understand that the advice that you're giving, you can be nuanced with it on a long form podcast like this, but the advice that you're giving, most men are gonna internalize that and think, especially young men, that the goal is sex. Like that's the tunnel vision goal.
What they want
is to have sex with a lot of women. Like that's what we need to do.
That's his perspective. You don't let him like go like, no, there's a reason. There's no nuance to what Myron says. He's an idiot.
I don't know if you've ever thought about what happens from a brain chemistry standpoint when you have something as high, something with as extreme of a dopamine response as sex, when that becomes your primary driving factor of what you're trying to accomplish. And you know, say you accomplish that repeatedly over years and, you know, say over 5 years, your goal is to meet as many women and have sex with as many women as possible. But that's the end of the goal. Like, I want to meet women. I want to learn how to engage with women. I want to have sex with women. What you're doing is you're training your brain from a, you can't get past this. It's this, you could replace this with anything. You replace it with cocaine. You can replace it with any addictive behavior of what happens in the brain. It's going to improve.
I don't think you need to be that like exact. I mean, you might be right about that, but I don't think you have to be like, you're training your brain. Like, you know, you're just training yourself, like your habits. You know, you're going through your developmental cycle. It says the same thing I said before. I just feel like the way I say it is like, I don't know, more like better way to communicate. Like you're training, if you're going through your developmental cycle going for one thing, you're teaching your body that's, or yourself, that's like the general priority. You're not going to be good at dating at 30 if you just tried to fuck the entire time.
Print on your brain that behavior, that when you engage in that behavior and that pursuit, you're going to get this Twilight. Once you finally achieve it, this big dopamine spike, big. And then you're going to get a big dopamine crash below baseline. And over time, what you're doing is you're training your brain, and you really, at some point, it's more subconscious than anything else, that is the pursuit that you must engage in to get that feeling, whatever you want to call it, that feeling of accomplishment, of what you would think is happiness, which is not happiness. It's fleeting happiness. But that becomes then the pattern that is imprinted on your brain. And to get out of that I'm talking about neural pathways that bond very strongly. And to get out of that, you have to physically rewire your brain. And so my concern with this advice is that by the time the men are ready to settle down, to have kids, to be the best, what I think, I'll die on this hill, being a dad and having a family, there's nothing
it's pretty
in the world
poggers
that will ever be as
I'm excited for it,
satisfying or give you the feeling of accomplishment and purpose in your life, period. I'll die on that hill every day. And by the time they're ready to do that, in order for them to get into that state and not still be in this cycle of needing to get that dopamine hit that they've been trained to get over years and years, you have to rewire your entire brain. And that takes time and it's hard. Trust me, it's hard. It's really hard to do. And so that results, in my opinion, that's infidelity in marriages, it's divorces, it's fatherless homes, which then creates a whole nother cycle over and over again of this same cycle of chasing pleasure over purpose.
Sure.
If you're chasing purpose and along the way you're having sex and meeting women and becoming good with women.
I mean, just fundamentally speaking, you're teaching yourself, you're just being selfish. You're not, you're teaching yourself to just act on any impulse that you have that you want to engage in. It's like a lack of impulse control. Like, yeah, sure, definitely. I think there's an aspect to that too. Especially with, I mean, they were talking about instant gratification before. That's part of it. It's not just women. The problem is, like, you notice when Myron was talking about that before, he mentioned, he's like, oh, there's instant gratification. He targeted towards women as if men aren't part of the problem too.
But your purpose is focused, and it almost feels like you're almost there, but there's just some parts of it that I don't fully agree with. But that's the secret. Like,
So
it has to be driven. in purpose.
Yeah, I want to bring something up, but
you make a very good
point
point,
first.
and I understand that. But I could argue as well, if I sleep with one woman, right, multiple times, I wouldn't say during a period of like a relationship, isn't that the same thing? And as well, let's say
It's not.
He just like, so not to, for nothing, but my whatever, this idiot, one of the fresh and fits, he just stooped his own argument, and we're gonna roll past it. He just said, wouldn't it be the same as if I had sex with one girl 50 times as if I had sex with 50 girls one time? If that's your argument, then your an arbitrary number of 50 goes away. But no, it's generally not the same. I wouldn't say it's not teaching you how to commit.
The same thing.
why?
Because it's you're pair bonding. It's not.
That's true too.
You're pair bonding and you're building a relationship.
100%.
Unless you're
pair bonding with somebody is also very important. Like, all jokes aside, like pheromones very important. Like, it's something that I'm very like insistent about when it comes to my wife. Is like, it's something that seems so silly, but the other night, like, my wife had a blanket on, and she went to bed before me because usually I'm like up a little bit late doing work. And she had like one blanket on tucked on, and there was another blanket on the bed. And I got in the bed. I'm like, what are we, like, why? Or no, I think I woke up in the middle of the night and she was in a different blanket than me. And I was like, we're just not going to do this. We have to be under the same blanket. I want to touch skin to skin. It sounds so stupid, but like, it's very necessary, in my opinion, to have like skin to skin contact, like pheromone contact, like what is it called? Oxytocin is released by both men and women when you're hugging, when you're having sex. Obviously, women, I think, release more of it, but it's still something that's very important. That bonding moments are very important. Like, you know, love is very chemical. And you want to engage in behaviors that are going to produce that. If you're having sex with multiple women constantly, like, you're not going to have enough like energy for one person. Like, you need to redirect that. You should teach yourself to focus on one person at in some capacity.
You know,
because if you're if you're going around and you're fucking 10 women a year, it's going to be hard for you to settle down as you get older. Because guess what? Like, when you get married, let's say you get married at 30, you start, you know, that's 50 years of you not getting any other pussy except for one pussy. You know? And so, like, that's not a daunting thought to me. But if you're constantly having sex with different women and you're acting on every impulse of like, oh, I want to fuck a redhead today, I want to fuck a short girl today, I want to fuck a girl with small tits today, I want to fuck a girl with big tits today, I want to fuck a 20-year-old girl today, I want to fuck a 50-year-old girl today. If you're acting on all those impulses, like, you're not teaching yourself to regulate your impulses. You're not teaching yourself impulse control.
If you're just using them for sex, then it's, yeah, sure, maybe it's the same thing. But if you're with a person and you have an intention of building a life with that person, and you're pair bonding and you're learning how to communicate effectively, and you're doing all the things to build yourself up as to become the leader of a family and the leader of that unit, it's not the same thing.
So I'm with that person, but I don't know from experience if she's good for me or not. And as a result,
so then you date her, and then when it turns out she's bad for you, and you just don't marry her, chances are, if you're not good for her, she's not good for you, you're both going to probably break up.
I made that choice not knowing. So I ask you a question, right? When you go to buy a car,
you don't have to get married instantly. What the fuck are you talking about? It's like this is like weird.
Saying a woman a car, I'm giving you an example here. When you go to buy a car, right? What do you do?
Like, dating is practice for marriage. That's why, like, it's almost like they think it's either sex or instantly married. Like, what do they think marriage is? It's so bizarre.
First, when you buy the car, you go to your salesman, talk to him about the car, test drive it, and you go buy it. I'm just saying, for most men, sex is a goal, but not the end all be a goal. It's a part of the equation. I'm just saying, have that as a part of your repertoire. So when you meet the woman, all right, sex is good. She's good as a person, as an individual, good family, good to be a mother. All right, full package. I can make it. I have a choice here that this is a good woman for me. That's what we're saying here.
Mm-hmm.
We're not.
How is having sex with a woman going to tell you if they're going to be a good mother? Like, it doesn't make sense. I understand dating different women to figure out compatibility, but how is having sex with a woman going to give you the clue on whether she's a good mother or not? This doesn't even make sense. You're just saying things. You guys are prioritizing sex as one small part of the equation. It's a very important part of the equation, but there's more than just sex. Like, I don't
saying that's the end goal be all.
And for you to be able to come to that, you know, rationally sound and logically sound conclusion that this girl is the right one, you have had to have dealt with a bunch of women that might have not been the right one. And what I'm saying is that in today's day and age,
yeah, you don't have to have sex with
most women are not worthy of a long-term relationship. So guys need to be able to vet women.
Yeah, neither are most men. That's how it is. I mean, people are growing up slower with different priorities. I would say most young people, like, first of all, people growing up slower, they're growing up less mature. Absolutely. Both men and women. Not just men, or not just women like they're trying to assert. It's everybody. You don't have to fuck a bunch of girls. You can just date. It's okay.
correctly. Otherwise, they're the ones that take all the risks. So I get what you're saying, where you're saying like, hey, this might be destructive, but sex doesn't affect men the same way it affects women with pair bonding and having high partners. There's plenty of...
It does affect men the same way. Like the emotional aspect is generally more intense with women, but it does affect them a similar way. Oh my God, here we go.
Guys that can go ahead, have a bunch of women, and then go ahead and decide, you know what, I want to settle down now, because at the end of the day, men are the ones that pick.
Kevin Slim super chatted $5. Myron's hair went from balding to budding. He's the new Benjamin Button.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay. Okay. It still has an impact on men. As a man that's actually had... The problem is Myron doesn't settle down. He's still fucking girls. So like he doesn't. He's a 35-year-old with the experience of a 13-year-old, or I guess a 22-year-old. If as a man it becomes difficult to settle down, and you need to practice. Like it's not as easy as just turning off a switch and going, I'm just going to commit to this person forever. It just doesn't exist. He can't give you relationship advice. He's not in a relationship. He's not in any healthy relationship. I don't know why people even listen to this fucking idiot.
It's just not true. Like you're right about the pair bonding aspect, but it's not true from a brain chemistry standpoint. When it's just science, and I wish like Andrew Huberman was here. He could explain it much better than I can. But like, you can't get away from the brain mechanisms of what I'm talking about when you are casual sex that is not based in a relationship. You have sex with a woman tonight, you have sex with a woman tomorrow night, whatever. And I'm sure you guys do really well. Like you're wealthy guys, you're good looking guys. Like I'm sure you guys clean up well.
Pause.
But like, but that behavior, it is high, really extreme dopamine.
I understand that.
Okay, and
I understand promiscuity can affect both genders negatively. I understand that.
So let me.
Yeah, it does affect them negatively. If your goal is to be in a relationship, being sexually promiscuous is not going to help you in a relationship. If your goal is to just fuck a bunch of girls and forever, then like you're doing it. Do that. Just keep sleeping with women, like whatever. But if your goal is to be in a relationship, and if your goal is to engage in the nuclear family, like Myron pretends that he cares about, you can't be doing this. That's it. If that's the problem, again, their issue is that they're not honest. If they're just like, I just like to fuck a bunch of girls, I don't care, there'd be no problems. But that's not their goal. Their goal is to pretend that this is somehow positive for men.
I want to address this because I agree on the you're better off not being as promiscuous. I understand what you guys are saying though, and I think I'm curious. It sounds like you guys are saying, hey, this is the way the world is. You have to adapt to it.
Yeah.
No,
and your view is more like, no, we should not be engaging in these things. But let me show you this graphic from the Washington Post.
Let's see the graphic.
This is an article that has been around for some time. Young men driving the decline in sex. Share of men and women between the ages of 18 and 30 reporting no sex in the past. 28% of men, 18% of women. And that skyrockets. Sure. That deviation really comes into effect around 2009, 2010. I think the internet plays a big role in this.
Huge.
First.
Does it skyrocket in 2009? What are you talking about? It's like it starts skyrocketing in 2018. It doesn't really skyrocket in 2009. This is 2009 down here. It's like this is like almost its lowest point around 2010. But okay.
There's something to be said about this. Men and women have to have sex with each other for the most part. If men are not having sex at all, and women are having sex, obviously there's a point to be made about maybe the women are having sex with each other or something like that. But I don't think that's a large component of what we're seeing here. I think the issue is the women mostly are still having sex at comparable levels to what they've always done. Men not having sex is skyrocketing. That says that these women, they're having sex with a particular group of men, and
boom.
So here's what I think. I think
some of them, sure,
a portion of men are being slowly removed from the dating pool.
Yep.
Women are maintaining the amount of sex they've always had.
Yep.
That's an interesting.
So this is the accessibility of like Tinder. You know, there's guys on there to fuck, girls on there for relationships. Generally speaking, the buy-in to be in to try to be in a relationship with a guy is to have sex with them. And for a girl, it's to love them. So the guys are pretending to love them or whatever. It's the Tinder game. Like, yeah, sure, it's easier for women to have sex. That's pretty much all it is. And there are guys that are generally considered more attractive on Tinder that are getting most of the Tinder dates, right? And then women are learning Tinder's just for sex. And it's actually like a fucking dog shit. But okay. I mean, what does this show to us? Like, it shows us that, like, yeah, there is a Tinder issue. You could argue the issue goes a little further where ugly women are fucking guys that are more attractive to them on Tinder because the guys are pretending to those girls that they have a shot. That's what's happened. This is the fuckboy game. Like oh yeah, I'm looking for like a relationship, but I'm not looking to get into it too fast. And you know, you talk to some fucking god awful like dog. You know, you're okay. I gotta stop being mean. You know, you go into what I had a buddy that called it a werewolf mode as a man, and you start fucking dogs. You start dating girls that maybe you could, you know. Maybe, you know, you start, you know what I mean? And they get like confidence boost. They think that sex means that they're more attractive, and that actually happens for sure. I believe that. I also think that like there's also a reduction in that male strategy in dating because they don't have fathers there. They're focusing on porn and fucking like a lot of video games. Social media is very, you know, out there. Sure, I say that there are issues, but I don't think it's the biggest issue. You know, the biggest issue is werewolf mode.
Interesting social dynamic.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
And that plays a huge role.
Huge.
I'm really glad you brought this up because that plays a huge role as to what women think they deserve. So unfortunately, a woman that's average looking to maybe a little above average looking has the same sexual marketplace value and pull as a guy that's damn near a celebrity. Why? Because of the advent of the internet, Instagram,
like again, I somewhat agree. I just feel like he's being so hyperbolic about it. Like, yes, the women are getting built up, like I said, but then it crashes down once they keep getting played by these guys and they go, wow, like I'm fucking not, like I just keep getting played by some guy that's more attractive than me. I think it's time for me to kind of skedaddle. You know, it's time for me to do the old skedaddler. And then they realize it, and then, yeah, they'll probably find another guy. You know, we might be entering an age where some women are having more sex than some men. I don't doubt it, absolutely. I don't think that men are going to fucking, their dicks are going to explode. So that's the good thing.
An average girl can hang out with extraordinary men. That plays a huge role in their psyche.
It's not really true. This is what I'm talking about. It's hyperbolic. Like, she's saying average girl, so let's say like a 6 is hanging out with like 11s, 10s. That's not really happening. It's the same thing when they were on their podcast and they told Destiny they think 50% of college women are getting hit up by guys in like fucking Dubai to go hang out with them, have sex with them. They're extraordinarily disconnected from the real world. Are there some really hot, like no super rich guy from Dubai is messaging like a fucking 6 out of 10 in Alabama college being like, hey, I want to fly you out here and fuck you. Like, it's just not happening. It's probably not really happening in general, but it's only, if it is happening, it's happening with like super attractive girls. So
of what they think they deserve and the type of man that they think they're capable of attracting. But what they make the mistake of doing is they think just because I can attract this guy doesn't necessarily mean they can retain that guy. But that plays a huge role because girls think they deserve best. If you ask an average woman, what do you want? She's going to describe to you an exceptional man. And that's been heightened even more so.
I honestly
Kevin Slim super chatted $5. If you follow Myron's logic to its ending, he's advocating for men to be with other men.
That's actually very true and also very based. Listen, this is one of the problems. I'm 33, so maybe the marketplace has changed. When I was dating, I didn't hear a single woman that was like, I want a guy that makes over at least $100,000. Or rather, I've never heard a girl make it like their top end, like, oh, this is what I need. A guy that makes over 600,000 and is 6 foot tall and is this and this that. Everybody wants something, right? Everybody might be like, I wish I could get a guy that's like this, or I wish I can get a girl that's like that. Absolutely is happening. You know, shoot for the moon, you know, and then you shoot for the stars and the moon. The moon is still incredible. That's usually how people are. People want the best that they can get, and then as you date a lot, you slowly learn what you actually can get. That's just kind of a normal thing. But it's not so drastic where like, it's just not as drastic as he's making it seem like. It's not this huge thing. Like, these things are generally going to normalize themselves after a bit.
Thanks to feminism, women earn their own money, they have their own status, they have their own cars, they have their own ability.
Oh, thanks to feminism, women are earning their own money. They don't have to get a fucking abused in relationships. Oh, what terrible.
Provision for themselves. So since they're able to get all these things themselves, they no longer need a dutiful, responsible, leadership-driven man because they're like, yo, I just want the hot guy now. I can provision for myself. Let me ask you this, right? If you had a hot girl...
You just told us before that women want guys that make more money than them. Now you're saying women make the money so they don't need a guy that has money? Am I interpreting this wrong?
With you at all times. They'll give you fellatio, she was hot, she'll give you sex whenever you want, etc. Would you seriously go out there on dates with women that you didn't like that or tolerate the BS? No, you wouldn't. You'd be like, get out of here. I don't want to deal with you. But that's how women are with their jobs and their money. Women effectively have their own provisioning, so they don't need to deal with the majority of men. So therefore, they only want to deal with the top 10 men, the top 10, top 20% of men. This is why so many guys are out of the sexual marketplace. It's the same situation if you had a bad chick with you at all times. You would not tolerate.
Provisioning, I interpret as people with money. So if women have their own provisioning, like, in general, men and women both want the best that they can get based on what they want to get, right? Men, like, that's pretty much what it is. Men tend to be, they have different values. Generally, a woman wants a guy with more money. Generally, a guy wants a girl that's more like a physically attractive than them. That's true. But again, these women are still overall making less money. Fellatio oral. These women are still making less money than men anyway. So they're still... it's not like this massive issue. It's not this massive issue that's happening. And I don't know if you guys know this, there's only so many men and women out there. So that's also a factor as well. So it's not like these women are going to be like, you know what, let's all just date the same guy. It's just not happening. Women are just, they're too jealous for that. And so are men. This is obviously like commonsensical shit. Yeah. Also, to the point that they made before about that statistic where like 18 to 30-year-old men report like, you know, high, like less, you know, sexual encounters than women. Men tend to like younger girls. Women tend to like younger guys. I would say usually about a 5-year age gap is like men tend to like girls that are 5 years younger, women 5 years older, generally speaking. So of course, like when the marketplace is designed or the way that people are advocating, like you're going to see like those 35-year-old guys generally gravitate towards those 30-year-old girls and etc. So of course you expect to see the guys' numbers like a little bit, or the numbers a little bit skewed because men tend to basically almost mature later if older guys are dating younger girls, if they, generally speaking. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. I don't have to qualify every fucking thing I'm talking about. So that would explain some of that aspect as well, right? But okay.
Female BS. You wouldn't. That's how women feel about their jobs.
So, and to add to this point as well, with the advent of social media, if you look at Instagram per se, I would say that's the biggest dating app in the world because in the back pocket of Instagram, DMs, women have access, I want to say a plethora of guys at their fingertips. So it's like, okay, if he's not giving me what I want, if he's not a high value leader, why do I want this guy? And most guys are not that.
And a lot of guys that might...
It's just called dating. And then eventually they will have to settle for a guy that's on their level.
Share your values, which I agree with 1,000%, will get overlooked because, oh, you're not attractive enough for me. Oh, you don't have enough clout for me, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of guys that are traditionally masculine, attractive guys, right? That
like what I find funny, because I guess Instagram can be used for dating. What I find funny, though, is like most of the time people use Instagram for memes. And again, like there's basically 50% of the world's men and 50% of the world's women. Like you're not going to just get magically passed over if you have something to bring to the table. It's just a reality. Okay, so
that might have been attractive 50, 60 years ago. They're overlooked because women want the bigger, better deal. And they're like, I don't care that you have these traits because I can do it myself. So since they're doing that, it's what it's done is it's deregulated the sexual marketplace.
So they have the traits, so they don't need it from another guy. So they don't gravitate towards this guy, but they're still looking for the guy with those traits. It doesn't make sense what they're saying. Because on the one hand, they're saying that women have more stuff to bring to the table, so they don't need to settle for they don't need to go with a guy that makes money, I guess. But then at the same time, the only thing I can extract at their point is that women don't have to settle for what's worse because now they make their own money, so they have a better selection. That's really what's happening here. Women have money now. They don't have to come to the table. We as men have to come to the table with a little bit more. That's pretty much all it is. You know, and plus, you know, where's the factor that fucking broke dudes are literally fucking the shit out of girls with money all the time because they're good in bed. And those women are in love with them, you know, like not for nothing, but like there's this factor, like I think women fall in love with good dick. So if you're a dude that's slinging dick, it doesn't matter how much money you have, bro. You're still fucking slamming. All right. That's the best way to get a woman to fall in love with you. But these guys don't know how to offer that kind of advice. So
he's deregulated the dating marketplace. Trust me, I wish we could go back to traditional families in like the 1950s.
Yeah, you can, so you can fucking abuse the shit out of women. And you literally told the woman who was sexually assaulted that it was her fault for picking the wrong guy. Like, obviously, you're just a predator, piece of shit, like, or you're a fucking predator defender. So
talk about this extensively, how the sexual marketplace has been ruined, and we need to go back to how it was, but it never will. And the reason, so what we tell guys is, look, you got to adapt to the new normal. Now, with that said, I get what you're saying. Promiscuity affects both genders negatively. Yes, it does. Men to not to the same extent as women. However, guys need to go out there and get that experience and deal with these new women that are more promiscuous than ever before because the women are absolutely hooking up with guys.
It is so bad that we have guys leaving America called passport bros to go abroad and find girls. If it wasn't that bad, they'd be here getting sex.
There's not that many of those people that exist. Those people are called pussies. Listen, not for nothing. If you're a passport bro, you're a fucking weirdo. Because what's ended up happening is that you don't like modern women. You know what a modern woman is? A modern woman is somebody with more options. So they go to another country where women are poor, where women are taught that they are less than, where women are like, you know, they look for like these really young girls who will listen to anything and do anything that they want. And then they'll sit there, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody that's basically kind of like a fucking child that'll do chores for them. You're a fucking weird, bro. And you're pathetic. You're not a dominant man if you can only be with submissive women. And it's fine if you want to be with more submissive women. I'm with a woman that like I wouldn't even say dominate. Like I would say that like sure, you want to say I'm a leader, fine. My wife and I are mutual in our relationship, but like yes, I take more of like the decision-making role, whatever. But submissiveness to me, and this is what they're looking for. It's not just hey, I want to find a girl who will let me fucking take the driver's the steering wheel. That's what I have. They want a girl that will do anything for them, even if it's at like the expense of that person's agency. They don't want to be in a relationship with somebody. They want to have control over somebody. Like, it's a fucking ego trip. That's why you're going to another country. So that's what it comes down to. But what's funny is that these other girls that you go to the other countries for that really are just looking for passports, bro, that's fucking slow poison, dude. They're going to fuck you up. Those are the girls that are going to take you for all the money that you have. When they sit here and talk about that shit, those are the girls that are going to take you for your money. The girls in America, the modern women, they're not there to take you for your money. Like you already said, they got their own money. They're there for love. Those girls in the other countries that you're going to be a passport bro for, those girls just want your passport. They just want to be with you for a year or two, and they just want to leave you after they get their passport. So what's so funny is they're like, yeah, that's why guys want passport girls. But also, all these women, they just want to use men. Dude, no shit you think that, because you're dating the girls who just want to use men. If I was in some other fucking country and I desperately wanted to get out there and some dumb fuck was like, hey, I got a lot of money, I live in America, you want to come live with me? I'd be like, yeah, sure, I don't give a fuck who it is, I'm going to go there. And then, boom, I'm dipping. So like you're not advocating, like you're trying to take the easy fight, which is just find some girl that the only reason they want to fuck you is because they need a passport, and then it's not going to turn out well because they don't love you. They don't care. They're just a thing that exists there. And one day they're going to fucking crush glass and they're going to put it in your food and you're going to die. And you're going to be like, what happened? Oh my God, where did I go wrong? Myron said that these women were so loyal and now I'm dead. That's what's going to happen. And like, it's going to be unfortunate for you, but then there's going to be an entire generation of young men that didn't listen to you, and then they'll be better off. So all you're really doing is you're taking the men that listen to you out of the dating marketplace. That's all that's really happening.
But it's really
so, I'll say one more thing. I get it. I'm not saying our solution is the best. There's negatives and pluses with everything. There's always a give and take, right? But what I want is I prefer guys to get their money on point, have sexual experience with women, become that guy, adhere to these traits, and then choose down the road. You know what? I'm ready for a family now. I'm in a position where I can do it. I have enough money. I have enough status. I understand female nature. I'm in a position where my woman will respect me and follow my leadership, and then they can make that decision versus feeling pressure to do it in a new normal that isn't set up for them to win. So yes, there's negatives on both sides, but I'd rather the guy make that decision himself versus getting into a marriage and potentially losing everything.
But then wouldn't the solution be?
But again, you're advocating for passport bros. That's the marriage that you're going to hit that will make you lose everything. But okay.
Passport bro? Well,
a lot of guys are taking that route.
Let me clarify, though. I don't actually know what the full term means. I've only just heard it for the first time. Yeah. But my assumption is there are guys who want a traditional, normal relationship, and they have to leave the country to find it. Is that what it means?
So
that's a component.
A lot of guys are struggling, as you can see from this graph here as well. And it's not by choice. They have to, because most girls don't want that type of guy. So this
bro. The guy, if you have enough money to like go to another country, passport, bro, like why would you even have a problem in America? It just doesn't make sense to me. But
you know what? I have a solution to the problem. I'm gonna leave America, where women are more stuck up, more like demanding. Go to Colombia, Philippines.
Whoa, dude, these guys don't understand women. This sentence doesn't make sense. I don't want a woman who's so demanding. I'm going to go to Colombia? Are you kidding? I've dated a Colombian woman before. Like, and they're amazing women. But if I had to pick the first word, it's probably going to be demanding. What are you talking about? Hispanic women in general, very demanding. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with a strong woman. But like, and I prefer strong women. I'm married to like a fucking Long Island, like Irish woman. But Colombian women, what are you talking about? What are you saying? Have you ever dated a woman before? What the fuck are you talking about? There's just no way. There's just no way. This has to be, there's no way that they believe what they're saying. There's just no fucking way. What are you talking about?
Means, anywhere else in the world that's more traditional. And okay, cool. Now I'm an American. Okay. My value is perceived a bit higher than most people here. So I'm the chosen one now. So now the options have changed because as an American, you become the hierarchy there. So for the most part, guys want access to women, but they can't get it here. They'll go abroad.
So then I wouldn't say passport bro is a solution.
Not happening.
My initial assumption is you can go to a country like Colombia where there's traditional values, but it sounds like what you're saying is it actually increases the perceived value as an American. So guys are going to go be promiscuous.
There's a multitude of reasons why guys go, right? Yeah. Some guys go there to just hook up. Some guys go there to find a girlfriend. Some guys go there because
not a lot of guys are doing this.
There's a multitude of different reasons. But
overall, not even like 1% of men are doing this. It's losers that are doing this.
The bottom line, it seems like the common denominator here is that women in the West in general typically are less marriageable than they were 50, 60 years ago.
Okay.
And we're not saying they're not good women here, because they are good women in America, 100%. Sure. We're just saying, how do you know who's good for you, who's not? Well, you must have experience.
Well, you date. You have dating experience. You don't just fuck them. Like, wow, hot take.
I think you've got the process a little backwards, is how I feel about it.
Yeah, this guy sucks, dude.
You need to decide the kind of man you want to be. You need to map out your life and the type of man that you want to be and the type of woman that you want. Like, you need to know that for you, and you need to take steps to become that. And as you become that, you naturally will attract the type of woman that you're trying to attract. I don't think
he's 100% correct in everything that he's saying. I agree with this guy 100%. The problem is this. I don't know if anybody thinks I'm being too hard on them. When you talk to people, like, based on the person, when you say anything to anybody, they are going to have a level of interpretation of what you're saying based on their own life experience. So if you're somebody who agrees with this guy already, you understand what he's saying because you're interpreting it that way. If you don't, what he's saying makes no fucking sense to dumb idiot Fresh and Fit fans. They're just like babbling about, like, they're literally still trying to figure out how to color inside the lines. You have to like talk to them like they're dumb fucking babies and qualify everything that you say. So the guy's right, but he's not communicating particularly effectively.
I think you gain much with casual sex. Now, again, it's not about, like, I'm not saying sex is bad. Sex is awesome. And if you want to have sex as you're dating, as you filter out mates and who maybe you want to build a family with, that's great. But the first step shouldn't be like, you got to date all these women, have sex with all these women to figure out what type of woman you want. The first step is, what kind of man do I want to be? Here are some steps I need to take to become that. And what does the woman that I'm going to marry, who's going to raise my children, look like? And then you actually have a roadmap to then go out when you're dating and get off the internet. Like, I feel like part of the problem here, obviously with this graph, it's porn, it's
dating apps,
it's social media. Yeah. And I think it's completely skewed everybody's vision of what the average woman looks like, because the average women that you see on Instagram are not the average woman. I'm just going to say that. And I think men have lost the ability to just go into a coffee shop and pick up a woman and get a number.
You can't do that. That's not allowed.
But it is. But
it is allowed. I mean, stop pretending it's not. You can hit on a woman in real life as long. There's nothing, like, I understand that, like, we do live in a society now that is more aware of some of the negative behaviors of people in general, right? But if you go into public, you can still find out a way to effectively hit on a girl. Like, you can still walk up to a girl, and I personally you could be blunt and just say, hey, I find you attractive. Maybe you, like, here's my number. You call me or you text me if you feel comfortable, and you just walk away and you disengage from the situation. If they say no, it's like, okay, no problem, and you just walk away, right? One of the problems is sometimes men are, like, a little too pushy, but you could still pull it off. You could still go up to, like, a girl and you could do something like that if you really wanted to. Like, the woman's not going to scream rape unless you're, like, harassing the shit out of them. So,
but it is
like me too.
No. I know you're saying it is, but dude, let's take a look at, like,
you think that the graph shows lonely? You think that the graph clearly shows increase of male loneliness during hard economic times? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe the male loneliness increased during hard. I mean, that's another factor. That's interesting.
Gyms, for instance. The meme. There's a really, really funny video where it's a woman, a guy's lifting, curling or whatever, and then a woman walks onto the treadmill in front of him, and his head spins all the way back around because there are a ton of these videos where a guy's minding his own business and he becomes viral just because he says something like, hey, are you done lifting those? And then she's like,
absolutely. Okay, so not really, but sure. Absolutely. Okay, let me just be very clear. There are women who are annoying in the gym. We'll call them Karens, gym Karens, that do shit like that. Absolutely. Okay, but overall, like, generally speaking, we went from coffee shop to gym. When a girl's at a gym, they're usually not there to be hit on. If you see an attractive girl, you want to hit on her, be my guest. But that's where it, like, fundamentally comes from. Like, absolutely, there are some dumb fucking annoying women. Like, absolutely, 100%. But generally, it's just like, oh, I'm at the gym to work out. Like, I don't want to be, like, fucking hit on. Especially since if you're an attractive girl at the gym, you're probably getting hit on a lot by a lot of different guys. You're probably just irritated, generally speaking, by the men who are hitting on you. And so that's why you're acting like an asshole. But yeah, overall, you just have to learn when to disengage.
How dare you talk to me? And it's laughably insane. That one where this woman is working out, and one of the guys who works at the gym comes up and he's like, is everything okay, ma'am? And she goes, excuse me. And he's like, is there an issue? And she goes, there's no problem. Why are you talking to me? He's like, ma'am, I work here. And she's like, well, you can't tell me what to do. That clip goes mad viral because it was comeuppance for a lot of these situations. Let's put it this way.
Okay.
Let's say in only one of 10 or 1 out of 50 instances, a guy walks up to a girl very politely and says, how do you do, ma'am? My name's, Rick, and couldn't help but notice you shopping at this here bookstore, and I live in the area. I'm trying to make friends. How does he know that he's not going to end up with a viral clip, a picture taken, accusing him of being a rapist, a creep?
I'll tell you.
Well, check it out. If Rick only said, hey, I'm new to the area, I'm looking for friends, blah, 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 no one's going to call Rick a rapist. If Rick walks up to the girl and acts like a rapist, then Rick will have a problem. So this isn't, I mean, I really just don't think that, generally speaking, every woman has a camera out ready to record every little thing that's happening, that's going to bad faith every little thing. If she says, oh, I'm not interested, and he keeps going, there will be your problem. But if he's like, oh, sorry, and he walks away, we'll all survive. Like, this is, I'm sure there are guys who are getting screwed over once in a while on a girl that's out to get guys, but this is the exception to the rule here. But okay.
I'll tell you, because again, I think this is another instance. I think all of us are guilty of this, that we live too much on the internet, in that a lot of our perspectives are influenced because we are so online all the time.
True, dude.
I'm with you on talking to women in person, by the way.
100%.
I agree. Guys need to go out there and talk to
and
women.
this all starts, by the way, with the fathers, right? My sons will have absolutely no problem talking to women, being confident with women. Like, it all starts there.
True.
And this is like my whole mission of, like, a lot of the problems that you're talking about are eliminated with present, strong fathers who show their sons how to be confident, successful men and good leaders of the family. But
here's the thing, you got to understand, the women that your sons are going to talk to aren't going to have fathers. So though I know it's optimal, yeah, like it's what you're saying is optimal. I agree with everything that you're saying. Yeah. But my thing is, I'm adapting guys for the new normal. These girls are hoes, man. I'm just like, dude, like, we just got to keep it up.
Like, don't hang out in areas with women.
No, but dude, this is what I'm trying to say.
Instagram.
Like, hold on. Here's the thing.
Go to church.
Like, because you're saying like, go up, talk to the girl, etc. Let me just give you guys the game plan, okay? A woman's goal is to sell you purity so that you commit to her.
No, it's not the goal. It's so exhausting. Why would I even watch this shit anymore? It's just, no, that's not true. If you're a guy that only wants purity, that's what she's going to tell you. You can't acknowledge the society that normalizes higher body counts for women and then say women are just trying to sell you purity. It just doesn't make sense. This is so terminally online, bro.
The man's goal is to sell success so that she'll want to commit to, so that he can give commitment to her to some degree if he finds her attractive. I want guys to be able to detect if a girl's actually pure or not. The only way you're going to be able to see a woman.
What does it mean? Who cares if they're okay? It doesn't matter if they're pure. What matters is that they're honest. It doesn't matter. Like, that's what you're looking for: honesty and compatibility.
Character and her purity, because she's going to tell you a bunch of BS. You need to get out there and deal with girls. You need to be able to pick up on certain red flags that you're only going.
The only real time that a woman is going to pretend that they're a pure woman when they're not is if you're a guy that heavily and exclusively values purity in women. If you come to the understanding that like body count doesn't matter that much, it's not great to have a high body count. But if you come to the understanding that body count like isn't a massive deal, or you don't shame a woman for having a high body count, she'll be more likely to be honest with you. That's it. So if you're walking around and you're espousing, whatever word I'm looking for, if you're fucking yapping it up, talking about how women are only good for their bodies, no shit, you're gonna find the women who are gonna lie to you about their body count because you're a fucking creep. But if you're just going around being like, here are my values, and like you don't necessarily care too much about body count, because it's not really that big of a deal. Like, not for nothing, it's not. The issue with a high body count is potential STDs, and like it can make you more difficult to commit. And so it can, right? It doesn't mean you have to pass on everybody. You can, but for both men and women, right? Especially like that's just the reality of the situation. But if you're open to it, you're like, yeah, I don't necessarily care about high body count too much, as long as it's like super high. The girl's gonna be more likely to be honest with you. So, like, in his world, women are fucking predators. They're like, I have 0 bodies. I just want to fuck. I mean, I just want to be with a guy. And then they're taking their money. But it's because Myron has nothing else to offer. He has nothing else to offer. He's dumb with a shit attitude. Like, no shit, these women aren't going to value him for anything.
And again, through dating experience and dealing with a multitude of women. But you won't know the better.
Dating and having sex with 50 women are different things. Like, how long would it take to date 50 people and have sex with them?
Okay.
Like, because I think like that's
what they're saying, a month and a half.
No, well, we're not saying that. We're not saying that. But what I'm saying is that the reason why I say 50 in general, right, and it's a very controversial take, is that because, dude, if you go to a
universe, to push him on it, he's instantly pivoted. The second he's like, no, dating and sex aren't the same. He's like, no, and then he just instantly pivots away.
Right.
Push him
and there's more women going to college now than men, by the way. Women dominate college attendance. What do you think the girls are doing there? They're besides pursuing useless degrees.
They're probably pursuing their degrees. Some might be useless.
They're smashing. These girls, I know girls that will get laid like 20 dudes in a semester easily, if not more.
Again, no, and some women are, but generally speaking, women are looking like, it's crazy how he's like, women are just looking for sex, but then he's like, but women are looking for relationships with guys. women aren't like they're again. Everybody's more promiscuous, but women aren't really out there looking for sex in the same way men want to, and they acknowledge that. But like somehow they what they say just clashes with each other. Like generally speaking, women aren't looking around to have casual sex nearly as much as men. So they're not like at college necessarily smashing. Most of them, some of them are. Most of them are probably just trying to be in like a normal fucking relationship.
So by the time a girl's, done with Greek life, done with college, etc., going pursuing her master's degree, whatever it may be, a lot of these girls will have double-digit body counts. And I don't want guys to go into a situation where they have 5 bodies. She has 50 bodies. She's going ahead and selling him purity, telling him what he wants to hear. He doesn't know better because he hasn't dealt with enough women. And then next thing you know,
aren't you contributing to the problem though by having sex with a bunch? Aren't you just creating more?
No, it's not happening. It's all it is. Those women that have a bunch of bodies, like you're probably not in the same social circle as them. That's just what it is. I don't know what to tell you.
Wait. If women are gonna have bazookas in the sexual marketplace, I'm gonna arm the guys with the bazookas. I got you. Fire with fire.
I got you. Social media has already armed them, my friend. TikTok, Instagram, there's no denying. Yeah, you say get off of social media. Bro, no one's getting off of it. They're actually more in tune to it, and as well, from young ages. So ultimately, they're being brainwashed by social media from the very beginning. So
again, these guys only hang out with like girls that go to clubs, bars, and have OnlyFans. So of course they have this take.
That is not changing.
You could counteract on all the way.
I think where we're becoming like, I say this ironically, arch enemies on this topic is like, you guys kind of seem like you want to exploit the current culture to the best of your ability. I'm more of like a resist guy, and maybe that's naive of me, but I'm more like, fuck that. I'm resisting this new reality, and I want to create the type of men who are better than this.
Fair.
That's exactly how I see it. But I wouldn't say exploit. I think they're
adapting to it.
We're adapting.
Sure, that's a better word.
Like you're giving the ideal, which I agree with, but I'm giving the real of what they really are dealing with. These women are not the same, dude. Like if it was 1953 and the girls came, from a God-fearing household, they had their father in place, religion was a thing, shame was a thing, there was no social media, women actually were women and they were feminine and they weren't the masculine, butchering, ridiculous women that they are nowadays, I would tell you, yes, let's do it. But unfortunately, I cannot dispense that advice. That is the
if you were a man of God, you're gonna find a woman of God. Like you're going to hang out in those social circles, you're going to have those values. They just like to fuck, so all they find are women that want to fuck. That's all it is. They pay for sex, basically. That's really what they do. I mean, that's just the funny part. Like, men, you're always going to pay for sex to some degree. You got to take a girl out. But the girls they talk to are very, like, heavily sexual, like, financially driven. That's why they're finding women like this. All right? I used to take women out for fucking Applebee's. I didn't have any problems. Half apps.
equivalent to giving them a butter knife and telling them go into this gunfight. These women are different. They've changed. Men haven't changed, but women have.
But stay away from these areas. Like I don't think the situation you're describing affects people who go to church. A little bit.
What? Tim. Okay, hold on.
Let me explain. Okay, a guy who lives in a small town, rural area, who meets Jason, who is in church, and then there's a beautiful young woman, and then after church, as everyone's leaving, they're talking and everything, and they say, "I want you to meet my niece. She just moved into town. She's from another small town." You're not going to run into a hoe with 50 body counts, most likely in that scenario.
Yeah,
you are right. However, once again, this thing here called a cell phone permeates homes, bombshells, everything. Because guess what? That girl that's a small town girl, she might be beautiful, young, and purity wise, but she goes on TikTok, her friends hit her on social media, come with us to Miami for a vacation, girl. Leave your husband for a little bit.
Let's go to Tulum.
These are just like fantasy scenarios that just like don't exist in the way that they're trying to make it seem. This isn't existing where the fucking church-going girl is getting hit up on TikTok by some random guy. Like, not for nothing, and this is the funniest part. You realize most people who have TikTok don't have their fucking face on their TikTok. Like, most people just have a TikTok. Unless you are on TikTok as an influencer or for dating, because that does exist, you're not even going to have your face or your fucking name on the TikTok. I think I have a TikTok that's name is like Poop Wiener 54. Like, what? I don't. But, you know, it doesn't, because you're just there to consume content. You're not there to be getting like if you are using TikTok to date, of course you might be susceptible to some guy flying you out to another country with money. But then you're a fucking idiot if you take that, because at that point, like, what are you doing? You're gonna go halfway across the country. This is just not normal shit that's happening on fucking TikTok. And most women have their Instagrams private. Like, most people in general, they're not going around commenting on everything. It's not happening to this robust degree, where all these women are getting hit up by guys, and it's just like, oh, fuck, and everything's ruined.
The moment she leaves or gets on social media, it's a wrap. Because guess what? That whole, I want to say, agenda of, okay, stick to one man, family is great. But once this gets into her hands, bro, you never know. Yeah. You never know.
Really? Okay, here's the deal. I would my wife doesn't know who y'all are, okay? I would give you her number today and give you as long as you wanted to try to infiltrate that with money. Well, you can't do it with money.
I would do that too. I take that test because my wife is racist, so she would never date them anyway. I'm just kidding. I'm the racist.
But with whatever,
Listen to watch.
I got one too. I got one too.
You got that nice Rolex.
Nice watch.
you
I got
can
one
use
too.
whatever tools at your disposal, and I would bet you $1 million, a real offer.
And you picked a good one. Good.
Okay, but so this is what I'm saying. Who are we talking to? Because I thought we were talking to the 1%. We're trying to talk to the 1% of men, right? The high value. We're trying to build high value men, right? That's all of our goals, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like the advice that we're talking about right now is for the general population, which is debauchery, casual sex. Like I'm talking
fire with fire.
Okay,
Man.
but I'm talking to I want to talk to the 1% of men who are willing to, however many women, it doesn't matter the number of women that you have sex with. It doesn't matter as long as you're in pursuit of that purpose. But I'm talking to this 1% of men who are willing to find the woman that I'm referring to when I talk about my wife, to find her, to wait for her, to commit to her, and to do that without and being sure enough in yourself as a man that you don't need to do all this other stuff, because there is enough women, good women, for the top 1% of men. There is. There might not be enough women for every man, right? Because not everybody's high value, not everybody's going to be that 1%. But if you want to be high value, there are enough quality women for you that you don't have to do that whole thing.
Our thing is, we're more general. We want to talk to everybody, and we want guys to understand how to really navigate the sexual marketplace. And I get it. Like your wife, you probably did a fantastic job. You screened her out, and you picked the best girl. But we want guys to be in a position to be able to do that as well. Not everybody's going to be lucky where they're going to meet a God-fearing woman that doesn't come with a promiscuous past. A lot of women do, unfortunately, because they're incentivized to be hoes. So we want guys to be able to identify those girls and not come into them.
And Tim,
So how are women incentivized to be hoes? Like, women aren't decentivized, or they're less. First of all, women still get more shamed for fucking guys and for the opposite. But women aren't incentivized to have high sex. Women are just not decentivized to have high amounts of sex. Women still prefer emotional connection over sex. Generally speaking, what you're saying is just not true.
Let me just say this. Like,
Yeah, please.
my view, I don't have a perfect analogy, so this is not entirely fair, but my view of how you guys are describing it is like somebody grows up on the south side of Chicago in the hood or whatever, and what are most kids doing? They're selling dope, pot. I'm not talking about heroin or anything like that. And they can get in trouble. They know it's no good. But the attitude that they have is always, bro, this is the reality. You're not going to be able to go to the north side and get a good job and make $30,000 a year as an entry level position. The only way you're going to be able to succeed in this day and age is to adapt and join the gang and sell the pot.
Facts.
Some people will be like, I will do whatever it takes to not be a part of whatever that is and put my life in this position, even though that's what everyone around you is doing. Some people get out of those situations and they figure it out. Maybe that is only the 1%. But my advice to people, and again, I'm not saying it's completely fair because there's a difference between dating and doing something illegal. My attitude is basically don't just give in.
Well, not with Myron. I think he just does both. I mean, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But when you're telling women who were assaulted that it was their fault, and you're saying that you can only come on my Fresh and Fit platform if you'll have sex with me, I'm thinking that I don't think it's a stretch.
To this world you're being forced to hear. I agree more just about resist that and try and figure it out.
I would argue thus it's the other way around. Most guys don't know what we're talking about, and they're actually selling the dope and doing what they're not supposed to be doing and becoming a statistic instead of doing what we're teaching them, which is you need to adapt to the new normal, right? And you have to use unorthodox techniques because
No, you're just not understanding Tim's point makes sense. What you're saying is not true. What he's saying is like, hey, there's people engaging. We want to teach the men to not engage in the bad behavior just because it's around them. And you're like, no, they're already engaging in the bad. No, they're not. Like what you're saying, you're just not understanding the analogy. I understand, but they don't get it.
what they told you before was get married, find a family, etc. Even though that's good advice, the reality is that doesn't necessarily work in 2023. So you need to adapt to the new normal and innovate.
So let's jump into marriage.
Sure.
It is not uncommon. In fact, I think it's probably the common view among young guys that marriage is a huge risk. Divorce rates super high, as you said, initiated by women. More than half of marriages ending in divorce. Divorce courts favoring women. Men losing their children and being forced to pay alimony at the same time. Losing.
I guess. I mean, again, if a man fights for their kid, most of the time they're actually going to get custody of their kid. So this isn't necessarily true. A lot of times men are told not to fight. Part of it is just because they weren't there. Listen, obviously divorce is bad and it is happening, but most of the time when all these situations are happening, most of the time the man doesn't want to be as active as the woman does. So men still get disadvantaged in the system. Sure, absolutely. But it's because most men are shit and they don't really give a fuck about their kids, right? That's really what it comes down to. At the end of the day, it's going to be, the kid's going to go to either the guy, the man, or the woman, right? And a lot of times they go to the woman. And a lot of times that's because the woman was just more involved in the kid's life. But again, if the man actually fights for custody, he tends to win. I think it's 80% of the time.
Half of their possessions. You've got these situations where the man and the woman are both working jobs, and then the court still finds in favor of the women. And then to get even more into I would say a more extreme position is like this case in Texas where this man and woman get married, have a kid, and then the woman wants to gender transition the kid and flees to California with this kid. And California,
oh my God, it's just the new challenge for Tim Pool. Just don't bring up trans people sometimes.
Says it's okay and allowed. Perhaps people are living too much on the internet, but the data does show that we're in a. I've seen too many commercials growing up where it's like, are you a father who has been negatively affected by this? Blah blah blah. We can see the data showing that if you're a guy who enters a marriage, you are in a dramatically.
You financially do better than women after a marriage. Again, women there's a stigma on single mothers that doesn't exist on single fathers. Like I think the statistic is like you're 3.5 times more likely to get a partner as a single father after a divorce than a single mother. And that's one of the interesting things. When you look at the statistics, a lot of people will say, well, you do realize that the children of male, the single fathers, do better than those children of single mothers. A big part of that statistic is because those men are literally 3.5 times more likely to be dating. Single father isn't defined as somebody who's literally single. It's somebody who's disconnected or separated from the mother. The reason that those kids do better in the household, part of it is because men just generally make more money. Part of it is because there's an exponentially higher chance that there's another woman in the house helping that, or just another person in the house helping that guy raise the kid, right? So like the women aren't better off afterwards. Like, yeah, you might get alimony and you might get child support, but financially you're still doing worse off. The guy making a lot of money than the girl not making a lot of money, he's still doing better. He's still making more money. She still has fewer options. She's not going to be, and most of the time she probably put her life on hold to be a supporter to the husband. Nobody's trying to go around and get a fucking divorce.
Negative position in terms of any arising future disputes. Not to mention, I'll also add the cultural degradation of the institution of marriage. Married with Children, I absolutely despise as a TV show. I grew up watching this, and it's about people who hate each other with a passion, and it's like a joke, and I'm like, I couldn't stand that show.
Married with Children is fucking hilarious. I don't know if you guys don't know, and that's so that's the funny part is like Married with Children. That's what the typical institution of marriage promotes. Being in a loveless, hateful marriage. I don't know what to tell you. Listen, the reality is that like you shouldn't be getting married unless you are sure that you want to be with that person. But divorce, like the problem with forcing people to be together, I don't think it's a good thing. I think we should try to normalize people who are in very unhappy marriages to get divorced amicably, not hate each other, and get a divorce. If you go into if you hate the partner that you're with and your kids see that hatred that you're exuding onto them, your kids are going to think that's a normal relationship, and you're going to perpetuate the cycle of being in unhappy marriages. If you teach them like, oh, you can disconnect, and as long as you take care of your other responsibilities and you're still two supportive parents being there for the kid, they're going to learn like what to avoid. They're going to have a better relationship with relationships. That's just not as common. A lot of times when people get divorced, it's a very hateful arrangement, right? And they will use the kids to fight back and forth. Married with Children is just a joking commentary on how miserable some marriages are. And there's also plenty of shows, like Home Improvement, that showed like good marriages at the same time.
But so you grew up saying something like that, and I'm smart enough to recognize I'm not going to be programmed by TV to tell me that marriage is bad. I understand the nuclear family is
that show isn't trying to teach you that marriage is bad. That show is showing you that like it's an exaggerated comedic version of like, oh, you forcefully married somebody you don't love because that's what you're supposed to do. So like I think you're misinterpreting the show.
And I'm smart enough to recognize I'm not going to be programmed by TV to tell me that marriage is bad. I understand nuclear family is as what Vivek Ramaswamy says, it's the most powerful and effective form of governance known to man.
Yeah, absolutely.
But how many people grew up watching that thinking marriage will make you miserable, propagandized and not wanting to do it, and now you have the institutions, the courts themselves, putting that weight on men if they are to even try.
I just want to address what you said earlier about the kids in, Chicago or outside Chicago. You are right. He mentioned earlier, those people that we're talking to right now, which is not the 1%, sure, kind of like, the majority, they don't know what they don't know. So if you don't know what you don't know, you think, okay, this is my reality, this is all I know. However, when you're exposed to the truth of what's really out there, you can make a solid choice for yourself. Okay, as a man, what do I want? So to come to your point as well, you're right. As a man, you need to know from the very beginning what you want to be, your end goal. But you don't know until you know, which means if you don't know the extent of what you can do, you're not going to do anything. So my thing is like, with marriage itself,
it's just yapping.
If you know the truth about marriage and dating, you understand, like you said before,
you guys aren't married. You don't date, so you don't know the truth about marriage and dating.
A deficit once you join that agreement, because women are incentivized to break that at any point in time and get a gain from it. Now, if you know that, how to get married to a family? It's simple. You marry without the state, which is either by the church or outside the U.S. That's how we come to like kind of rationalize getting married.
Yeah, we don't because here's the thing. So men take all the risk when they get married, right? And then on top of that, we live in a society that where women are not incentivized to keep the marriage going, and if anything, they're more incentivized to leave their marriage.
No, they're not. This doesn't exist. This is just a terminally online perspective. I don't even know how to engage with it anymore because it's just so dumb. It's just a dumb thing to say. No, women aren't incentivized to leave. You can't talk about how women have more options because they have more money now, and then talk about how like getting divorced is better for women. At the end of the day, your logic just tells us that women won't do as well in after a divorce because they're making their own money, which means they have a less chance of getting alimony. Right? It's cool to get your kids and raise your kids. It's a massive stressor to have to do that. A guy gets off better. If you want to see your kids, maybe you don't. But financially, a guy, you have to pay alimony and some child support. That's 1,000 times cheaper than actually having to be present in the marriage or present for your kids. Like, how is that getting off better? You're not. Financially, women get fucked when it comes down to it. Most of the time they get their kids because most of the time they care about their kids more. They're not going to get as much child support as it would cost to actually deal with the expenses. So what are you talking about?
get the money, get the children, get all the benefits that come with it. So what I'm saying is that since men must take more risk,
the benefits of being a single mother, when you constantly shit on single mothers, all the benefits of you get some alimony, and child support, not enough to actually pay for the kid. Maybe you break even at best. And then you get to have the kids, which is also an emotional tax, while the guy doesn't have that restriction on him. Also, men tend to not like single mothers, not as much as women like single fathers. So how do they benefit?
With getting married and dealing with women in that situation, they need to be more aware and know what they're getting into. It goes back to that boxing match I told you about. If you know that you're going to get into a ring with someone that's been training for the past 5 to 10 years in a boxing ring as a man, which is going to be your wife, by the way, who's going to know way more about the judicial system with dealing with the opposite gender, who's going to have all the advantages on her side. She's going to have dealt with way more men than you've dealt with women. This is why so many guys aren't able to go ahead and approach women, but women are very good at deciphering and figuring out which guys are losers. We want guys to just be able to have the experience so that they can simply compete. But most guys don't even have the experience to compete because what do we tell men? Oh, women are sugar and spice and everything nice. Chivalry is a thing. Treat them, fantastically, even though they don't necessarily deserve it. There's women out there that literally prey on men where they go on dates with guys that they don't like for free meals. Women do this stuff. Yeah. Women absolutely leverage the sexual marketplace to their advantage. All I'm saying.
Sometimes a woman might do that. It's not happening that much. In this, I mean, there's probably more men going on dates with women, lying to them about how they want to actually be in relationships with them than there are women going on relationships or going on to a date just for sex. I mean, these things are happening back and forth in different capacities. So.
Simply doing is I'm telling guys, yo, you need to date like a girl and put yourself first because women absolutely put themselves first. We got girls with sugar daddies. We got girls getting.
Yeah, you should put yourself first. It's just normal shit. That doesn't mean that you should try to manipulate the person you're with, though.
Flown out to major cities because I know you guys say, oh, well, there's women in rural areas that might not necessarily do this stuff. They're still getting flown out. They still have access to these.
No, they're not. It's not happening. Most of these women aren't having these experiences.
Man, they're still one DM away. They're still able to go to Tulum and to Miami, etc. How do we know? Because we deal with these girls. Where are you from? I'm from Bumblefuck, Arkansas.
Yeah, because they go there. Because Miami is the fucking loser capital of the world. It's all promiscuous capital. Oh, we deal with these girls all the time from Arkansas. Yeah, because they went there specifically to engage in the culture of promiscuous sex and sugar baby bullshit. That's what Miami, Florida is. Nobody called them and said, you should come here. They went there of their own volition because that's what they're looking for. You're just talking about how that's how spheres work. They're engaging in a sphere that they want to go to. These women aren't getting called and told to go there. They're going there and then getting hit on by guys. It's like they're just so dumb.
And then they're still going ahead and hanging out with guys like us, and I'm like, holy crap. The sexual marketplace.
Guys like you are the guys that are there for sugar babies. What do you mean guys like us? What do you think, you're relatable? What are you talking about? You're the guys with no personality and have all the money. What are you talking about? Holy fuck.
Is globalized. And what I mean by that is that your girl ain't safe.
Shit.
She can go travel anywhere. So I want guys to be aware of this, adapt to it, and understand, okay, which girls am I going to commit to? Are there women out there that are worthy of committing to that you found one? Absolutely. But I want guys to have the skill set to be able to figure out and decipher which ones are worthy.
I saw a funny tweet. I think it might have been Ashley St. Clair. Maybe not. I don't want to attribute the joke to the wrong person, but they said men should not be allowed on Instagram. The point being, guys go on Instagram and they DM women.
Yeah.
So going back to this this decline in sex,
so
showing that men between 18 and 30 are less likely to have had sex in the past year. Women seem to be in a comparable range, a little bit less than normal. I was talking about this a couple years ago. When I was 20, college age, we didn't have any of this stuff. And so what happens? If you're in college, your sphere of influence and your dating marketplace is your college for the most part. There could be overlapping colleges. Like if you're hanging out at Columbia in Chicago, you might have someone who's going to Loyola. They might say, hey, there's a party, come up here. But for the most part, 18 to 22 is this dating pool range. You're typically not going to run into, when I was younger, a 22-year-old chick dating a 35-year-old guy or anything like that because they just don't know them. Then MySpace pops up, Facebook pops up.
Facebook existed when you were 20, you fucking idiot. Fuck you talking about the same age. I used to use MySpace all the time. What are you, dumb? What the fuck are you talking about? This guy's an idiot. What? What are you talking about? We're like the same age, dude.
You start getting a little bit of this, but then you get OkCupid, you get Tinder, and what happens? Now you've got a guy who's 20 years old, and he lives in a dorm. He's living in a dorm, same as anybody else in this college. He sends a message to a 20-year-old girl that he knows, that they met at a party or they have class together, and he's like, hey, do you want to come hang out? Sure. This guy's kind of attractive. She likes him. What are you doing? He's like, we're hanging out at home. We're watching a movie. We're going to order pizza. Okay. Or we can just go see a show, down the street at one of the venues. And she's like, oh, that sounds really fun. Then she gets hit up on Tinder by a guy who's 35. Hey, you want to hang out and go do something? Sure. What do you have in mind? I'll come by, pick you up in my, Mitsubishi Spider convertible. We'll drive down to the lake. Then I'll take you out to a nice dinner and we'll have steak. Which one is she going to pick? Now, of course.
I'm trying to figure out how to engage with this because this is such a weirdly hyper-specific scenario. So there's not that many guys on Tinder that have really, really nice cars that are like, hey, you want to hang out with me instead? First of all, generally speaking, guys tend to date younger, girls tend to date older. So something like this is kind of happening anyway. We already always seen this always happen for always and forever. So that's number one. Number two, who cares, I guess? So like in your scenario, the girl's gonna go out with the guy with more money, maybe, and then okay, does it matter necessarily if they're gonna go out with the guy with more money? And guess what? If the guy doesn't actually like her, she'll figure that out and then be like, "Oops, that was a mistake in my life." Maybe that happens sometimes, but I'm generally speaking, unless the girl wants to already date older guys, it's probably not happening this way. But okay, sure.
Some women are gonna be like,
yeah, it's like they're speaking in Reddit stories. Not for nothing, but a lot of girls, like if you're a 20-year-old girl, most girls who see a 35-year-old guy hit on them are like, that's too old, and that guy's a fucking creep. Some of those girls might be open to it, but most of these 35-year-olds don't have really nice cars hitting on girls on Tinder. Most of these dudes are fucking losers that are still hitting on 20-year-olds because they're fucking immature. And most girls make fun of them, and they bully them and mock them, which I think is reasonable. What the hell are you babbling on about, Tim?
Rather hang out with my friends and my community. But there's an increased pressure now where younger women have access to higher value guys. And I mean that in like status-wise, wealth-wise, access. And it's a question of like, this dude's going to bring you to a rooftop bar downtown. He makes $70,000 a year. He's not the richest guy in the world. But for you, a broke college student in debt, he's going to buy you a nice dinner. He's going to get you drinks, and you're going to overlook the city. And then, I mean, that sounds so much fun. Or you can hang out in the dorm with your buddies who are also poor.
And here's the other thing too.
Well, then who cares? Why is that a bad thing though? Like, oh, the girl's going to go with the guy that has more things to offer them. I mean, those guys would imagine have more things to offer when they get older. I mean, I'm not understanding how like this is like the worst. Like, what's like the worst thing in the world about this? In general, like, oh, a guy, like, the girl's not going to hang out with this guy if she's looking for a relationship unless she's, like, open to dating a 35-year-old. If she finds it disgusting, which a lot of girls do, dating a 35-year-old at 20, they're going to pass on them. Be like, that's weird. Little fucking creep. Some girls are into that. But if anything, you dodged a bullet as a guy. But okay.
One of the biggest complaints that we get from guys that are in the dating marketplace is the flake rate. Women plan a date with them. Oh, I'll come out with you, blah, blah, blah. And then she doesn't show up. Or she doesn't respond to text or whatever. Anytime a girl flakes on a guy, what it simply means is something better came along. And thanks to the internet, thanks to Instagram, thanks to dating apps, etc., which the dating apps...
Something better came along, maybe. Or they were... I don't know. Yeah, sure. Who cares? I mean, not for nothing. I have never really gotten flaked on that much. She lost interest in you. So maybe it's a you problem. Maybe you're talking to the... like. Maybe it's a you problem. Maybe you're talking to the wrong girls. If you're talking to girls who prioritize like fucking dudes with money and blah, 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 you're talk to better women. You know, it's not quite, I'm sorry, it's not quite the same take as if you were raped, it's your fault, like Myron gives, but there's a level, like if you talking to a girl, if you constantly find yourself talking to women who flake on you because they find something better, then you're looking for the wrong women. You're prioritizing women who are just looking for like a good time, so to speak, and not actually there to try to engage with somebody. If you're looking to just fuck, though, like these guys seem to make their primary focus, of course she's going to turn you down because all you have is money. If you're just there to fuck, she's not going to want to be with you. If you're just there to fuck for money, basically, and somebody finds somebody with more money, of course they're going to move on to that person. That's why being more, like teaching people to be more emotionally available and more emotionally intelligent is going to be a better dating strategy.
Heavily favor women, by the way. Guys absolutely fail dating apps. Only about 5% of guys even get swiped right in the first place. Women have more abundance than ever before, and they have more options than ever before. And I don't think guys understand. We've interviewed 2,500 women now.
92% of people, this is a legitimate statistic, they don't find their dates on Tinder and other dating apps. They find them in other places, like in person, like friends of a friend of a family member, maybe a family member, at church, at a hobby, at school, at work. People most of the time find people off these apps to date. Most relationships start not on dating apps. So using dating apps as a statistic when most men are on there just to fuck, it's not like, it doesn't mean anything. You're trying to make it seem like these guys are just like innocent guys looking for relationships. These are guys that are just trying to fuck. That's why they're coming to you for their advice. And then you teach them how to be like manipulative to fuck. So like this, I'm not like, oh no, the guy that just wanted to try to play women on the internet isn't getting pussy. Like, okay, like that's a skill issue. There's not as many women on these dating apps either because they know it's just to fuck, and women usually aren't looking for that as much.
This point on our show, from different socioeconomic statuses, different professions, different backgrounds, different everything, right? Different classes, different countries, countries, social structures, religion, everything. We've literally interviewed women at all different levels on our podcast. And what I've come to realize is the abundance of options that modern day women have is absolutely influenced how they view the opposite gender. Most women, unfortunately, do not respect most men. Most women think most men are below them. They would not.
I don't respect most men. I don't respect most women either. This isn't a hot take. You, first of all, you don't respect women. Your entire podcast is about disrespecting women. So to try to make it seem like men are the victims when you have a fucking male victimhood complex podcast that just shits on women, like, no shit. But most women don't respect most men. Most men don't respect most women. I don't respect most people. Why the fuck would I? I don't know you. What the fuck are you talking about? Are you kidding me? This is just normal. This is how people typically operate. Like, if I see you in person, like, I don't treat people with disrespect, but I don't come in here being like, oh, I respect this person. Like, okay, like, what does this tell anything?
Date most men. They think most men are invisible, and they think most men are inferior to them when it comes to, I want a top tier guy. Because when I ask girls, what do you want in a man? And
so stop fucking finding sugar babies.
Actually ask them, they always describe a guy in the top 2 to 3%.
The only people that they talk to are girls that want sugar baby. It's either young girls who want to be a sugar baby for money, or older girls who used to do that, who are still in that mindset, but have a little bit more going for them. That's it. They're not talking to most, like, go to somebody's job. Don't do that. You'd be annoying. But go to a fucking doctor's office and ask, like, the receptionist, hey, what do you look for in a guy? Oh, I just kind of want him to be, like, make okay. Like, most women just want a guy that's, like, goal oriented, that makes, like, okay money, that, like, shows promise in the future, that respects them. And most men, I think, want similar as well, with slight differences here and there. It's not like this huge, hot, fucking, like, crazy situation going on there. It's really not that fucking wild. What the fuck?
I would say that's, maybe it's too bold to say statistically proven, but I would say we have seen tons of data showing exactly what you said is most likely to be the case. I think it was Tinder or OkCupid's data showing that the average man has a natural bell curve for female attraction and value, and the average female has a super warped curve that they only look at men. They would rate 8. Men that are on average rated 8 to 10 are deemed average.
They're so dumb. Dude, you're just saying words. I know what statistic they're referencing. There's an OkCupid statistic. The only thing that they're referencing is some OkCupid statistic that is about, it's all it is what ages that men and women find attractive, and it's based on what they set their preferences to. So men will usually set their preferences from, like, basically 20, basically the legal age, to, like, their age. That's it. And women just set their preferences from, like, around their age. So, like, a 35-year-old guy would set their preferences from, like, 20 to 35. A 35-year-old woman would set their preferences from, like, 25 to 35. But the statistics and the trends show that most of these people stay within their age range. They stay within about 5 years of their age range. Setting your preference, like, yeah, of course, a guy's probably like, oh, maybe I could fuck this 20-year-old. Because, like, most guys are kind of gross, right? Same, am I right? But what are you talking about? What doesn't show anything?
And for men, the bell curve is normal. Like, the average woman is average. Yeah. The ugly woman is ugly. The beautiful woman is beautiful. For women, almost all guys, 80% of men, they deem unworthy or unattractive.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the solution to this then is to say, engage in it. Perhaps
what are you talking about? What the fuck are you? This is, where are you getting? What are you saying?
The average woman is average. Yeah. 8 to 10 are deemed average. And for men, the bell curve is normal. Like, the average woman is average. Yeah. The ugly woman is ugly. The beautiful woman is beautiful.
What is he babbling on about?
For women, almost.
What statistic is he even referencing? Where apparently what he's trying to say is that men rate women proportionately, but women don't. So a more attractive guy is rated lower. What statistic are you talking about? Like, I would need to see what the fuck you're just babbling. I need to, like, give me more reference than, like, oh, I think there's this OkCupid statistic.
All guys, 80% of men, they deem unworthy or unattractive.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the solution to this then is to say, engage in it. Perhaps the solution is get away from these, areas full of debauchery, go out to smaller areas and find something more wholesome.
So there's this, I think I might have found it. Women say 80% of men are below average. Okay, let's see what we got here. This is a statistic from medium.com, or there's another one from Your Tango. Okay, these are really reputable fucking sources. Let me see what it has to say. Okay. A study by dating app OkCupid, which, by the way, is for sex more than anything else, found that women find 80% of the men unattractive or below average. I mean, sounds a little steep. As a woman myself, I can understand why women don't want to just date anyone, but I can't help but question priorities. If the standard for men is so high that only 20% of men can hope to meet them, are women's standards for men just too high? Why are men considered unattractive? I'll admit it. I probably consider dating fewer than 20% of them. Out of all the men I've encountered in my life, I've probably considered dating fewer than 20%. Wait, this doesn't say anything. Wait, hold on a second. All this says to me is that women are more selective because men are on there to fuck and women are on there to like date. So the women, just because they say that 80% of them are below average, doesn't even necessarily mean that it just means that they find only 20% of them attractive. This is fucking incredible. The statistic isn't even 80% of them are below average. The statistic is 80% of them are unattractive or below average. They're trying to make it seem like this is a sensationalized title. Tim read the title and went like, "Oh fuck, I can't cope with any more information." The statistic basically just says that like women aren't attracted to the majority of men because the women are probably taking other things into account. Dude, when I was on OkCupid, I'm just trying to fuck. That's what I was always trying to do on OkCupid, was just trying to fuck. Most men are just probably trying to fuck. These women are like looking at more than just sex. I look at a girl, her tits are fine, I'm gonna fuck her. That's all I give a shit. That's all I care about. That's what I used to care about. But the women are like, okay, what does this guy look like he does? Is he holding a fish in his picture? What does his job look like? How much of it is in his bio? Women care about what you actually write in your bio on OkCupid, which is insane. I don't give a fuck. Women care about these little details that men just don't care about. It's not unattractive. It's not below average. It's unattractive and below average mixed together. We don't know what statistic is what. It's most of the time they just don't find 20. They just only find 20% of the men on the dating app to be somebody that they want to date. That's all it is. And that's probably the same for guys if they're not just looking at sex. But since most dudes are on there just to bang, that's it. That's all it is. So they just misinterpret the statistic. Like Tim does this weird thing where he loosely references a fucking statistic he heard and then makes a dumb assertion. This guy's a fucking idiot. What the fuck?
If cities have embraced this culture to this degree, then perhaps the solution is to recognize that and get away from it.
You can, but that does not necessarily save you because that woman is still going to be open to the globalized sexual marketplace. She still might go to college in an area where she might still go to university where being promiscuous and everything is encouraged. At University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, someone sent me a picture of this. They're literally giving girls honey packs and condoms.
Y'all are just thinking too short term and too self-focused in my opinion. Like, so I'm thinking in generations, right? Like, how long did it take?
$1.99 based Papa Pagut.
Thank you. Where does Tim get these guys to come on? Because this guy just doesn't. This guy can't even he's not going to be able to defend himself here.
Yes, to get to this point as a society, all the things which a lot of it's true, and you cannot argue with a lot of the points you just made. 100%.
All of them.
I wouldn't say centuries.
You can argue with all of the points they made. You just don't know. I doubt that this guy's engaged with this morbidly unintelligence, the morbid unintelligence of the manosphere. That's the problem that we're having here.
Well, maybe overall, but you look at the past 50 years or so, and you can see the writing on the wall of what has happened to the nuclear family, what's happened to society, the way women are viewed, the whole deal. Okay. And so the solution to me is a generational one. And what it is that when the high value men demand something different and are open to something different and saying, you know what, this Instagram, like, let me fly you out to Bali on my private jet deal is no longer attractive to them because they have a higher standard that they're setting for themselves. Hopefully my sons who will be,
the women are not attracted to that anymore?
No, I'm saying the men are saying we want something different. We don't want the Instagram hoe that I can fly in overnight just to have a quick.
I understand what he's saying. He's trying to say like, oh, we should try to educate those men to be higher value that have all this money to fuck girls. You don't need to do that. They're just degenerates that are going to do whatever they want. I would argue most women aren't going to fly to fucking Dubai to hang out with some random guy. Like, they'd be like, I'd rather not get raped. That's what women are thinking. They're like, nah, I don't want to get sexually assaulted by some fucking creep that's trying to fly me and just have sex with me. Like, no shit. Like, that's what, like, most women wouldn't even take that offer up. What are you talking about? Majority of women they talk to are women who go into their sphere looking just to have money, sex exchanges. And they're going, this is all women because one of them's from Alabama. So it's like, dude, what?
That's never happening. With all due respect, that's never.
No, hold on. Like, go ahead. I agree with what he's saying. Imagine if women are only looking at the top 8, 9, 10 of men.
Yeah.
If guys like you just started shaming women, do they? You know who's paying for OnlyFans, right? It's low quality guys.
Yeah,
so if high quality dudes who got really nice wives.
Hey, I've checked out OnlyFans before. Why not, dude? It's fucking porn. I check it out every once in a while. It's not really worth it. I don't do it anymore, but I used to. Like, who gives a shit? Whatever. It's like the new age of porn. Women want to monetize it better. Like, whatever. I get it. I don't give a fuck. I don't think that most people who engage in OnlyFans are like fucking insane. I mean, I have friends who do it too. I don't know. It's just like normal evolution of pornography. We're all looking at porn. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. I don't think that's all losers, but maybe I'm just fucking coping and seething right now.
watches and pull up in a Bugatti, and this woman's like, yeah, I want to come hang with you. And he goes, yeah, what's your body count? And he goes, how dare you ask me that? I don't want to hold my car. And he takes off. Yeah. Now she's embarrassed. She got shut down, and more women are going to say, if I want high value men, because only the guys are going to connect me, are going to high value.
So maybe flip the real here.
Maybe we're going to turn this into the Dreamcast.
Yeah, the Dreamcast. But real here. As men, we gotta be honest here, bro. We smashing whatever's possible, and if they're bad,
speak
you don't
for yourself.
say no.
Yeah, speak for yourself,
bro. When you were single, right? And you were
they're literally disproving the point that they made before. Women are so selective, dude. Guys just want to fuck, like I said. So like that's why men aren't rating 20% of women unattractive, or only 20% of them attractive, because they're trying to get that dick wet. Number one.
For my age, right? What are you doing?
I would call myself stupid. Is what I would call myself stupid, immature.
But you were still smashing.
Okay. I would call myself stupid, immature, not brought up properly, not taught the things that actually make me into a high value man. So I think you need to flip the equation. You say the women have all the power, but what you're saying is, what we're really saying is the top tier of men, you're saying get to have their pick of the women. Who has the power then to set the standard?
I've actually said this a million times. What feminism actually did was it inadvertently gave the top 1% of guys all the power.
Yes,
I've said that a million times. But
no, it didn't. What feminism did is it gave women the ability to have more choice, and it forced men to come to the equation with more shit. These are fantasy Reddit story scenarios that they're talking about. These don't exist in these like robust ways that they're trying to claim that they do.
The thing is this. I get what you're saying. That's ideal, but it's not real, because let me explain to you why this will never work. Even though it sounds great on paper, why it will never work. A man that's successful, that has a private jet, that's earned millions of dollars, that's acquired status, etc., they busted their ass to get to that point.
They probably didn't. Most of them probably had it like handed to them with some kind of life experience, but or some kind of like fucking like their mommy or daddy had a lot of money. But anyway, there's barely the amount of people that with the ability to do this doesn't exist in this robust way to make it so that most women have access to them anyway. So who cares?
You think he's gonna sit there and only hook up with one girl? I always use a candy store analogy. Yeah, and he's banging a bunch of chicks now, right?
Did you see the South Park episode they did about this?
Yeah.
They were all shocked. Like, how is this happening that wealthy, successful men keep having sex with all these women? Yeah. What's going on?
That's hilarious.
And it's because, and it's like, even though we should tell guys, exercise sexual temperance, stop doing this, blah, blah, blah. The guys that become successful are going to look at you, flip the bird and be like, I'm going to continue to do this. I had to bust my ass to get this position. And one of the first things that guys do once they make money is they start going crazy with girls. So realistically speaking, the guys are never going to stop trying to bang girls. And then the girls that are looking for status and experience, etc., they're never going to want to go keep chasing the top 1% guys because it's embedded in our biology. And then on top of that, it's never going to change because women worked really hard during feminism. And they worked really hard to get the same equality and opportunities that men have. So they're never going to go ahead and say, you know what? We want to go back to the kitchen and serve a man and be a dutiful wife. No, they only want to do that for a small percentage of men that are the same guys that don't want to commit.
Let me see. We are in the game currently, right?
Oh, was that based? A little based? I don't know. I don't know how to feel. Like, yeah, kind of true. Are they admitting that women were oppressed and that they don't want to, and that they don't like doing the kitchen stuff? Is that because that's what I'm hearing? Yeah, women actually don't want to do these horribly oppressive roles. They're not going back to that. Yeah, I agree. Sure. Okay.
Right? You guys might be able to game and get married and stuff like that. Understandable. I have friends, high value guys, so to speak. They're successful. I see their DMs. I have girls that are cool, beautiful girls. I see their DMs. What do you see? You see them in Dubai. You see them in Miami. You see them in Costa Rica. You see them everywhere, right? Who's paying for these trips? We are. Now, to be fair here, I agree with you. This should stop. But will they? No. So guess what? And hold on, the worst part? These girls, some of them are married, have boyfriends, and they'll never know. Oh, I'm going on a girl trip, honey. I'll be back soon. Someone's finding them out.
Okay.
I'm just saying, generally speaking, most guys will never stop.
It just feels like what we're saying is like...
It's pessimistic, I know.
You're saying the system is really messed up?
Bro, you guys talk to some fucking degenerate women. That's all I have to say.
And so therefore, let's just enjoy it. Like, I just can't...
Enjoy, adapt.
Let me put my political mind to all of this and show you the roadmap I see.
Bro, maybe you guys should just live off the internet for a week and just live in the real fucking world.
When I look at this data that these guys aren't having sex...
this data.
And we're saying that it's the wealthy, successful guys that are getting access to all the women.
Yep.
Think about what that means in terms of human civilization, reproduction. It means that slightly above average to below average, I'm talking about like 70% of men and down are not going to be reproducing or having a hard time doing it.
Yep.
Only the strongest, smartest, most successful, cunning are going to reach a level of status where they're going to be having access to all these women.
Bro, you're married. This obviously is not true. Obviously, fucking idiots can get married. It's not that hard. You're gonna usually find somebody on your level. It's not that difficult. Stop looking for fucking 304s and you'll be fine. That's all Fresh and Fit look for, bro.
This means that mathematically you can look at it from a mathematical equation over a longer period of time. The standard.
The OkCupid study said that women judge men more harshly. However, women were far more likely to message average or below men, whereas men tended to only message the most attractive women. Interesting.
There's a higher standard of men reproducing, and the lower standard of men are failing to reproduce. And this seems more carnal than what society used to be, right? It feels more like what chimps do. Where
the reason why, okay, this is just not happening. But anyway, what's the reality? What the fuck? Get over here. Why are these people not here? The reality is that people are having there's lower birth rates because they live in a Western society, and there's multiple reasons. Some people are finding that there's more to life than having kids. There are women who are working who don't want to put their life on hold to have kids necessarily, whereas they used to. It's incredibly expensive to have kids. The middle class is getting fucking decimated, so it makes it harder, right? If you want to, you want to incentivize people having kids, all you really need to do is like implement healthcare so that it's not $20,000 fucking dollars to have a baby. It's not like this super big hot take.
Where it's like the alpha beats the crap out of their dudes and then bangs all the women, and then all the babies come from one strongest guy.
Yeah.
That's a problem here for human civilization. When it comes to other mammal species and the way they engage in reproduction, it doesn't matter to any of us or anyone in these areas where there are, primates or mammals that engage in that kind of pair bonding. But in human civilization, what we do know is when there are large quantities of men who are unpaired, society breaks down.
Absolutely.
You get crime, chaos, violence, social disorder, and then eventually collapse of governance. We've talked about this quite a great deal when looking at communist nations and the rise of revolution. It is purposeless young men, and they're going to put that energy somewhere.
Absolutely.
If we're building a system that has cut off large portions of men from dating, they will figure out something to do with it. And idle hands is devil's playground.
Yeah.
So while
they're not cut off at all. They just can't have promiscuous sex, or not as much. Well, I guess they can. They're just fucking betas or something. What are you talking about?
You may say, in the short term, there is an evolutionary positive in that the smartest, quickest, strongest men are more likely to have families. Then you also have to contend with the rest of men will burn that system to the ground.
100%. So Andrew Tate is famous for saying this competition being held at high levels, low levels.
Well, he's famous for raping and sex trafficking women, so that's what he's famous for. Just be clear, because that's where most of his money comes from, is exploiting women with OnlyFans porn. And even if you don't think he's a sex trafficker because you're dumb and you don't know how to listen to the words he says out of his mouth, you would come to the understanding that he's still hypocritical for saying porn is bad and then selling porn. So
levels for men always, right? And looking at Cannon, he has what 11 kids? Akon, like 20 kids. So the top guys are getting most of the kids. Trump as well. Now, are you guys Christian, by the way? Are you Christian?
I'm not Christian. I believe in God, but I'm not.
Okay, so if you're Christian, you know what's gonna happen. Revelations speaks about it. End times, pretty much like this is gonna happen no matter what you do. However, you can save a few people by talking to them directly, telling the truth. But my thing is like it's gonna happen anyway. So why not just adapt to it, be the best man you can be, and try to win? Because I think you can't really change it. To be honest with you,
but you can change your life. You can make your I'm very much focused on
it's so interesting. It's so interesting because what's happening here is they need to scare men into thinking it's like the end of the end of the world. That's what they're doing. They're trying to scare people into thinking like, holy fuck, things are really bad right now for men. They're really not. Like, yeah, dudes are having less sex as they get older. People are maturing later. People have porn, right? Teach people to like maybe not have as many interactions with porn. People have too much of a sexual focus. And part of that having too much of a sexual focus makes it harder for you to get a relationship. Because if you go and try to engage into a relationship and your number one thing you want is sex, but the person you want to be with doesn't necessarily want that as their number one, they're going to look at you disfavorably, and you're going to have you're not going to be as successful because you're there just for sex. People pick up on it. If you're there to actually date, you're going to have a higher or a better outcome. That's really all it boils down
Super
to.
Boppio official super chatted $5.
Kill this thing.
The 2-hour and 10-minute video of 4 nerds yapping about nonsense and women is giving me brain aids. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I feel you on that one.
Control in my own life and building a fortress around my family financially, mentally, spiritually. And I know it's possible because I've done it, and I'm not particularly special. Like, I'm not super intelligent. I work really hard and I've been successful because I was committed to a purpose, and most of that purpose came from my children. Once I had children, it was a different ball. And you can track my net worth and my everything from when my first son was born. It's like a flip switched and boom. It was like a different level of purpose. And thank
you for the donation, by the way. It's so interesting though, because like we haven't talked a single time about how powerful a woman can be in a relationship as a supporting character for a man. Like for me, my wife and I support each other very much. My wife she enjoys her job, but she gets meaning and purpose from her job, but she's not like a career woman necessarily. She does well. She doesn't necessarily want to move up or advance, right? She kind of wants to like make money. She wants to have kids. And if I was able to provide enough money, she would quit her job and she would be fine with that. And I would be fine with that too. But even if that happened, a year from now, I'm doing really well. Although we have a podcast together, the Rob and Dan podcast, right? So that'll probably make a good amount of money. A little shameless plug. It's in the description. Even if that happened, like she has been tremendously supportive and like very positive impact for me and me regulating my self-control and getting my shit together. Like part of me feels like the reason why marriage was created was to get men's shit together, because men are just fucking animals without a good woman to regulate them. You know, at least that's been my experience. I think that there can be something very positive to that. You know, just getting your impulses under control, you know, not looking constantly outside of a relationship, even though, like, I was poly, but like constantly chasing pussy, constantly, like, all this shit was a waste of fucking time. It takes away time, energy, and effort that you could be giving to the partner that's supporting you primarily, and it takes away from your ability to pursue like a career. I don't understand. And a good man can do something similar for a good woman, but like, I'm a guy, and so I can only really tell you from my experience, like, how positive my wife has been for me. But I haven't heard them a single time talk about how positively supportive a woman can be. So weird. It's like they've never been in a relationship with a woman before. It's fucking incredible. It's crazy. Who would have thought?
You know, even to delay that for men to get experience or whatever, you know, maybe because I think what ends up happening is the sex, because like, just because we're men, we're carnal, the sex becomes the purpose over what the purpose should actually be, which should be to start building your life. Part of that's dating, but to say that this is the way it has to be and is always going to be, I think it's just too pessimistic for me. I don't think that has to be.
I'll go back to where I was at when I said society breaks down, because nothing ever ends there. There's always what comes next. And thinking about, you know, as you describe it, if we come to a point where there are too many purposeless, listless men, and they've become sexually frustrated, they've become professionally frustrated, it's hard for them to find work. Not only are they competing with higher value men for the sexual marketplace, it's also the physical, actual professional marketplace, and now they're competing with women for jobs too. Mm-hmm. If this does lead to some kind of social order breakdown, after the dust settles and the revolution, Soviet Union lasted 69 years. Who's going to be in charge of what comes next? It's going to be guys like Jason, who have secured and fortified their family and have prepared generationally. If you have kids, you raise your kids right. When everything breaks down, those kids are part of your network, your protection.
Sure.
They're part of what will keep your society going. But if you look at a place like, you know, New York, maybe Miami, where people are not having kids and they're very promiscuous, when social order breaks down, those their lines break. I'll put it this way: you are more likely to survive a conflict with a family than without one. That's the easiest way to look at it. And then if you look at the math for that, I would just say the equation seems to predict if social order does break down because of what we're seeing, you know, with dating apps, with social media. Give it 100 years, and it's going to be people like Jason who are controlling it.
I think he just nailed it though. Like the vision I see for what you guys are saying is like turning the entire world into San Francisco, and I'm like, no, but I'm not into that.
No, but look, and I hear you. And then San Francisco collapses completely, and then it's ashes with people like you standing on top of it.
Correct.
Yeah, but the other thing, which I understand what you're saying, like, yeah, you're better off with a family. But what's worse is that you build a family with a woman that wasn't worthy in the first place because you didn't have the knowledge to do so. So my thing is, I'm telling guys, yes, build families, have children.
What's bad is if you build a family with a guy who's not worth it too. So it's interesting that like it's so interesting that like in all these scenarios, the men are good enough and the women are shit. Why? Like, where is this realistic scenario where they're probably all shit? I'm just being real. Where's that?
Not against that at all. The nuclear family is absolutely the backbone of why the United States is the most powerful country in the world. However, what I'm saying is that most women are not worthy of building a nuclear family with. I want guys to go into the relationships or marriage or anything like that with their eyes wide open. A lot of these women are not worthy of it, and you need to pick the best one.
Okay, so would you tell them? Because like there are a lot of points of agreement here.
Yeah.
But would you tell them that when you choose to slide into a woman's DMs or whatever you do to pick up women, that your goal should still be whether it's your first one or your 50th one? The end goal should still be consider whether or not you want this woman to raise your kids.
Of course, but the thing is that, you know, our guys going to do that. A lot of guys are going to think with their dick and they're going to want to go ahead and have sex with girls and hook up.
What's the idea? What should?
But all you're doing is teaching them to think with their dick and not be able to identify a woman that's okay, whatever. I don't
they do is what I'm asking.
Here's the thing: identifying what you don't want is just as important as identifying what you do want. So maybe you might need to go through one or two IG thotties to figure out. Damn, I don't really want to be with these types of women. You know, get that out of your system. So my thing is, I want guys to be experienced so that they don't experience the wrong girl.
One thing really quick, because I have a friend. He actually is on Twitter. I think it's dang it, what was his name? Bowtied Broke is on Twitter. He was a 6'5" stud back in the day, kind of the epitome of everything we're talking about. Getting all the girls, you know, he had his pick of the women and he took it. Later on, he did the same thing. He got it out of his system and he got married. Infidelity was a mainstay in his marriage after he had.
From his perspective, he was cheating on her?
Correct. And
see, we tell guys, you got to be honest about that.
I'll never forget what he said to me though.
No, you don't. You tell guys that it's okay for them to cheat and it's not okay for women to cheat. What are you talking about? You constantly justify it by saying like, oh, a woman should put up with a guy cheating if he's high value enough. What? Because
it reminded me of what you just said. He said, everybody told me at the time, go ahead and get it out of your system. And he said, what I found out was I didn't get it out of my system. I got it into my system.
It never went away.
And it never went away. And that's the brain chemistry thing that I'm talking about. So for the big disagreement that I keep pushing back on is all of the things you're saying are true, except for always have the intention of purpose behind your drive to find the right woman, know what you want, know what you don't want. Filter as many as you need to find that person, but don't go into it like I'm going to bang 10 women because I can and I'm high value or whatever, because that's not getting it out of your system. It's getting it into your system.
Let's shift a little bit and talk.
Guys are always going to want to have sex with women though. Sure, that's just being keeping it real.
Even men you can't have sex.
Like,
have sex.
Yeah, but bro, like drugs feel good too, right?
Exactly.
You got to have willpower and control,
discipline.
Like you got to teach guys to be able to punch through a brick wall, and that takes time, energy, discipline, and focus. Not to go, watch porn. And I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm saying like you have to tell them to do the hard thing. But I want to shift.
I was gonna say. Okay. That's
Nail one more point. No, I don't want to cut you off.
No. All I was gonna say was like I get it that you're saying because men. Here's the thing. I talk about men and women, and people tend to forget that I criticize men as well. Men are always gonna be as faithful as their options typically. That's just how it is. So are a lot of guys gonna sit there and exercise, D-discipline as you guys are saying? The majority, no, because once guys get to a certain point, they make a certain amount of money, they become successful, etc. They're gonna want to have women.
I love the zero accountability for men. Well, guys just aren't going to be as disciplined because once they have options, they're just going to use them. What you're saying is that men are dumb You're saying the same thing that fucking annoying TikTok feminists say. Men are dumb fucking babies that can't control their impulses and they should be able to do whatever they want. That's all you're saying. And then you're shitting on women for doing OnlyFans. Bro, like this is infantilizing to men. He talks about men as if they're just fucking idiots that just don't have any control over anything. So
women. That's why a lot of these guys, they have mistresses, they have sugar babies, they have women on the side, they deal with escorts, whatever. So since guys are going to do this anyway, most of the time when they have the resources to do so, I say just be honest with your partner. Look, I'm going to have multiple women.
Let's shift a little bit into the more.
Yeah, go do that. Go get guys. You know what? Women initiate 80% of divorces. Women are so shit. I couldn't even tell you why. By the way, we tell men that they should just be upfront with women once they're in the relationship and already married, and that they should just fuck a bunch of. They tell the girl, "Oh, I'm gonna go fuck whoever." Oh, I wonder why they're leaving. I wonder why those women. I wonder why those women are initiating the divorce as you sit here and justify it.
Political space. You mentioned feminism. Yeah. So I definitely want to talk about that in the bigger picture, where we're at with that. But I want to start with this tweet from Pearl Davis.
Okay.
It's got 12.1 million views, 1,734 reposts, 34,000 likes. It's been quoted 3,638 times, and it is a picture of her wearing a shirt saying women shouldn't vote.
Okay.
Should women vote?
I think their vote should carry half as much weight as men's.
So you're in the middle. You're in the middle.
I think women should have the ability to vote, and depending on what position they hold, if they're in the military and they're some type of government service, then I think absolutely their vote should count all the way. But if it's just a female, she doesn't have any type of civil service or anything else like that, then I think it should be. And this goes for the men too.
Why? Well, I would say why shouldn't it be also for the men? I'm gonna die. If I die, I'm gonna be so pissed.
Right. Certain guys shouldn't vote either. If you're working at McDonald's, etc., should your vote count all the way?
Well,
no.
So then it's not a question of in your mind.
Okay, this is just dumb. Obviously, everybody should get access to vote if you live in the country. He's literally talking about something that is the opposite of like just being unconstitutional. Why? Basically what you're saying is the poor should have no voting power so they can't change anything at all. Like you're just not talking about a free country. You're talking about an oppressive state. Like you're quite literally anti-American. You're a fucking moron.
Women, it's a question of should people not engaged in civic duty vote?
Yes, but to be honest with it, let's keep it 1,000. That's going to immediately put a majority of women as only half voters.
Right.
Because that's a career field. That's a career field.
Most men. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm so confused. What?
Doesn't like decisions that women make in general.
Well, so
what?
Yeah, do you want to respond to that?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills here, but
most men aren't in civil service either. What? Wait, what?
I think part of the problem is that the view, I guess our views of women are so much different because when I think of a woman, I think of a woman who runs a household and raises children and does the most.
It's because Myron doesn't respect women. It's so interesting because he comes from the general camp of like, oh, women shouldn't be able to vote because they can't fight war. Women can't fight. Women can't vote. Bro, men can't push fucking human beings out of their pussies. Like, how do you not value that equally? A woman, you come in a woman and she does the rest of the work for 9 months. And then, let's be real, her body has been permanently changed after she births your fucking child. You did almost no work. What do you have to do? You have to put up with an annoying fucking pregnant woman for 9 months. And then you're good. It's very bare minimum. Men can't do that. Should we exclude men from voting? What the fuck are you talking about? It's just a stupid, dumb thing. And it's literally anti-American. It's just such a dumb fucking thing that we're listening to.
That you can possibly do. So I see so much inherent value. And I think,
which we agree is important.
Okay, but I kind of feel like what we're doing here is...
You don't agree it's important, or else you wouldn't want to restrict their rights.
We've trained as men, women, we've incentivized certain behavior, and now we want to discount them because they're giving the men what they're asking for, which is OnlyFans, Instagram, ass shots, and then we're saying now suddenly that they're somehow less valuable.
Takes two to tango. Well, right. A lot of the stuff that we're seeing women do, it's like men.
They're filling demand is all they're doing.
Well, we allowed them to do this, so you are correct in that sense because as men we're leaders. But I will say this: if
we allowed them to do this, fuck, you didn't allow anybody. If you was had your choice, you wouldn't allow them to do any of these things. You wouldn't allow them. But let's be absolutely real. Like these are the guys who say that men should be ones who protect women, and in the second that they get in power, they want to restrict women's ability to be free. It's not protecting women. You want to oppress women with a smile on your face. It's childish behavior.
From votes here, women are more easily swayed to one direction or another because once again, they follow leadership to depending on who they see as important. So ultimately speaking, if I'm going to go for votes, I sway the women, I'm going to win.
So what you're saying is
What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Nothing. How many people voted for fucking Donald Trump? I mean, let's not pretend that people are educated fucking voters making the right decision for the country. You know, I understand why some people did, but at the same time, I mean, I get it in 2016. I understand. You know, people were voting, they voted because the promise of an actual like change, et cetera, et cetera. After that, though, I mean, we have a guy who came in. He talked about banning certain people from media figures from talking shit about him. He lied about getting the wall done. He fucking just inflated the annual federal deficit because of his shit business practices. He was ineffective. He wasn't very good. He didn't really do very much. Let's just be real. He wasn't particularly effective. I don't know what the fuck you're babbling on about.
That we as men are ineffective leaders, and therefore, because we cannot lead properly, that now the women should have half a vote or no vote or what. Like, to me, I'm always like looking first internally. What did I do? How did I fail here? Or what was the point of failure that happened here in leadership? And everything I'm hearing is like men have failed in many.
Well, yeah, by letting women vote. So that's how they fail. I mean,
so first I'll address what you said. I believe the science is clear that women are more agreeable, men are more disagreeable.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's harder to convince a guy. He'll challenge you, he'll headbutt you. A woman is going to try and make things smooth over. Yeah. There's a lot of positives to being agreeable and a lot of negatives to being disagreeable, and vice versa. It's pros and cons. Men and women are different and complementary.
Okay.
Now, there's an agenda, though, of course. This can go deeper here, get more serious. But to be real here, men were at the helm of this because, once again, we put certain policies in place, we let things to happen, and as a result, the family's destroyed. Now, when it comes to women, obviously, they're human beings as well. Equally, we're all human beings. But
I mean, the family's not destroyed. It's just that women don't have to deal with abuse. The reality is that, like, again, the structure of forcing a man and a woman to stay together tends to be, it's going to generally be more abusive to the woman because the guy is in charge of everything. The guy is the leader of everything. And when you put an ineffective leader in a leadership position, which effectively is what you're doing when you engage in forced marriages without divorce, or you engage in marriage without divorce, you're going to see a fall. Women are disconnecting because the men are shit. And they're shit too sometimes, but it's not just all the women. It's men and women are shittier, right? I mean, that's it. You know, you want to talk about how effective leadership you are. If you're an effective male, if you're an effective leader in a relationship, she's not going to want to divorce you. So,
but to be fair, when it comes to voting and political views, they can be swayed in any direction, which means by default, they should vote.
But
look, man, let's keep it in mind. Women are communitarian in general. They tend to vote Democrat. They tend to vote for, hey, let's give everybody $1 versus giving the best person $1. They don't.
I mean, not for nothing, but like just objectively speaking, Democrats, for like the past like 4 Republicans have literally inflated our deficit. Right, the annual federal deficit is the amount of money we're paying over the amount of money we're taking in. Trump, before coronavirus, increased it by $350 billion. Obama reduced it by $600 or $700 billion. Democrats have been more financially like restrained and more intelligent when it comes to their policies. Like even Biden's really not that bad. I mean, Biden literally got Mexico to pay $1.5 billion for border security to America, like for border infrastructure and like smart border technology. I mean, like, you want to sit here, oh, Trump sucks. Like, Biden actually was able to secure the bag, so to speak. What the fuck are you talking about? You're just babbling on. What are you talking about? Democrats, like, unfortunately, I'm not saying Democrats are amazing. They're just objectively better for our society. All Republicans do is come in, they shit and cum themselves about fucking gay and trans people, and then they just try to destroy welfare benefits that are objectively positive for our society and brought us out of the Great Depression. Are there reformations we could use? Absolutely, but they're not interested. They're just fucking corporate shills. Democrats are too, but they're just objectively better. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's just like they just are better policy-wise. Like, generally speaking, I think there's something to be said about having like probably a progressive president, Democrat president, and maybe local Republican leadership to be a little bit more locally fiscally responsive. But Democrats do so much better when it comes to presidents, and that's just what we've been seeing for however long. So.
Their values a lot of times are not aligned with meritocracy. They want everyone to benefit, which is cool, I guess, if you like communism. But if you're a capitalistic guy, you want the best to succeed. And unfortunately, a lot of the times, women don't.
As a good, you want everybody to succeed. You want people to have like this. We're literally like, I want everybody to succeed. We're talking about things like, hey, what if everybody had like good schools? Of course you'd want that. That just means less crime overall. Hey, what if everybody got paid like a decent wage and we got, you know, the ridiculous amounts of money that people don't need in their hands, like rich people, and we were able to distribute that a little bit to make people's lives a little easier. Why wouldn't you want that? This isn't communism to say like, hey, we should have a baseline standard for people to be able to get access to education and healthcare and like a decent food. I don't know what you're talking about. You're trying to make it seem like it's communism. Like, communism is when we treat people better. Is fucking wild. But okay, cool take.
Don't believe in meritocracy. They believe in communitarianism.
This is like, you shouldn't be able to vote. You're a fucking moron. What are we talking about? Holy fuck.
In general, not all, but most.
We'll go back to some of the common points brought up from suffrage.
Yeah.
So this is typically, I feel like it's typically not talked about that there were a lot of women who opposed women's suffrage because initially it was tied to civic duty.
Yes.
Men who were voting had to be on the fire brigade. You had to, you could be drafted. You could go and die. Okay. And so with that, the idea is like, if we can force you to go fight and die, you get a say in a vote as to who decides.
Absolutely.
Women can't be forced to go off and fight and die, so they should not have a say in these matters.
That's a big part of the reason.
Yeah, and it's a good thing that women make babies. Right, here's the thing. First of all, nobody has been drafted in like 60 years. Second of all, like, okay, just put women in the draft. Third of all, like, women are able to contribute to society generally just in different ways. Men and women have different general contributions that they can make, but I would consider them equal. Where a man can physically protect, a woman physically creates life. Like, I don't know why isn't this valued? So like, yeah, I think that women should have to be able to fight if they want to vote. Why? Like, women make babies. They create the life. It gestates in their body. In their body. Why is that not something that you have a particular, like, any value for?
Why I say they should get 50% is because women don't have to join the selective service. I can't tell you how many times we've done a podcast.
That's not men don't fight
for not voting at all.
Yeah, do you even know? That's what I'm saying. That's why a lot of them should be limited. I ask women all the time, do you even know what the selective service is? Most of them don't even know it.
So what ends up happening is, and I have only a cursory knowledge of this, correct me if I'm wrong, for those that are listening, feel free, I don't think I'm completely right on this. What I read was that a compromise was made. Women were not going to get suffrage because they were like, we don't want to go to war and we don't want a fire brigade. We want the men to do those things. Please leave us alone. Yep. And so that caused a point of contention where it wasn't going to move forward until finally the men who were running the show in Congress and stuff and relented and said, okay, women can vote and no civic duty. And everyone said, okay, we agree to that.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me. So where we're at now is
why does it make no sense to you? Okay.
Completely different world. I do think women should be allowed to vote. However, I don't think anyone should be allowed to vote without civic duty. It makes no sense to me that someone can move into New York City without having any ties to the community, vote to destroy the place, and then leave. That's a problem. People, typically Democrats talk about how evil it was that only landowners were allowed to vote back then, but they're ignoring the context of history in that there were no ID cards. Voting was, do you live here or no? You don't live here? Okay, well, dude, you're not voting on how we're going to defend, facilitate, expand. That actually makes a ton of sense.
What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, he's rambling. Oh, he's yapping. Okay, now I understand what he's saying. It took me a second to figure out. So, first of all, you have to join, sign up for the draft in order to vote, right? You don't have, nobody goes to the draft. But what he's talking about is like magically, he's talking about illegal immigrants. He randomly went on to like a bizarre tangent for a second about illegal immigration coming to New York and voting. Listen, I don't give a shit whether illegal immigrants can or cannot vote. The logic there is, first of all, they can't vote federally. But the logic is these are still individuals that are coming here. They're they're supporting the economy. They actually, the overwhelming majority of people, especially in New York that are here illegally, came here legally. And then their visas expired, but they're still working. They still have cars. They're still paying into the economy. So, hey, maybe we should give them a little bit of a vote because they're still positively benefiting the infrastructure, especially since a lot of people that come here illegally tend to work poorer, like lower skilled labor jobs because they don't have as many opportunities. And these are jobs that simply entitled fucking crybaby Americans don't want to engage in, right? So like me, hey, fuck it. So like, okay, I mean, again, I get it. If you don't think that they should vote, like that's fine. I'm not against it, but like, it's this weird thing where he just constantly rolls off other points. He has to get like trans people and shit in there. And just like kind of just, he's like, Tim babbles. He's a yapper. He yaps. He just kind of yaps sometimes. He just starts yapping about random points and like, he doesn't fully explain his point and then just kind of moves on. It's so weird.
If you don't live in my house, you can't vote on whether or not we're going to install a hot tub or, a cold plunge. If we're roommates, we get to vote on what's for dinner. If you're my neighbor, why are you voting? Like, why did you invite your friend over to vote on what I get to have for dinner? And now he's leaving tomorrow and you're making me eat garbage food.
Well, this is why it's so important to have authority tied with responsibility. The problem is,
what the fuck's leaving? Like, do you think that like again, I know he's talking about legal immigrants. Do you think that people are just like leaving? They're like, I'm gonna come to New York and vote and just dip. But that's not happening. What is he talking about?
That we're giving people authority with zero responsibility, which goes back to the female voting situation, right? What? A lot of these women that vote, a lot of times they don't necessarily know how the government works, how the economy works, etc. And they're over.
Do you think that the men do? I doubt that you understand dick about shit about that. What are you talking about? You think that most men understand the economy? If you don't think that people understand the economy enough, then fucking teach it in school. It's a school issue. This isn't like a woman issue. Not for nothing. If you vote Republican, you probably don't understand how the economy works. If you think that Donald Trump did an effective job when he increased the GDP, you don't know the economy. You don't understand the economy in even the slightest, because he literally had to inflate debt in order to get that to happen to an unrealistic degree. He had to increase the annual federal deficit. He did the same thing as it would have been if you went to the bank and took out a $10,000 loan and said, hey, I just made $10,000. That's what he effectively did. What are you talking about? So if like, I'm not trying to be a fucking asshole, but like, don't pretend that you know what the fuck you're babbling on about right now, because you don't. You're babbling. You're a babbling brook. The fuck you talking about?
We're here making very serious decisions and putting people like Sleepy Joe in office who don't necessarily deserve to be there.
And when you look at the maps,
I mean, not for nothing, Joe Biden's been pretty decently effective. Like, I'm not to be that guy. I mean, you could be as angry as you want. Joe Biden's done a lot. He's gotten, well, first of all, he codified gay marriage, which I think is a win because, you know, it's anti-American to try to not separate church and state. Codified gay marriage. He got Mexico to pay $1.5 billion for a border wall. He passed some student loan things, which were mostly affect like positively, I think, nurses and people in the military. He's still working on the rest of the people. You don't have to see that as a win. I don't really care. He expanded the Fed, right? The IRS. And you say that's not good. Yes, it is. That's the only thing that makes money in America for the government. They're getting more money from people that make $400,000 plus a year, which is reducing their amount of like debt or the deficit. I mean, he's actually been relatively decent. He's actually not that bad. He really has been pretty effective. He ended a war. You know, you'd be like, well, he didn't do it the right way. It never was going to be done well. So I don't know what you want me to tell you. If Trump did it, you'd be coming your pants about, oh, at least he did it. I mean, Biden's actually not that bad. Eddie ate ice cream. I don't know, man. Eating ice cream is the best one. He's actually done pretty well. He's done decently. You can shit and talk about his Sleepy Joe. Like, yeah, he's kind of like a blob sometimes, but he's done a decent job. Honestly, he really isn't that bad. I mean, I would vote for him again. He's actually kind of effective. Bro, especially once I heard he got Mexico to pay for $1.5 billion for a fucking border wall. I was like, wow. Oh, that's pretty interesting. So
the voting maps, it's a fact. Women, if they do the map, if only women voted, whole country except for like one state is blue. If only men voted, whole country is red except for like one state. I am not saying that means women should not have their vote. I'm saying nobody should just be granted the right to vote in any capacity without some responsibility tied to it.
There's got to be checks and balances.
That's brilliant.
You got to have some responsibility.
IQ test. You pass it, you can vote.
No, because that's subjective. You're asking someone else. Like the problem, but people have talked about things like this, test of merit. Vivek Ramaswamy said a constitution or civics test. If you're under the age of 25, you want to vote, you got to pass a test. I'm like, that's nonsense because there's 26-year-olds who are dumb as a box of rocks. Yeah. There's 50-year-olds. There's men who are voting. Look, there are a large portion of conservative Republican-leaning women removing their vote. Why? They're 50-50 men. Men are voting Democrat too. I don't see a political argument for or against voting. I see a civic argument, genderless, right? I talked to Vivek Ramaswamy about this, and I thought one of a really good, simple idea that we brushed upon was the moment you sign up for the selective service, you're also granted a voter registration ID card. Registering to vote is a selective service. Here's what happens. This solves the problem for everybody. You don't have to go to war. You're not being drafted. The likelihood of that is extremely low. You're simply saying, I am willing to be in the event anything does happen. I know there are problems with that because I think the draft is really, really bad because you look at how the United States government has changed. It's one thing.
Wait, now it's bad? I thought this was something you thought everybody should do. If it's bad, why would you want them to do it?
To say, hey, we're being invaded to arms men. It's another thing to be like, we're sending you to Vietnam. You know, in the Gulf of Tonkin incident, all that, I'll avoid. But, you know, nonsense, false flags, fake reasons for getting into war. But think about what happens. If you say, everyone's allowed to vote, but you got to sign up for selective service, men and women both. You are going to have 95% of low-value individuals, men and women, being like, nah, I'm cool. I don't want to be involved in that at all.
That's a good way to go about it. I mean, yeah, I think
it's not perfect. I'm just saying it was an idea we brushed up.
No, that's a good solution. I mean, because my thing is, if you're going to have authority, you need to have responsibility too. And we've done a fantastic.
I mean, I signed up for the draft. It just doesn't matter. You're not going to have responsibility. We don't draft people. There's no the responsibility you get when you vote is that you exist in the government and you get a say. Like, it's very basic. What you're saying is like literally anti-American right now.
The job in the modern day age of giving women a bunch of authority without necessarily giving them responsibility, and that's my issue.
How? Where?
How
are you giving women authority or responsibility? Ask him that question. What does that even mean? What authority are we giving women without responsibility? Women are working. Women are like, women are working. It's still expected to take care of the household. I mean, what are you talking about? What responsibility do women not have? What magical fucking world do we live in?
I wrap my head around the idea of what it would look like for women not to vote. Obviously, I think women should be able to vote, but
I'm not arguing that either.
I know. I just don't.
I mean, in a divorce scenario, the woman is the one that has to generally take care of the kids more. Like, I have to take care of the kids and work at the same time, while the guy doesn't. Always pay child support. Okay, that's not going to be as much as like she has to pay for the fucking kid. What are you talking about? What responsibility? You literally said before that men are just dumb fucking babies that are horny and they're gonna fuck other people, so you might as well let them. Like, you're the one infantilizing men.
It's a hard, because like, there is some merit to some of the things that are being said, but like, I don't think there is a solution.
Really.
I mean, I would consider myself more high value, and I personally would not want to sign up for this current government to then draft me.
You already signed up for selective service.
Just as being a man,
18 years old, you have to.
Yeah.
So it would just be adding women then.
So it's not even about women. It's about the moment you sign up for selective service, you are registering to vote and receiving a voter ID card. That's it. Man or woman, doesn't matter. If you're a dude and you say, I'm not signing up for that, well, then you can't vote.
What about immigrants?
If you're a citizen.
Okay.
My view for immigrants is if you sign up for U.S. service, you should be given expedited access to becoming a citizen.
Agreed.
Like, you're willing to fight for us,
Agreed.
follow our rules, you have someone in command telling you to. And so a lot of people say, like, I don't want to get drafted. I signed up for that. Listen, the only people voting are going to be the people who could be drafted. Right now, you've got people who can't be drafted voting on behalf of us who can.
Yeah.
That's nonsense.
I agree. Yeah, and that's why I said that is why.
You're 37. None of the people in that room can be drafted. I'm pretty sure you can't get drafted after like 29 years old. So, okay. But okay.
In general, I say the basis for which why a woman's vote should only be 50% is a big reason because of the selective service. But if they want to join in the selective service, or they want to be involved in civic duty, or they want to be involved in the military, police, etc., then I'm like, cool. Because a lot of people say, oh, well, women fought for the right to vote. A lot of people don't know what you said before. They don't want to deal with the responsibility that came alongside with it, with having to be volunteer.
But this is why it's
they didn't want to potentially have to go to war when it was more realistic to happen. It's not that, like, that's not the only responsibility of existence. Like, thinking that the only qualifying responsibility that would allow you to be able to vote is going to war. It's just like a weird perspective. Like, there's other ways to contribute to society. Like, I don't understand. Women make children. They shouldn't be able to vote. Why? Because they can't fight, but they make babies. Well, okay. Like, it'd be like if I said that men shouldn't be able to vote because they can't make kids. It's just stupid.
It's not about whether women can vote or not. It's about whether anyone. Like, if there's a dude who's like, I ain't going to go fight for this country, it's like, well, then don't vote on our issues.
Yeah.
Don't vote on how we spend tax money. Don't vote on how we defend our borders. Yeah. I really do feel, first, I'll say,
go ahead,
let's get a solution.
It's an idea we brushed on.
Yeah.
I don't know it's the perfect solution. I just know that you think about the outcome of that. There's no forced military service outside of a draft, which has not happened in 50 years. I don't see high risk, especially if the people who are not signed up, bro, if you don't sign up for it, you don't get drafted. If you are willing to be drafted, you sign up for it.
That does kind of filter out the cowards out of the...
Exactly. I don't want to send a guy who doesn't... Look, one of the problems of Vietnam, the stories we hear is when they drop these guys off on the first landing beach or whatever, and the Viet Cong are shooting at them, they aimed overhead because they were terrified and didn't want to shoot somebody. I want to know that...
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, that's like 95... I think it's the statistic is something like... I saw this in like, what was it? The men who stare at goats or whatever. Like 95 or 85% of people just didn't shoot them because they didn't want to kill somebody. That's not because they're cowards. They were forced into a bullshit war, which you just admitted.
Well, first of all, we shouldn't have been in Vietnam, right? But take a scared young dude who doesn't want to fight and force him to fight. That's why we're like, we better get away from that. It's ineffective. We're like wasting economic resources. If you think about it in the bigger picture, that young guy who was too scared to shoot at the enemy would be better off making widgets in a factory.
Or bullets.
Right. In a factory where he doesn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
So you say, hey, you're being drafted, but you clearly don't want to do this, so we're going to go have you just get a job. Or not even that. They're going to say the jobs that are available right now are typically in industry and manufacturing. I again, don't know that it's a perfect solution, but imagine you see all these videos of people go to Times Square and they ask questions like, I love this one. Name a country that starts with the letter U. It's the funniest question I've ever heard. And people are like, and then they're like, you can't think. I know you're like, what? And then the guy goes, United States of America. Like, dude, they don't know.
They're stupid. They're really stupid.
They're voting.
Yeah.
They're voting.
Okay. The thing that's weird for that is that, first of all, like, I mean, I guess I didn't think of the United States of America as number one. I just think of like America. Number two, like this is there's an irony in Tim talking about how dumb people are as he falls for something that only dumb people fall for, and that's what I call on the street content. On the street content is I'm gonna go out for 5 hours and ask people questions, and I'm gonna edit that down to 10 minutes, and it's like, wow, it's crazy how if you talk to 500 people in a day, 5 of them will say something stupid. Like, okay, like, wow, what a hot take! Holy shit, I'm fucking coming.
And then they're voting on
I would have said Uganda too, sure.
behalf of you, and you could be drafted. So I'm just like, if I have a civic responsibility, I don't know why these people who don't care don't pay attention.
Well, I think that's a good way to get around it. I like your idea because the people that are voting actually have authority and responsibility. But I could already see the feminists protesting and saying this is sexist and misogynist, blah blah blah. Like, this is just a way for us to not vote. But
taxes,
it's like, no,
would taxes at least not be some responsibility though? I mean, like I hate taxes, but like, is that not a civic duty to pay taxes? Like, is that not enough of a buy-in?
I think that the current system we have regarding the selective service is unconstitutional.
Why?
I don't know if the solution is just to say, okay, to make it equal, women can now be drafted too. I also don't think that taxation, there's already too many issues with modern monetary policy, modern monetary theory. Taxes don't actually pay for things. Taxes just pull money out of the market to control for inflation, and the government just prints and spends as they see fit.
Okay, so that's just a dumb thing. Taxes do pay for things. We do have an inflated deficit, right? Deficit, really quick, amount of money you're spending over the amount of money you're taking in, right? It is going up. It goes up under Republicans. You can't pretend to be fiscally responsible when you vote for people who literally go to the bank and just say, "Oop, I took out a $10,000 loan. That must mean that I made $10,000." Taxes do pay for things. Every single, like, the past 5 fucking Democratic presidents have been reducing our deficit to get a hold of our debt, and then the past 5 Republicans have been inflating our deficit and ruining the debt. Like, George Bush, I believe, inherited a surplus and he turned it into a $1.4 trillion annual federal deficit. It's incredible. It's almost impressive how fucking dumb he was, right? And Obama came in and he cut it in more than half. What the fuck you're babbling? You're a yapper. You're just yapping. You don't even know what you're saying. You don't understand. You have a conspiracy-esque mind. You have fucking conspiracy brain. What the fuck you're talking about? But okay, keep yapping.
The money supply is expanded upon the creation of debt.
Keep yapping.
Yeah, taxes aren't necessarily even paying for things. But I do agree in a very basic sense. You could argue, we all pay taxes, therefore we all get a say.
Yes.
Okay, fair point. You can't tell me I have to go die for you. End of story.
Fair.
And
okay, I agree.
Either abolish selective service and conscription outright,
sure,
or and I don't know that makes sense either. See, there's a bunch of problems with this.
The thing is we're never going to probably ever use the draft ever again in our entire lives. It existed because we used to need it, and now we don't. Most wars are not fought in this traditional way of like on the ground. A lot of it's fought through other countries. We usually do proxy wars with like Russia and stuff. That's what it comes down to. We don't really need the draft anymore. It's outdated. Its existence is just there. It just exists. That's it. It doesn't mean anything. It's just like outdated. It doesn't matter.
The draft as we know it in terms of Vietnam, we don't want that.
I'm playing hardcore World of Warcraft on the server Defias Pillager as an alliance. So that means if I die once, my character gets deleted. So that's a fun thing.
Yeah. That's why everyone's against it. This like, we're going to stop communism from spreading a different country. I don't care about Vietnam. I get it. Soviet Union was really bad. We don't want them to expand, but they collapsed in 69 years. However, if China lands a bunch of boats on the beaches of, I don't know, San Pedro or something, the major port.
Well, they're in Cuba right now.
Right, but it's not U.S. territory.
Yeah.
If they actually invade our territory, we're in the tri-state, West Virginia, Maryland, D.C. area. If a bunch of boats started crashing into D.C., I'd be like, tell me what I can do to help. Yeah. I'm not a fighter. I don't think it's effective to hand me a weapon. If they come,
okay, so you shouldn't vote, I guess.
Invading my homeland, tell me who is running the defenses, and I will do what I can to help. No question. That's what conscription was in the beginning.
Yeah. You would pay taxes, and then they would use that money to hire people who are actually capable. That's what they would probably have.
You're a guy working on a farm. They run up to you and say, we're being raided and attacked. They throw you a musket and say, let's go.
Well, that's why the Second Amendment was a thing, to quickly arm a militia.
Right. Nowadays, since the last draft, it was basically like, we're not going to tell you why.
Now it's just shoot kids in schools while police sit outside for 45 minutes not doing anything. By the way, I am like a supporter of people having guns, but we obviously need to restrict it to some degree. Have like a gun license or something.
We false flagged our way to justify the war to trick the American people into thinking it's necessary, and now we're going to force you to go fight. That's BS.
Yeah.
Because of that, we have to have a system in which you can't vote someone to go do that.
I agree.
And you look at what's happening with Joe Biden, and this gets a little political. It is a fact that women overwhelmingly vote Democrat.
Yes.
They also can't be drafted. They voted for a political party that is supporting war in Europe, which could lead to World War III. Men did too, but women.
Oh yeah. More anti-American shit. It's so crazy how anti-American Republicans are. Listen, Ukraine is one of our allies. Russia is not. They are antithetical to us. They do not believe in freedom of speech. They do not believe in the freedom to vote. They've had the same president for like 20-something years. Or maybe he's just a great president. They don't believe in freedom of speech. They're just not. They are antithetical to us. Ukraine, a little better. It's not quite there. A little better. That's it. Our ally needs help. We should help them. I mean, that's a very man thing to think. I understand that Tim Pool isn't necessarily a man. He's a little fucking goblin. But like, yeah, okay. He's not supporting. Like, he's acting like Biden wants to be there. No, it's because Russia is trying to steal territory from Ukraine. Russia historically has starved people out of Ukraine and implanted Russians to say we have a claim, and they don't, and they're losing the exchange. It's just like he's not supporting a war. The women aren't supporting a war. It's just the mentality he operates with is just stupidity. Especially since Biden ended a fucking war. They're supporting people who are staying in war. Biden ended the war. Right? He ended a war. So what do you I have to ask again, what are you babbling on about, brother? You're just fucking, you're a babbling brook.
And they're not responsible for the war.
Yeah.
So now we've got Joe Biden calling in the ready reserves and the select reserves. This is nuts. They called in people who have completed their contracts in the army. Mm-hmm. These are for those that don't understand, and I'm not an expert on this, I know.
Okay, I'm sure they're going to get paid.
Many of you may be veterans and may understand better. There are people who are like reservists, and we all know what that is.
Yeah.
They sign up, weekend warriors, whatever you want to call them, and they've been called in. Now you've got people who did their 4 years, they got out, honorable, administrative, whatever kind of discharge, and now they're being called back because there's an extension on the contract for, I think that's called ready reserves.
Yeah.
We are getting dangerously close
yes.
to them, and they're sending these people to Europe for war. Look, I know we're going to get heavily political here. We would not be there funding this if Donald Trump was president.
Thank you. I agree.
I'm not to say that to anybody who doesn't like.
Still be in a different war if Trump was president. Okay, I'm going to look into what he's talking about. Ordering the selected reserve and certain members of the individual ready reserve of the armed forces to active duty. Okay, so he's making preparations. By the authority vested in me. Okay, I don't know the specifics of that. Clearly, Tim doesn't either because he literally admitted to it. Okay, again, Russia's fucking with one of our allies and trying to take over part of a country. We can't let that happen. If they continuously spread their influence, that's bad for America and our allies. I mean, it's just he just doesn't get. I guess he just doesn't understand allies. I find it so interesting because fundamentally speaking, it's find it so interesting. Fresh and Fit will shit and fart all over their pants if they make if they talk to a guy and he doesn't instantly defend them, like the sneako level of unintelligence. But if it's America that has allies in another country, all of a sudden we shouldn't defend them. They don't adhere to their own logic. They're stupid. They're fucking dumb.
Trump, by all means, don't like him, but it is a fact. Republicans are split on the issue of war in Eastern Europe, whether you agree with it or not, and Democrats wholeheartedly are for it. There's an issue there that people like Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Democrats are arguing for the expansion of a conflict in a country 8,000 or some odd miles away.
They're not trying to expand it. They're trying to stop it, right? Like somebody in the chat made a good point. Russia's pulling the exact same crap that led up to World War II, like what Germany did. Letting them do that and waiting too long, much like we did in World War II, would be a lethal mistake. Yeah, there you go. If anything, you could argue it's prevention.
That could ultimately result in me being forced to go fight. I mean, I'm 37, so I'd be later on in the draft if it ever got to that. But I don't like the idea that overwhelmingly people who are not subject to those requirements are voting to send me to die.
Yeah, they're not going to deal with the consequences and the ramifications of their political choices, which is my.
If we don't intervene, it'd probably be worse.
My issue. Like if you're going to vote, then you need to have some skin in the game as well. And that's what I'm trying to say when I say, even though we said, hey, everyone, if you join in the draft, you get to vote or whatever. I could already see the feminists lobbying, well, this is sexist and blah, 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 because women are not going to be more prone to go to war. We should still be able to vote. And I'm like, well, I know for a fact by implementing that's disproportionately going to put most women in a situation where they won't be able to vote. I'm sorry, they're going to get mad and they're going to complain. But my thing is that, well, hey, maybe that's good because you keep out the people that don't care about this country. You keep out the people that aren't patriots.
Yeah, the reality is, like, not for nothing, but a lot of Republicans who are supporting Russia over America, in this instance, like Tim Pool, they just hate gay and trans people so much that they love that Russia hates them as well. And I'm not kidding. Like, this is like an actual thing. Like, it's just like this weird defense of Russia. It's like gargling the cum of authoritarian shit. Like, literally, like, this is why people call conservatives fucking bootlickers. Like, Tim Pool wants to gargle the cum of a fucking authoritarian piece of shit in Russia that wants to restrict people's freedoms. That's it. He loves cum. He loves gargling cum,
etc. And honestly, if you don't care about this country, you shouldn't be voting in the first place.
I know this is not personal by and large, but like we have a podcast, we do dating shows after hours with girls.
Yeah,
we have a common question to the girls. Name 2 countries. I can't even do that, bro.
Yeah, hey guys, we get 19-year-old OnlyFans girls who came here because they're fucking idiots, and we ask them questions, name 3 countries, and they're like, whoa, we don't know anything. Dude, like, they're fucking embarrassing. Holy shit.
So someone can you pick it?
That's the thing. Like, everything is generalized through
their vote counts.
Some of them are
their vote counts.
No, I agree with you on the teachers thing, but
I made a promise to myself.
They're just as dumb as any other 19-year-old boy. Well, probably not. They're people that they pull on are really stupid. They look for stupid people. They're marginally less intelligent than you, by the way. These guys are fucking idiots.
Professionals.
Look, listen, I used to ride a motorcycle all the time in Miami, right? I love riding a bike. My favorite thing to do. Every time I've been in an accident, it's been by a woman. Now, to be fair here, right?
Here's 4 guys.
I said I will not let a woman kill me willingly. But with the draft, I'm gonna get killed. And she can't even name the countries, bro. What the
No, hold on. Let me break that.
Damn, man.
I do think it's fair to say that you guys are probably surrounded by an average kind of person, which means you'll run into a lot of people who are not very learned, right? It may be the inverse that we do a political show here. Every woman we've had on the show has been able to name 3 countries. I have not encountered a single woman, on Culture War IRL.
Oh my God, an actual pushback from Tim Pool. Holy fuck.
Been like, I have no idea.
In fact, I'm going to start a podcast for High Value Dad, and I'm going to do my own dating show, and I'm going to have women on who are effing catches, who are women who high value men would be like.
Do it, pussy. Fucking pussy.
Lucky to have as
you're gonna be married,
bro.
Maybe so, but maybe not,
bro. If you can do that, kudos to you. I will join that.
I'll do it.
I'll get those women for myself.
Exactly.
Now, can you do every week? Coupon every week, bro.
Because I'm telling you, bro, like we bring in girls with master degrees, PhDs, etc. Very educated. They don't care about that stuff.
That doesn't mean anything.
But I'm just saying.
That
like,
says
the opposite to me.
But that's what I'm trying to explain is that, like, regardless of women's education level or her status or whatever, it doesn't change the fact that women generally aren't interested in a lot of the things that we're talking about right now.
I agree with
okay
that, and that is not to me. I think
some are, but
like war conspiracy theories, probably not. Yeah, I mean, the women are probably a little more interested in like maybe social programs to help. I mean, okay. I mean, you guys are babbling about shit you don't even understand. I mean, bro, the fucking buy-in must be low as fuck to become like a political anything. Holy shit, it's just fucking crazy.
But a majority aren't.
I would assume the average woman can name 3 countries. like Canada, United States, Mexico, not that hard. And you guys are laughing. I don't know. Maybe it's because you're the people you're on. But that being said,
they pull fucking morons in. Tim, push them a little harder. This is what I'm talking. Stop being a fucking pussy. I think that you're like you're gamma or not. Just be like, listen, that's obviously not true. Most women aren't. Most women can name 3 countries. Like, you guys live around a bunch of dumb fucking sugar babies who probably dropped out of high school to do OnlyFans, and that's why they're too stupid to be able to construct a fucking comprehensive, like an actual thought. Say something, Tim. Stop being a loser.
I'm not saying the average woman is a super genius. You know what I mean? I'm not like they're all going to be.
There's a lot of dumb dudes too.
I was about to say, as a society, we're pretty dumb at this point.
Yeah.
So one thing that really
both sides. Yeah,
both sides.
So one thing that came up that really pissed off a lot of feminists.
I like how it's like both sides now. Women are so dumb. Well, I don't think that's just women. Oh, well, maybe it's both sides. Okay.
Greater male variability hypothesis. You guys familiar with this? It means
no,
there are more male geniuses and more male morons.
Yeah.
Now think about what that must be like for a woman. The average guy you meet is stupider, is probably going to be stupider than you, but you're also going to run into a lot of guys who are smarter than you, right? It is. So we'll put it this way. Let's say, I hate doing bell curve math in my head for 2 different. You've got 100
I understand what he's talking about. Like the smartest people. I mean, I think the smartest person in the world is actually. Yes. Oh, okay. No, it's not. I'm thinking of highest IQ. Highest IQ. It was a woman. Yeah, it was this woman, this idiot. I'm just kidding. Right. Frankly, when it comes to intellect, honestly, I think that the reason why there's probably like a bigger diversity in intelligence, or there's a larger diversity in male intelligence and not so much for women and more consistent, I think it's because men or boys they struggle with the structure that's been like in place. I think there's a lot of people with like ADHD. Like, I was a rambunctious fucking kid. I was wild. When I was on Ritalin, I was a straight A honors student. When I came off of it, I dropped out of high school with straight A's because I just didn't want to like remain in the structure. I think that there's probably a lot to do with that. And the way that you would try to counter that is probably through better schooling. But my wife had a really awesome idea. She'd mentioned, she's like, when we have she mentioned to me, she's like, when we have kids, there's a few schools in our area where we live is like maybe a 15-minute walk. She's like, when our kids go to school, what I think that we should do is we should walk our kids to school every day, and so they get a little bit of that energy out. Because I think a lot of times too, and this is a Jordan Peterson point, I think it's very interesting. I think sometimes too, young boys have a lot of energy, and they may not even necessarily have ADHD. It's just like they need, maybe it's like the way that we teach people in society is a little incongruent to like actual success. Oh, dude, is my fucking computer? Did my fucking internet crash again? Oh my god, dude! This is insane. No, it didn't. Okay, am I still here? It sounds like I might still be here. My game was taking a poopies. Okay.
And 100 women. This means that for women, 60% are 100 IQ, 20% are 120, 20% are 80. But for men, 40 are going to be
the 100
IQ, and then 30 are going to be high, and 30 are going to be low.
Yeah.
That means women are typically, on average, going to experience either a guy who's smarter or a guy who's stupider.
Yeah.
That's something guys probably don't understand, especially if they are stupid.
Men dominate when it comes to the extremes of excellence and mediocrity. Men absolutely dominate. And here's the other thing too funny.
No, not mediocrity, failure.
Yeah. But that's
failure.
But then if you're going to acknowledge that women are more consistently more intelligent and men are consistently higher versus lower value, wouldn't you just be justifying the women who are passing on the lower value guys? I don't understand. Like, you would then what you're saying is like, oh, that's just the consequence of men existing.
Success are more extreme for men.
Yeah, I mean, like there's more. For example, there's more prisoners and more inmates that are men, but then there's also more geniuses and CEOs.
So we got to close the
we're on
prison
both
gap.
sides.
Yeah, well, men tend to be much more aggressive. So
we got to close the prison industrial gap. Too many men are in prison. We got to get that female.
Guess what? That starts with fathers in the home.
Agreed.
Present.
True.
Literally.
True, and this guy is advocating for
That's the start.
But then you got to ask yourself, who's destroying the families? It's feminism and women in general.
No, it's worthless shit fathers that don't want to take accountability. Again, everything is women's fault. It's never going to be the man's fault. They don't hold men accountable. They're pussies. They're fucking losers. They're cowards.
They're the ones initiating the divorce, so that's kind of what's going on.
I only half agree. I think it takes 2 to tango.
2 to tango.
Low value guys giving women money on OnlyFans is contributing to it.
And
as well.
also, let me tell you something. Like, women divorce men for a lot of different reasons, and sometimes maybe it's nefarious, but a lot of other times it's because the guys aren't shit. Like, the guys aren't pulling their weight. They're not true. They stop elevating themselves to be.
No, you don't. You think that most of the time it's the woman's fault.
Who she wants to be with. And so you can't just go into a marriage and think like, okay, now I'm married, it's done. Like, if you would compare me 10 years ago when I got married today to who I am now, you'd be like, damn, you're not the same person.
Which is why you need.
Yeah, I think that that's true too. I don't want to put it all on men, but like, I think that that's a big part of it too. You have to you can't stop trying. There's somebody that I know, I'm going to be very vague, that's going through a struggle with their marriage, right? And this is the struggle, right? Is that
there are things that she feels he needs to work on, and they want to go to a marriage counselor. And he feels there are things that she needs to work on, but he won't go to the marriage counselor because he said, I don't have to change anything. I go to work, I come home, and I don't cheat on you. That's all that matters. That's a low fucking bar. Right? So, and that's an anecdote, of course. But I think it's still something to be considered that I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but it's like an intuitive thing. I think women are more likely to work on a marriage than a man is. As a man. Right? I feel that way. I feel like women are more, they obviously are going to have a higher demand on the emotional attentiveness from a man. But they're also more likely to try to salvage a marriage than men. And I could just be wrong about that. You know, that's an intuitive thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think that would be true, because that's just what I notice. And I feel like a lot of men feel like, hey, I'm bringing the bare minimum. I make money, and I come home to you, and I don't cheat on you. And half the time, that's not even true. Sometimes that's true. That's all I need to do. I don't need to bring anything else. And I think that's part of it. You know, I think a lot of part of it is that there's a lot of young men who aren't prepared to offer more to society. They've been told that all they have to do is make money, and it's good. They have to come to the table with a lot more. They need to come to the table to be a little more intelligent, emotionally intelligent, especially, and like sexually intelligent. Honestly, you need to know how to satisfy a woman. That's like a meme of like, where's the clit? Where do you think that comes from? It comes from Fresh and Fit, because they don't know how to fucking satisfy a woman. These people literally think that pussies are gross. I'm not even kidding. These are things like I watch them too much. So
what experience? Because if you jump into that marriage without even know how to be a man, you're gonna lose.
Let me.
Unless, but not if you're constantly evolving. If you're constantly evolving, and getting better.
But I don't know as a young man I need to evolve. I know, hey, no, go to school, get a job, get married. That's all I know.
Correct.
So ultimately, you need experience with women to understand this is good, this is bad.
That women want
cool.
progression and they want to continue to grow.
But that's only part of the equation, because the biggest part of the equation is knowing who is the man that you're evolving to,
But you
become.
don't. Okay,
But the woman is just
18,
a tiny part of that
To be
equation.
fair here, 18 years old. Do you know who you want to be?
Of course not.
That's
no, women don't either.
what I'm saying. So ultimately, I need to know as a man from experience. Okay, this is good.
Yeah, but women have the same thing.
This is what I want in life. This is what I don't want in life.
They're making it seem like women know exactly what they want perfectly, and that men are just fucking babbling idiots. No, everybody's looking to what they want.
Okay, now I'm making a conscious choice to be this man. But if I don't know, I don't know.
100%.
So I'm gonna flip it on you.
Yeah.
Men are the cause of all the social problems, not women. Who made?
They enabled it. Yeah,
who made OnlyFans?
I agree. Yeah, they enabled
You're a
it.
feminist, aren't you?
Tim Stokely made OnlyFans. Tim Stokely's net worth is $120 million, according to a cursory Google search. I don't know if that's actually real. these
Holy.
net worth things typically overestimate.
He's rich,
or wrong. $1 million a day, apparently, or because OnlyFans continues to pave the way for people like Bad Baby to rake in $1 million a day. You want to know who made it? Yeah, Tim Stokely is the founder of it.
Yeah. Men absolutely enabled it. I agree.
And revel in it.
And now we're arguing that now we gotta what's the word that we keep using? You gotta
Repeal the 19th.
You can't vote now?
You gotta adapt to it now. So we created a mess. The men made the porn, the men made the OnlyFans, the men incentivized really bad behavior that creates women who are not.
I mean, it's true. Men create the OnlyFans because they're the ones consuming it.
Ideal mates. And
But
now we're saying
we can go deeper and we can say who authorized this, who wanted this to happen in America? Them boys.
who's that boy?
No.
Let me tell you about. I'm gonna start as grandiose as possible.
Okay.
Alfred, hear what he said. I don't know.
Behavior that creates women who are not ideal mates. And
But
now we're saying
we can go deeper and we can say who authorized this, who wanted this to happen in America? Them boys.
What? I don't understand the point.
who's that boy?
Let me tell you about. I'm gonna start as grandiose as possible.
Okay.
Alfred Nobel. You know what Alfred Nobel did?
I do not.
I believe he invented dynamite.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
And his idea was that miners,
Did you just say
people
no?
who are mining quarries and such,
Not the Epstein.
not the Epstein thing,
Okay.
it was safer. You go in and you're chipping away and rocks could fall, you could die. If you plant the explosives, you can then leave, get to safety, detonate, and now it breaks the rocks up.
Okay.
One day, a newspaper, I believe it was a newspaper, accidentally published his obituary in which they called him the Merchant of Death. And it terrified him that that's how he'd be remembered, so he created the Nobel Peace Prize. He was like, I gotta be remembered for something other than making an explosive that people are using to kill each other. I think it was like a Haymarket affair in Chicago, someone threw dynamite or something, and like, so you know, some bad things happen.
Them boys refers. Oh, really? Them boys refers to Jews. They were making like an anti-Semitic comment. Oh, I mean, I wouldn't. Really? Are you sure about that? I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. Okay, cool.
I'm looking at the history of OnlyFans, and it's just so sad. Tim Stokely got a loan from his father to start a subscription service for performers who can provide photos and clips to their fans. And 2 years later, it turned into the biggest premier prostitution platform in the world. I shouldn't say 2 years later it did. It was bought by a guy who owned My Free Cams. He acquired 75%, and OnlyFans has then turned into the preeminent hub of prostitution for the world.
Yeah. No,
Now, I don't think this guy was intending to do that, and he's very rich. So my point is not that Tim Stokely was like, I'm going to create this, deviant debauchery. He had good intentions.
Yep.
A musician could be like, hey guys, I know you're fans of the show. We got bonus member content. You can find it. And then a bunch of prostitutes were like, we're going to sell sex to guys for money, and that's what the platform is now. They say it's mainly used for pornographic creators.
Well, they could have just not allowed them on the platform, but they wanted to because they wanted to make. who cares? Like, not for nothing, but like the prostitute porn, the OnlyFans is a symptom of a greater problem of like literally the middle class not having options. Most women don't want to do OnlyFans. Most women aren't going to be able to sustain an OnlyFans. Like, when it really boils down to, it's just like it exists because it's hard. It's hard out there. More guys would do it if they could, right? So if you want women to stop doing fucking OnlyFans, then make it so that middle class jobs and the lower class jobs pay a little better. Okay. Okay, like when we're sitting here with like fucking like huge inflation issues, but like fucking CEOs are making tons of money. Like, maybe that's the problem.
I don't think that's correct. I think there's an overlap between porn and prostitution. When women provide menus for men, and they're doing it on Twitch. One woman got banned as a big story because she flashed her OnlyFans menu on Twitch so that guys could buy sex services. I'm telling you.
Wow.
Porn is, they make a video, they post it. They take pictures, they post it. Prostitution is, you hire someone to engage in a sex act for you, and that's what OnlyFans is.
Right, and like it is similar, but let's just be very clear that like the OnlyFans is significantly safer. Because you're not physically in a situation where you could be harmed, right? But sure, okay.
I get it. It's digital and online. There's no touching. People don't see each other. But these women are still being paid money for a sex act so that someone else can personally experience it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my point,
That's a good breakdown, Tim.
this guy, I wonder what his obituary is going to say. It's going to be, 50 years or whatever, and they're going to be like the guy who completely destroyed...
Revolutionized thoughtism.
And,
Thoughtism.
and his justification would probably be similar to the things that we're talking about this podcast.
I don't, bro.
In that, it's what society is. I gave it just was what it was.
I got to tell you, I think that's something someone tells themselves so they can sleep at night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I have to imagine that there's Citizen Kane. What was it, Rosebud or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
He's like lying on his deathbed, and then he like dropped the snow, or whatever, the rose or whatever, and then they're like, what was it? And he was like, he just wanted to sled. He just wanted to go back. I got to believe that there's so many people who started off with good intentions and then built the Death Star. You know what I mean? Like, this guy built the Death Star.
Oppenheimer.
Werner von Braun. The famous quote, the V2 rocket performed perfectly, just landed on the wrong planet. What a sick.
It is so interesting though, because like really the main focus is on shitting on women for having OnlyFans. Like, why don't you shit on the men for consuming it? Like, this is where it becomes like a feminism issue. Is where you have an issue of like some kind of pornography that has a negative impact on young men, and I think you can consume porn safely, but it can become unsafe to some capacity, and I think that's a lot of that happens when like you're young. Right? Like, I started looking at porn when I was young, and it sensitizes you, and I think that there's an issue there. But like the criticism is always on the women for doing it, and why isn't the criticism on the men for fucking buying it? And it really just isn't there. It's like this huge issue, like, oh, everything is feminism bad, everything is feminist bad. And it's like, why are you so adamant about blaming women for a problem, for a men's problem? It's just so interesting, because the entire dialogue primarily blames women for doing OnlyFans, but not for the men who engage in it. And even when they get pushed on it, they'll like, what did Fresh say before? Oh, men are going to do whatever they want anyway. We got to monitor the women because you think that men are fucking idiots.
Sad story. You know this guy's story?
I don't.
He dreamed of traveling space. He wanted to build rockets to go into outer space, and Hitler was just like, yeah, we can kill people with that. And so that's what he turned into.
Oh, yeah, that's brutal.
Bro, it's like so much, like the path to hell is paved with good intentions.
Well, and not to keep harping on this issue, but like that's kind of what I feel like for men, because we are so motivated by sex and by some of the things we're talking about, women and sex. If you make too much of your purpose about just that pleasure-seeking activity, I feel like you get to a certain point, and I've talked to these guys. Like, you talk to the guys who are getting ignored by women. I'll talk to the men who have had their families destroyed because, again, they got it in their system and they couldn't figure out how to get out of it. And whether that's
whether that's
cheating or porn or like whatever it is, like when you go down that path of the way it molds your mind and creates these neural pathways.
Yeah, but they're not being honest with their partner and saying, "Listen, baby, I love you, but I'm going to have other women." And most guys can't have that conversation with their girl.
That's just lying to yourself.
Because it's not going to happen. Women won't put up with it, and they're going to leave you. What are you talking about? This is how you know Myron is a baby. He's never dated a girl before. Bro, what are you talking about? No woman's going to put up with that. Oh, babe, I want to date other women. You're going to get divorced, and the woman's going to initiate it, and you probably won't. She's going to be like, wow, what a fucking scumbag. This guy's so terminally online. It's fucking embarrassing. Baby, I want to be in a fucking open relationship. Or I want to be... A good woman's not going to allow that shit to happen. It's just a fact. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I think it's okay to have like a relationship if you're open. That's fine. That's your boundary. But the reality is if a good woman's not going to let you be open. I don't know what to tell you. If you want to get a quality woman, she's just not going to, especially if it's one-sided. You know, if it's both-sided, maybe, but she's not going to let it happen. And frankly, if my wife ever would have like let that happen again, I think I would lose respect for her. I respect the fact that she's like, no, if you want to be with me, it's going to have to be monogamous. Okay. Like that. I respect it. Right. Like, and I've generated more respect for my wife because of these boundaries that we've put in. Because we had this conversation when we got married, like what we want to do. And like for a big thing with her is like if we get married, like I want to start, you know, taking progress into closing our relationship because that's just something I don't think I can do. And she's, what do you think about that? I said, let's do it. Let's try it. and I respect her for it. And like that, so if you don't set boundaries, like you're just not gonna happen. Like the good woman's not gonna let that shit fly. You know, that's fucking wild, bro. But you know, good luck, Myron. Good luck being happy, because I know you're. I mean, he is happy. He's gay. He's in love with men. That's not an insult. I mean, to him it would be because he's homophobic, but
that's who you are, and that's who you always have to be.
That's being honest with your woman and yourself.
It's accepting that you cannot rewire your brain and change the way you feel.
Let me ask you this. Hold on. Why is it that we prioritize the female sexual strategy, her being fulfilled, having a family, being happy, her getting what she wants, etc. But if a guy says, I want to have sexual options, have other women, that's demonized and you need to suppress your dick.
I'm all freedom. If your wife is cool with that and you guys want to...
You're just not going to get it to happen. I don't know what to tell you. So, sorry.
Engage in that.
You can do whatever you want. Go ahead and just say like, oh, I want to be open, but it's just not going to work out. Do whatever the fuck you want. It's just not going to work out. I don't know what to tell you. It's not really prioritizing the female dating strategy. It's called a compromise. The fuck are you on about? What are you saying?
But this is what I'm trying to say. This is what I'm trying to say. Most men that have options are going to want to enact on those options, and I think it's ludicrous that we say women should pursue happiness and they should be able to do what they want and get the fulfillment of a man.
You should just pursue it. Go find a person that will do that. Do whatever you want. Nobody's saying you can't. But you're not going to find a good woman. Good luck.
Men and women are fulfilled in different ways. Women are fulfilled through relationships and typically family and having the highest value guys.
Men are fulfilled through relationships. This is what I'm talking about. It's like anti-male propaganda. It's just baby brain bullshit. Men are fulfilled through relationships. They're not, because they're losers. They're cringe. Or like that's their preference. They're fulfilled through male relationships. They hate women so much that it's not going to fulfill them. That's really what it comes down to.
I disagree.
Men, real quick, men want to, in general, men are fulfilled by different ways, their purpose, etc. But one of the things guys want to do a lot of the times is they want to have
we're going to glaze over. You know, a man, it adds a lot of purpose to a man to have a family, right? Yeah, men are motivated by different things like purpose, but like, not for nothing, one of the greatest things my wife's provided me is purpose, like a motivational purpose. Family gives that purpose. You can't roll over that like it's a minute point. Yes, men want to fuck, but like men also want a purpose, and like having a family provides that purpose. What are you talking about?
Sexual variety. And my thing is, if a guy works to a certain point and he wants to have sexual variety and he's honest with his partner, he should absolutely
There's a lot that I want to do all the time. There's so much that I want to do. I have 2 young kids and a family. There's so much that I want to do. And I put a wall of discipline around because there are more important purposes and things that I need to do versus what I want to do. And I think I would love to do, like, when you have a child, I would love to redo this podcast. Because I think it's going to reorient the way you think about this issue.
I understand that, but I'm saying that but at the end of the day, you're still choosing to do that. What I'm saying is that we live in such a gynocentric society that we prioritize the female sexual strategy over the male sexual strategy.
You can be fulfilled.
Religion. What's so funny is that this is so funny. He's telling us that he really believes in the nuclear family, and then he's crying about the nuclear family. What are you talking about? The nuclear family is what you're calling the prioritization of the female strategy. It was religion created by men, but it was religion that created that. What are you talking about? You're making it. What are you saying? What are you talking about? It doesn't really, like, there are aspects, sure, I guess, but when like traditionally the whole idea is that the woman is the one that like has to do all the things and take care of the house and cook and clean, we're not really prioritizing women, not really. I mean, not for nothing, but it is still a normal thing for some husbands to get in relationships, and it happens more than you think, that are still expected to do all the traditional female roles, and then on top of that, expected to work because they need money. So I don't think that relationships are just female-centric, purely, in any real capacity. But okay.
Sexually with one partner.
No, most men absolutely want a variety of women. But we're designed for it. We're programmed for it. And I'm saying, look, guys, if a guy's gonna bust his ass and get to a certain point socioeconomically, physically, be attractive, and be able to get a girl and have a family, whatever, I think he should exercise options if he does, with being, if he wants to, with obviously letting his girl know and being honest. The problem is that
but the problem with when you say letting his girl know, you're implying that they're in a relationship, right? This is the problem. If you're a guy who builds yourself up and you want to find a relationship that's open or whatever, be my guest. Understand though, if you build yourself up while you're in a relationship with a woman, that woman is part of your success as a man, okay? That's what it comes down to. If you're a dude that's working 40, 50, 60 hours a week and you have a stay-at-home wife and she's cooking for you, she's cleaning for you, she's packing your lunches every day for when you go out, and she's doing all this other shit, she's the one that's like taking your kids to school, taking them to meetings, doing this and that and the other thing, you don't pretend that woman wasn't a significant aspect of your success. But there's no value for that because they're dumb. They don't value supportive structures. They only value like they're dumb, shallow idiots that don't see beyond like what's on the fucking surface level. They're literally babies with no depth perception. They don't look at a man and a woman and go, wow, like a really successful guy with a wife and go, wow, you know, I wonder what that woman did to support him. She's not 100% of everything, but she's a pretty considerable factor. They don't see that because they're literal babies that don't have depth perception. That's what it boils down to. They don't understand that. They can't see anything beyond like what's in front of their dumb fucking baby brains.
That most guys are not honest with their woman. They don't tell her what they really want to do. They do it behind her back. She finds out, and it causes issue. I think guys should be honest about it. And if they have the discipline and skill set to be able to build a family, make the money, etc., they should be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor.
A woman could actually respect a man. Like, I'm not talking about stay with him because he's rich and he's high value. You think a woman would be cool and respect a man deeply as the leader of the family? If he's
Absolutely, she'll respect him even more so. And I'll tell you why. Women are not the same as us. When a man is able to have sex with a bunch of different women, it's
they're so fucking stupid. What are you talking about? Women's gonna respect you more if you tell her you want to go fucking cheat on her, bro. Good luck. At this point, good luck. Everybody who listens to this advice is gonna be fucking single and miserable.
Social proof. Women are attracted to them. We are not the same. A woman will like you more when she knows that you picked her over the other girls versus she was your only option.
What are you talking about? Marriage is picking her over everybody else. What are you saying? What the fuck are you babbling about? You don't need to fuck other girls for her to know that you could potentially have other options. Giving yourself the idea that, listen, I believe in, basically abstractly, in some capacity, that there should always be a general fear for both partners that the other partner could leave them. Okay? Not that they want to. You shouldn't be like, oh, I'll leave you if you do this. That's ridiculous. But like, my wife is a very intelligent, very attractive woman, and I know that she could find somebody else. Right? She doesn't want to, but she could. Because of that, it motivates me to not stop trying to be a good man for her. I don't need to fuck other girls for her to feel that way about me as well. All I need to, what are you talking about? You're babbling. You're a babbling brook. Okay, you're a water. You're water. You're a stream. What are you just saying? Silly shit.
Women and men make very differently when it comes to intersexual dynamics. And women, I would argue, social proof is one of the most important factors when it comes to being attractive to women.
Do you think it would not be more attractive to have a man who has options and has people who want his attention, but he gives it all to her?
I mean, we can go on Machiavellian side.
Yes, that's exactly what a woman wants. Yes, thank you. Thank you. This guy fucking some sense there. Holy fuck.
No, well, here's the thing. Women do the best when they have competition anxiety.
Okay, but that doesn't mean you have to have sex with them. You can have competition and you can have, like,
what?
I'm sure I could go outside.
I would say men do well when they have competition. Does that mean that fucking women should be cheating on men? What are you talking about? People do well when they have competition, of course. Like, I wouldn't argue against that fundamental idea, but that doesn't mean that the competition needs to be sexual competition. It doesn't need to be fucking other people. What are you talking about? What the hell?
With the watch and figure out a way to get that competition, but do you have to actually engage in sex with other women to show that there is competition?
The watch is good.
I think it's up to the guy.
Requires binoculars or something.
It's a choice.
I think it's up to the guy. My thing is, my thing is that
guy.
I think that it's wild that we.
It's not up to the girl and the guy, just the guy.
Always prioritize what women want, but what guys want is always
prioritize.
And we tried to dictate them and say,
prioritize the family.
You discipline, blah blah blah. And it's like, no, I built the discipline to build myself up to even get to this point to even have choice.
Listen, I think we're both right, but as a man, you should make a choice to do what.
They don't discipline for shit. They sit and berate women. That's why they got demonetized. They haven't done anything at all of value. They didn't work hard. They did a podcast. What are you talking about? Okay, whatever.
Well,
I
hate to bring religion into this, but like you're a Christian, right?
Correct.
So in the Bible, who was the wisest man in recorded history in the Bible?
The oldest?
The wisest.
Oh, the wisest. You're gonna have to educate me.
King Solomon.
Okay.
What do you have? 1,000 wives.
Okay.
Once again, it's choice. Now, added to that as well, I'm not saying you need to do that because obviously.
This is awesome because literally the Bible preaches monogamy, but he's like, but this one guy wasn't monogamous and he was the smartest, and it was probably because he fucked women. Okay.
It's sinful to do that, but as a man, as you know, we have sin inside of us. So once again, we're gonna want to go there, be with other girls. So it's in us. Now to deal with that, once again, take your pick of the litter, make a choice, and get married.
My biggest thing is this.
That's it.
I just simply want to say this because I don't want people to sit here and be like, Myron's saying like, oh, I want to bang a bunch of chicks. No, if a guy wants to be monogamous, be monogamous. Yeah. Absolutely, more power to you. But I know after talking to literally,
dude, you're telling people that they have to have sex with 50 women. You're not saying this. This is you're pretending to be reasonable. You don't believe what you're saying. What are you talking about?
Really, thousands of men and knowing how men think, etc. We're way more like most guys do not want to be monogamous. So I say this: if you're going to go ahead and you have this itch and you want to scratch, etc., be honest with your partner, exercise your options, get to a point where you're attractive enough where you can even exercise your options. You got to get your money on point,
and then get like, yeah, do that. But they're going to break up with you.
Got to be attractive. This is why we have a whole playlist on making money. We have a whole playlist on getting in shape. We have a whole playlist on understanding female.
If you're not in a relationship and you build yourself up and you want to do that, be my guest. But it would be a real scumfuck move for you to be with a woman, especially for multiple years, who's helping support you and helping you grow yourself and your brand as who you are, and then you turn around and say, I'm going to leave you now that I have money, even though you are a significant portion of my success, because I want to fuck other girls. I think that that's a disgusting fucking scumfuck behavior. So, you know, you do you, but like people aren't going to respect you for that, and they shouldn't.
Nature, being attractive, and being a holistically attractive man in general. Once you achieve all these things and you have a woman by your side that you love, etc., and you're honest with her, look, I want to have other women, and you do it in a safe way, it can absolutely be done. But my thing is, I don't want guys to suppress what they want to do and follow the gynocentric model of, oh, be monogamous to one woman because you have to be when you busted your ass to get to a certain place to even attract this woman.
It's funny, yeah. When it comes to like, it's a sin to cheat, or it's a sin for men to cheat, but that's okay. But the sin of women doing OnlyFans, that's not okay, guys. It's terrible stuff.
First place, I want guys to be monogamous because they want to be.
This is the last thing I'll say. I don't want to drown on about this, but
yeah. I just want them to have choice. That's my thing.
I'm not saying that you're monogamous because the woman wants that and that's the way it has to be. I'm saying that you're going to have a more fulfilled life and a better purpose if you have a mutually respective relationship with a woman when you have children and you are a family unit. If I go out tomorrow and go bang some women and I go home and I tell my wife, she wouldn't deal with it. But like, I'm saying that the level of respect that I would lose would not be worth the damage that it would do to my family as a unit. So the monogamy is not because it's what you want to do or because it's what she wants.
What if you told her that in the onset of the relationship?
If she was fine with it, again, if she's fine with it, that's the freedom. I question whether or not like that's, maybe there are some women where that, I haven't seen it done well, is what I'm saying. I've not seen that model done.
Most women will share a man if the guy's high value enough. That's a dirty secret that women will never ever admit.
It depends on the kind of woman that you're talking about. And that's, I think we keep circling back to that. It depends on the kind of woman that you're talking about.
I'll give you this. So majority of women will not take that.
Well, let me,
but the ones that do are solid.
I want to go back to a point you were making, which adds to this, about how men, like women are fulfilled by relationships with men and by passions. I think men are object-oriented, women are subject-oriented in a general sense. Maybe it's only slightly skewing one way for men, but...
People versus things.
Right. That's why the famous, the trope in the meme is that a guy will take a picture of an object, a woman will take a picture of herself in front of the object. I mean, guys laugh at it.
No, it's true. It's true.
But you think about it this way. True. What matters more? That I have a big glass orb or the people I shared a moment with? For women, it's the people you share moments with. For guys, it's the thing. And you can argue pros and cons between that. A lot of guys will look at women like, I got a new video game, it's a picture of them, and they're like, oh, these women are so vain or whatever. But then you can also invert it and say, people matter more than the object in the first place. I'd rather have the picture of my friend and their experience. You know what I mean? But that being said, for a lot of
okay, Tim is trying to run defense for women. Probably at first.
Women, I think, social pressures play a role in whether or not they're going to stay with someone or not. It's about community because society around them has a very strong impact. This is why the data shows young females are overwhelmingly becoming depressed and having psychological issues due to Instagram that men are not, or young boys are not.
I just don't believe that. I believe that women are disproportionately having more issues with Instagram, specifically because women generally are judged more on their physicality. But I just don't believe that social media is not having a profoundly negative impact on men. Again, like Tinder is basically the social media having negative impact on men, making them very sexually focused. When you go on TikTok and you're seeing porn on your TikTok, that is social media, pushing a potential porn addiction onto you. I just don't believe the way that they're saying it. Men and women will have a negative relationship with it. Women have a big body image issue relationship with content, with social media. I absolutely agree with that 100%. But men are also seeing issues. I think they're manifesting themselves differently. And it's funny, the entire podcast is about the way that those issues are manifesting, which are men are having sex less, they're being in relationships less, they're more depressed. It's the same fucking thing. It's just happening in different ways.
For example, women started developing Tourette syndrome. I should say women, girls. On Instagram.
Wait, what?
Yeah, started developing Tourette syndrome because...
Oh, no, they didn't. They're pretending to have it. That's what he's referring to. Guys do it too.
So what happens is there's a prominent influencer...
This is just fundamentally the glorification of mental health and dumb bullshit way.
Tourette's. Gets like 100,000 plus followers and then has these tics where they're talking and they'll talk and then they'll talk. These young girls who are watching that start adapting that behavior.
I see what you mean.
There's a lot of social influences that are picked up through social
media. There are guys doing the same annoying bullshit on TikTok as well.
Media. Yeah. Filters are a big issue, but it's resulting in severe depression. Young boys don't experience the depression at the same level. There's a bunch of stories in the news about...
but they still experience it, just differently.
Like teenage girls will take a picture of themselves, then they'll track how many likes they get on it, and if it's below average, they'll delete it, and then take another one because they're feeling pain, like emotional distress at this decrease in the likes they're getting. This affects young boys in a similar way, but not the exact same way. Think about what that means for traditional society where you've got 1,000 people living in a small town, and it is expected because everyone has this social expectation of marriage. By the time you're 18 or 20 or whatever, you're going to buy a house, you're going to have a family, and this is the traditional world. Then you get a young woman who says, I'm not getting married, I want a job. She was shunned, it was painful, it was scary, she was a spinster and things like this. In these communities, the woman is being pressured, and I think it's a component of what's called enforced monogamy. Society has an expectation.
But it's changing now. We're pushing women towards education.
Now
it's the other way around.
Now,
what's the point he's making?
You've got on social media women being told, you see that viral meme where the young woman puts her finger through the ring and then it shows her cleaning dishes and she's like, oh.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, that came out of China.
Yeah.
Because that's that mentality that you don't want to be a wife. Like she looks all shocked, then she puts her
I think it's interesting.
Finger it again, and then she's scrubbing dishes.
It's interesting that they're taking that as, it's interesting the way that people interpret it. They're interpreting that as there's propaganda to tell women that being in a marriage is bad. I look at it more as like the general expected role from women is making them not want to be in marriage and then doing like some kind of commentary on it through some kind of a joke. which the joke would be like the ring of the marriage. To me, that's just like, oh, men need to bring more to the table. Okay.
Then she's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it flashes to her like pregnant, holding a baby and vacuuming and all sad looking. And then she takes the ring up with the gun and goes, no way.
And here's the thing. You said something really profound
But real
earlier.
quick, that's considered, people believe that's a psychological operation created in China to influence people in the West to destroy the family.
Yes, and you said something.
Or maybe it's just that some women are like, damn, I want to do more than just be a baby maker that's expected to do all of the house chores and just have like an absent fucking man in my life that just basically works and doesn't do any like the emotional aspect of it. Like, okay, you could go both ways with this.
Something before. We don't look at the beautiful things that women do, raising a family, being at home, taking care of the house, etc. I agree. That is beautiful. But here's the problem. Modern day women today, just by what you said, demonize it and say that it is bad. So since most women don't.
No, they don't. They don't say that it's bad. You're a fucking idiot. They say that they don't want to do it alone and they would like a man to help them. That's all that they say. They don't say like, oh my God, this is so bad, I shouldn't do this. They go like, it sucks that I'm expected to work just as much as a man, and then I also am expected to do all the cooking and all the cleaning and all the this and all of that as well. That's it. It's not like this one-to-one, like, oh, they're demonizing it. Not really. They just don't want to have to be the one that's solely responsible for doing the thing. That's it. Like, men need to come to the table with more. So I don't know what to tell you. It's not like the way that you're presenting the situation just isn't correct. It's not demonized to do these things. A little bit of help goes a long way. The woman shouldn't be expected to work and then do all the house chores as well. Help your wife, idiot. Like,
don't believe in the family. They don't believe in having a husband and having children, etc. They want to pursue a career instead. Guys need to adapt.
You can do both. My wife believes in both, but okay.
But so listen,
or demand better.
Or Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, but you gotta have expressly demanded.
Mark Zuckerberg tonight could go into the Instagram algorithm and be like, anything that's insulting.
So all this other guy has to do is push and say like, okay, do you think that men should do more chores around the house? And that's how you push him. You'd be like, no. It's like, okay, so then it's the man's problem, right? And then they'll be like, well, yeah, but if the man's working and then she's not, it's like, okay, but what if she's working as well? Should the man split the chores? That's how you would push him on that. Holy fuck, I'm getting dumpstered.
Family, anything that's insulting of motherhood, we downrank. And anything that cherishes women and how women want to live, we promote.
100%.
Changes it overnight.
We know why they're never going to do that?
No, never.
Mark Zuckerberg wants to have a bunch of women?
No. Here's why. Women are 80%.
So you're saying that Mark Zuckerberg should intentionally shift the algorithm to put propaganda, restrict the freedom of speech of people, basically, by forcing propaganda that bolsters what a traditional female values, instead of let the algorithm do its thing and generate the content that resonates more with people, because that's what's happening, right? Girls are like, I'm tired of XYZ, blah, 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 and then that resonates with women, and then that becomes more popular. That's usually how it works. They're trying to make it seem like there's a fucking government psyop creating this, but they're stinky poo-poo heads, and they're wrong. So
the consumer base, and they're far more likely to buy things, right? When you keep the genders divided, you're able to make more money. Feminism helps because it effectively doubled the workforce, okay, which allows for
suppressing wages.
Yeah, suppressing wages, and you're able to affect. Because think about this. I was talking about this with Fresh in the car.
Think about this.
Look at the jobs that still pay high that don't necessarily require college education. You're talking about trades. You're talking about jobs that are laborious, that are taxing, that are dangerous, etc.
Petroleum engineer.
Yes, but men are doing these jobs. Why? Because women don't want to do these jobs, but the wages are high in these job fields. Why? Because women don't enter those workforces. So effectively, you used to be able to raise a family back in the 1950s when traditional conservatism worked. With what you'd be able to raise a family on one income. Those days are gone because of feminism, and we've effectively doubled the workforce.
So just to be clear, like, there's probably some truth to that there is an increased labor force because both men and women are working. Absolutely. But now the conversation is like, okay, is everything perfect? No, you're never going to implement a solution that's perfect. You know, you implement a solution that has more pros than cons. The reality is, like, yeah, having more women in the workforce will maybe mean that there's going to be the ability to pay people less. For sure, but women want to work because, you know, when they don't get to work, they have no financial power and they get the shit beaten out of them and abused in a relationship. But more than that, if you think that the primary reason that you're seeing a reduction in wages is that, you're a fucking idiot. The primary reason is because of automation displacing like jobs and driving down wages exponentially. Oh, jobs pay less. Yeah, no shit, because you don't have to do as much. If you're a truck driver, GPSs exist. You'd be like, that's not a big deal. It's a fucking huge deal. A GPS makes it much more accessible for anybody to do a job. This is the kind of shit that's happening. In general, these are the types of things that are happening that are making it so that jobs are more accessible. Look at anything. Like, now there's less cashiers. Why? Because there's technology that displaces the need for a cashier. Like, these are things that are happening Jesus Christ. These are things that are happening. It's overwhelmingly technology reducing these things. It's overwhelmingly massive tax breaks for rich people so that they're not taking that money and reinvesting it into other people. You sit here and be like, oh, it's because women work. Really? It's because women work? No, it's not because women work. The overwhelming majority is because technology is displacing jobs and driving down wages. You can't leave your house without seeing some way that technology has displaced a job. Everybody watching this stream, back in the day, you'd have to go to like a town hall or some kind of public place in order for you to be able to do what I'm doing now. This is something that was like only newscasters were allowed to do. Now, the accessibility of the internet, it's going to shift the dynamic. You go to McDonald's, there's fewer workers there. Why? Because there's more automation there. Same thing at fucking Walmart. Walmart's like really been like on like a fucking kick to try to get rid of people. This shit's happening all the time. There's a constant like reduction in wages everywhere. It's not because women. It's because of like all the fucking technology. Look at Uber. How much did taxi drivers? It's a huge buy-in to be a taxi driver. You have to pay like $1 million for like your medallion. But you become a taxi driver, you have to have a pretty high amount of like infrastructure there. Uber drivers, all you need is a decent car. Done. Technology's the thing driving down wages. And who's collecting most of the money on this? It's not the fucking Uber driver. It's the person that made the app. So.
And one more thing, women are 80% of the consumer base, but they control 3/4 of the debt. So they're incentivized to keep women single because
what does that mean? They control 3/4 of the debt?
Women are by nature consumers. Men are creators.
So there's
what?
Just real quick, because you made a very good point here, and this is because America's under attack. The family is under attack 100%. The man.
You guys would be the ones that are attacking the family. What are you talking about? You're the ones that are advocating against the nuclear family. Like that's a fact. Like what they teach men is to be against the nuclear family, whether they want to admit it or not.
Needs to be removed. Woman needs to be independent. So she's the one seen as the goddess, whatever. The trilogy. The point is that like right now, TikTok, social media itself is a huge, I want to say, detriment to our well-being, and we use it every single day. But how do you stop it? I don't know, but it's on rapid fire.
Yeah.
So you guys are familiar with the glass ceiling. Yeah. Obviously, everybody knows. Yeah. It's this idea that women can't rise to certain levels or whatever. That I actually think
it's a lie.
I think it's a myth.
Yeah.
I think it's born of the greater male variability phenomenon. So what happens is if there are more stupid men, nobody pays attention to them. If there are more exceptional men, I'm talking relative to women, what happens is if you've got 60 women who are average, 20 who are exceptional, 20 who are morons, but 30 exceptional men, this means that there is a imbalance in competition among the best women and the best men. If there are more men, then mathematically there will be more men in higher positions.
Yes.
Women then perceive that, feminists then perceive that as they can't get past the glass ceiling. They're being held down by patriarchy when it's actually just a component of like the skewing towards, like here's my point. There's something called the glass floor. And this is something that's never brought up by feminists because, like you said, they want CEOs.
So Tim is kind of babbling on. Just kind of doing his babbling thing. So to be very clear, like there used to be a big glass ceiling, and it's going away. When women literally used to just not be able to do certain jobs, you're just babbling on, like pretending like history doesn't exist. And even now, there are some men who are in positions of power who grow up in older generation who are more like racist and sexist, and that's just kind of how it is, and they'll eventually die and it'll change, who will be exclusionary of women in some capacity. There are also societal teachings that teach when women advocate for themselves, they're bitches, but when men advocate for themselves, they're just strong leaders. There are a few things, I'd say argue mostly social, and there's like somewhat of a glass ceiling. It is going away, right? Like I don't sit here and be like, we don't really have to do more. Things are kind of slowly shifting. Although you have male movements like this, which are really anti-women movements that are basically just trying to shame women out of working. It's bizarre. But yeah, that's what it used to be. Not so much anymore. Like it doesn't exist so much, at least not the same as it used to. So Jesus Christ. But yeah, and now things are changing. But like the history exists. I don't know why you're just ignoring that.
No jobs in their conditioning, but they don't want to work as petroleum.
Yes.
The glass floor is that. Or I don't even know if the glass floor is the appropriate way to describe it. It's where men typically have a harder time making money at younger ages and entering the workforce than women.
Yeah.
For example, entry-level positions in a mailroom, secretary jobs, not prestigious, but they might pay a low salary, typically go to women.
Okay, you want to know what's so funny about that, though? Those jobs are going away because of automation. It's one of the big things when it comes to, like, lawyers. That some of the shit that they would normally do to... a lot of the work that lawyers would typically do with an internship are being automated away, like a lot of like busy work. I would argue that some of that probably has to do with that as well. But okay, sure. But like you just said, it was like entry-level positions. It's lower wage positions. Men don't have this problem once they get like 30 plus. The women tend to do better. Like I think it's up till 28.
Positions, service jobs in general, which require less skills and they pay decently for young people, typically go to women.
Absolutely.
A good example is serving jobs. Restaurants are more likely to hire women to be servers than men, just on average, not always. And what happens? Women will make tips that will average maybe in some areas 15, 20 bucks an hour. A guy will be lucky to get a job as an apprentice in heating and air conditioning for minimum wage. So when it comes to
okay, but the men are still doing better overall, right? So what you're saying is when women are younger and if they take jobs that aren't going to lead to a big career, they do really well. But then the women have like access to jobs that are tip based. Okay, you've admitted that this isn't like the status quo. Holy fuck, I'm getting dumpstered. Okay.
There's a whole range of dynamics that happen here. The first thing I'll add is it's never talked about in terms of feminism because they don't want to talk about how it's actually easier for them to get started but harder to advance based on these issues.
I go for
because these jobs don't seem to have advancement issues to it. But okay.
further. See, in my book, Why Women Deserve Less, which I literally I got a good plug here. I have a book called Why Women Deserve Less. I go into detail about this as to why, because feminists will go ahead and make this crap up about the glass ceiling, the patriarchy, blah blah blah. No, what we have to do here is we have to deal with female choice. In general, women just choose to do jobs that are less laborious, they're more air conditioned, they're safer, etc. Women don't want to go into industry jobs. They don't want to go into science, technology, engineering, and
some of that's true, but there's also jobs that women tend to gravitate towards that aren't paid as well, that they should be paid better. Social work is an excellent excellent one. There are some jobs that women like should pay better. Social work jobs, like a huge amount of jobs. Even I would say care jobs, like babysitting and whatnot. I mean, you're literally helping raising a kid. They should get paid better. I think part of it is the lack of actually valuing any level of femininity in society. And I would argue again, social work hugely positively impactful.
Even though women dominate college attendance, they still choose to go into career fields that pay less. So the thing is this, women earn less in general because they deserve less because they choose to go into job fields that pay less. And here's the other funny part. We've seen it before. We brought a girl, I'll never forget this. She was in a plumbing school. She couldn't pass a test. One of the tests that they had was to was using a wrench to open up a valve or something like that. She couldn't do it. She failed, but they still passed her. Why? Because they needed women that bad in the workforce. I came from law enforcement. We had female-only recruitment events to get women on the job. Law enforcement does this all the time. Other job fields do this. Could you imagine if there was only a male recruiting event? It would be done. But we have all these incentives to get women into certain work fields that are male-dominated, but they still choose not to get into.
I can simplify for you.
Sure. But like just to imagine that they were doing it for men. Well, the reason they don't need to is because women were never excluded from these particular positions ever in society. So the idea is implementing a quota to try to get more women in there. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the best idea always. I'm just saying that's why there's obviously going to be a difference there. Okay, I'm just gonna get fucking dumpstered. My whole team is just
imagine
me, but okay.
You're on the third floor of a building. You can't see anything. Smoke everywhere. You feel heat all around. Raging fire roaring all around you. You are sweating and you are terrified. When all of a sudden, the door flies open and you look up and through the smoke you see a 100-pound woman.
Oh, I'm dead.
You know what I would prefer to see? I'd prefer to see a 6'5", ripped, bodybuilder, glistening man looking down with perfect teeth saying, "I got you, babe." Yeah. I'd be like, call me whatever you want. Get me out of this
Cradle me in your arms.
And the thing is that like.
Okay, and I'm sure, like I agree, of course. Okay, sure.
Right, they say this, right, glass ceiling, blah, 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 but the reality is women don't even...
I mean, I was going to say on the other hand, like, absolutely, but then there's also people who are going to prefer women in other fields as well. Like, when I get a nurse, I generally prefer a female nurse. I feel more comfortable. They're usually a little less rude. They're usually a little nicer. I prefer female doctors. They usually listen a little bit better. I'm not saying that I always do. I'm just saying that, like, people are going to have different preferences, and I think that women are, like, if I'm going to have a babysitter, I'm going to prefer a woman, generally speaking. You could say that's sexist or whatever, but I imagine that they would agree to some of those parts in some capacities. So, like, yeah, I mean, listen, people are going to prefer, like, in that case, absolutely, but there's going to be instances where it goes both ways. Why the fuck do I have no help? Holy fuck, my balls.
Even support women. Who goes to WNBA games? Nobody. Who cares about female soccer? Nobody. Because it sucks and it's not interesting. So the reality is that genders tend to fall into what they naturally do. If you look at the job fields, right, that are more socially oriented, dealing with people, women tend to dominate those jobs. Jobs that are more laborious, that are more difficult, that kind of suck, men will tend to go into those jobs. Why? Because men understand that there's a burden of performance on us. And
well, no, it's because men tend to gravitate towards infrastructure jobs. Like, men tend to enjoy working with their hands more than women. It's like men. Like, yeah, sure. I'm sure part of it has to do with men look at the jobs and like, oh, maybe that earns more money. I'm more likely to do that. But I also think that men just tend to gravitate towards things that are like more tinkering with their hands, where women aren't necessarily about that life. That's why you see more generally women in like social working jobs. But okay.
And our value is determined by our career, how much money we earn, and we're not able to have a family and even meet a woman if we don't reach a certain status. But women don't have that same burden. So women are able to pursue their dreams. They're able to go into lower paying jobs because they want to do it because the burden of performance isn't on them.
But I'll add two things. One, with all due respect to women, it must be insufferable to deal with aggressive, high testosterone morons because there's more of them than the average male. And like, you're going to get more morons and more exceptional guys. This means that women do, like the mansplaining phenomenon. Like, okay, I totally get it. There's going to be some really dumb but arrogant guy because he's raging with testosterone. And he's going to be thinking he's so smart when he's dumb as a box of rocks. And you got to understand, if there are 60 average women, in this curve and only 40 average men, that means there's a larger pool where smarter women are encountering dumb men who are saying stupid things to them that's condescending. So I totally get why that phenomenon exists. Right. Well, I'll wrap it with that, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's understandable, but it's funny because there's been polls on this and we've asked girls on the show this: would you prefer to work for a man or for a woman? And overwhelmingly, they choose to work for a man.
There was a really funny survey that found that when they asked CEOs of companies who would they rather hire, and they gave no names on the resumes, it was the male resumes without them knowing it was male or female. the female CEOs also chose males.
Yeah.
It was just like for whatever reason.
You can't rewire human nature. And I think that's I think what creates a lot of the chaos in this topic is that we are trying to reorient the way humans have behaved for
and I want to add something too. So
I mean, listen, when it comes to managers, I really don't care if it's a man or a woman. I've had good and bad experiences with both. I've probably had worse. I can't even say. I've had different experiences. When it came to one woman boss, I feel like she was the worst boss. I think that there are some women who struggle with, and I mentioned this before, part of it I think is that women tend to be considered bitchy when they're trying to put their foot down, but then I also think that some women will overcompensate and just be too rude or too mean or too aggressive when they're in managerial positions. In my experience, I don't think it's an inherent woman thing. I think there's like, it's a little more complicated than that, because I've also have like some of my best bosses that I've had were women that were like really nice. They were really effective. They weren't rude at all. They would talk to us with more respect. And so I think that like it's just, I don't know, I think that that's just kind of, I don't think it's specifically a man versus woman thing. I think it depends on a couple other factors as well. Because I've also had some real dog shit guys. Like the person who took away my fucking 2 weeks of my vacation and my benefits was a man, right? So like, yeah, I mean, I can see that generally speaking. My mom's even expressed some frustrations with working with women sometimes when she would work. I don't know if that's inherent to women, though. I feel like there's a lot of complicated structures or situations in place as well for some of these situations. But okay.
To what we're saying about when you talk about women deserve less, or your book or whatever.
Yeah.
The point I was making with the glass floor is something that most guys probably do experience is that you're going to get, the average guy's going to get a job and they're going to get low pay. I can speak to experience growing up for me. My friend who was doing trade work for like $10 an hour, and this other girl, like that was part of our friend group, made $200 a night for 4 hours as a server at a pizza restaurant.
Okay.
No skills required. The restaurant preferred to hire females as servers. Why? Guys will spend more. They'll buy more drinks. They'll tip better. Okay. And then the dudes who apply are told like, oh, we don't do that. I'll get personal with it too.
Okay. And that's cool for younger girls, I guess. But that guy literally is going to a trade school and he's going to make ridiculous amounts of money. So I think he's going to, like, what are they saying? Are they saying that because of that, these women won't fuck the guys or something? Or I'm not quite understanding, because in my experience, women just want a guy. In my experience, a woman that was dating a guy that didn't make a whole lot of money, but like was the apprentice for like HVAC or something, they're probably gonna be like, oh, that guy has the head on his shoulders. He's doing something. He's advancing. I don't think it's just monetarily. I think also part of it's like if she sees that the guy is like actually working towards something, I think that would probably speak well to it as well. But okay.
When I was working in Wrigleyville on Clark Street in Chicago, and I needed a job, I had been playing guitar on the street, outside of ball games, and in the subway. You got to get a permit to do it. But I was making like pretty good, like 17 to 30 bucks an hour jamming. But I'm like, but I need something consistent. I can't just go and like it's not the only thing I can do. I got to get a job. Every single establishment said outright, I'm going to be honest with you, bro, we only hire women. Why would a bar with a bunch of drunk 30-year-old guys want a 21-year-old dude working in any capacity in this?
Yeah.
They were like, look, we want the guys to see the cute waitress and come in and buy from us. Yeah. Finally, I found one spot. Like, I'm going around, I got resumes, I'm smart, and I'm like, bro, I will do any job. You want me to mop the floor, you want me to clean the basement, you want me to stack crates, I'll stack crates. Finally, some guy goes, all right, dude, I'll tell you what. I feel for you, man. I'll pay you $50 a night to just clear the glasses from the tables and keep your head down. And I was like, shook his hand, thank you so much. And then, what do I see? Behind the counter with no tray.
So this, it makes sense that exists in waitress jobs, some of them, like bartending jobs where most of the guys are drunk. This is a very specific scenario. Waiters and waitresses probably aren't going to see this issue in like an Applebee's, because it doesn't matter how much the person gets tipped. It's not going to mean anything. If anything, they want drunk guys to be flirting with the girl so that they'll be more likely to spend money. It's not really going to happen at like most waiter or waitress jobs. It's a very specific thing where this happens. So, but okay.
Training and no idea what a Manhattan even is. The women making $200-300 a night. Yeah. Now I got no beef. I've always been very individualist and more libertarian. Like I get what I can get, and the world is the way it is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here with a picket sign saying it's unfair that men hire women. No, I get it.
Yeah.
50-year-old guy owns a bar. 30-year-old guys like eye candy. That's what they're going to do. Yep. That's the glass floor. But the thing is, if in our society, in places like this, and I'm not saying it's absolute, I'm saying it's in general, feminists don't know this. They don't experience this. There was I think it was OkCupid.
Are you saying because of how they look?
No, I'm saying that. let me break it down.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, break it down.
There was a societal value analytical study done on how people treat each other and access to resources that found that young women are at what is described as social maximum.
Absolutely. Yep.
Sure. I mean, I believe that people are generally going to be more kind to women.
women having an advantage in society doesn't mean that they don't have disadvantages. Just like men having an advantage in society doesn't mean they don't have disadvantage. What's the point? Okay.
And young men are defined with social minimum.
Yeah.
Like the fact that young women will get prioritized for some jobs or get treated better because they're young women and they're attractive, and even if it's a subconscious idea to treat them better, like that exists. That doesn't remove the general idea historically that women have been removed from the ability to work jobs, right? Like this doesn't. It doesn't matter. In the same way where like men will generally get favored, I would say, at jobs for managerial positions, because like they said before, people perceive men as better managers, even if that's not necessarily true. I mean, I think that should be a mixture of personalities, masculine and feminine at a job, right? So like what you're saying, maybe I'm assuming, it sounds like the undertone of what you're saying is that women are actually privileged to a degree where they've never really been oppressed. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's kind of how it seems like you're talking. Where it's like there are male and female privileges. The problem that I have is that like when anybody focuses so much on like breaking down another group to bolster their own, if you're a male advocate and you're constantly talking about how women don't need X, Y, and Z, you're not a male advocate. You're just a professional. Like you just professionally shit on women. Like that's all it boils down to. Like men and women both have issues. They are different, and they should both be treated equally, or rather, they should both be listened to equally. So.
100%. Around 28 years old, it reaches the inflection point and the inversion.
Yep.
Where men who are now in their 30s have greater access to resources than women. As women age and become less desirable, again, not a dig on women.
That's interesting because we live to like 80, I think is the average age. So I think I'd rather be the guy that's like not doing well, and then at 30 I spike more than anything else.
This is what the data was suggesting. Then their access to resources declines. So what happens is an 18-year-old woman who enters the workforce is considered maximum social value. You're not going to get a CEO job, but you are going to be able to go on OnlyFans and make $1 million a day if you're one of the cream of the crop exceptional women doing porn.
Yep.
That's going to be the top of the top of the top. That's not even like your example with waitresses made sense because it's probably more accessible, but your example for OnlyFans is not, because most women attractive or like really even attractive women aren't necessarily going to do well on OnlyFans.
Because that's the maximum social value for women. Men value sex. Young men almost will never encounter a circumstance where at a young age, they're going to be able to just be a millionaire by going on being themselves.
Yeah.
They have to build something, work hard, which what you were saying.
Yep.
Two things happen.
Women aren't experiencing that either. There's just as many, if not more, fucking obnoxious, dumb fucking crypto bros than there are like OnlyFans girls making $1 million. So, okay, whatever.
For these women who have experienced in their life maximum social value, but are told all the time, boys have everything and they have nothing, they think the best is the worst. So what happens when they...
Well, nobody's really saying that though, right? Like again, TikTok feminism is saying that, but like generally speaking, like it's not like that in the real world. Where do you come from?
Get older and their access to resources decline. Society is falling apart and something is wrong, and feminism needs to rise to restore women to their place. Young men who've experienced gutter trash, who are more likely to be homeless, more likely to be victims of violent crime, less likely to find good jobs starting out, slowly start to experience life is good. Now they're getting access to more resources. This is around 28 years old.
Yep.
And so it rolls off their back. I've been punched, I've been kicked, I've been beaten down. This lady's complaining. I don't care, lady. You can have whatever you want. And this is a component of the society.
It comes down to simply to this. Privilege is invisible to those that have it. And women don't understand that they're given their $1 million up front.
Would that be funny though? Because by that logic, like you just don't realize that you have a privilege, Myron. Because honestly, he's an incredibly dumb fucking person that just managed to succeed incredibly in life. But hey, the irony is palatable. People with privilege don't see it. Wow, Myron. Just fucking look in the mirror, am I right?
Use the differences of a woman is the equivalent to a trust fund baby, whereas a man is a self-made millionaire. And then what ends up happening is, what I mean by that is that women get their value up front. When they turn 18 years old, they're effectively getting...
just to be clear, like nobody's like a self-made millionaire. The overwhelming majority of millionaires have parents that have very well off. It's a stepping stone. Even if their parents aren't millionaires, like a millionaire, somebody becoming a millionaire, especially at a young age, it's because their mom and dad did really well and gave them access to 1,000 different things that allow them to just continuously propagate wealth. Like that's most of the situations that are happening. Just to be like explicitly clear, these guys better be able to handle that.
Given access to $1 million, and it's up to them how they want to spend it. But then, they're 30 years old, single, at the bar, buying their own drinks, and then they say, "What the hell? Where did all the good men go?" I always say, women basically mature once to start to buy their own drinks at the bar.
And it's I want to make sure it's clear. We're not saying absolutely, but there is a social tendency.
In general,
and I'm not saying it's a good thing either.
In general, this is all in general.
Again, women want quality until the Transformers transform into their sports. Then at that point, they don't want it no more too. But again,
what the fuck are you talking about? We want equality until what are you talking about? Oh my God! No, women aren't saying they want to be treated exactly equally. Women are saying that they want to be able to have the same access to opportunities based on their fucking merit. Does it go too far sometimes? Sure. When they have like lower standards for women in some fields, I agree with that. Overall, it's just about fucking being able to do, like, if they are capable of doing a job, being able to do the job. You bring like again, it's just like I constantly need to like dig at trans women. You guys don't even know what it means to be a man. Stop talking about what it means to be a trans man or a trans woman. You guys take care of your own fucking field first.
Break that down. What do you mean?
Transformers. I don't want to say the word on YouTube.
Oh.
I mean, of course. Yeah.
It means as men entering the female sports. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
and they're absolutely destroying them.
I think it's true. Women tend to be communitarian. I think that's what you said.
Yeah.
And men tend to be meritocratic.
Even in Miami itself, like a lot of girls, they come to Miami thinking, oh, you know what, I'm gonna be taken care of. I'm gonna be taken care of by sugar daddy, whatever, or just have a better job. But they realize it's not that easy. And then what do they turn to? OnlyFans. I can go online, sell my feet pictures, make 100K. Or
Nobody. Jesus Christ, bro. Like again, do you think that people aren't? There are like almost nobody making $100,000 just selling their feet. Are some people doing it? Yes, sure, but they're making it seem like most women can get away with doing this. It's just such fucking dumb, idiot babies. Like, oh my god, you're just such a stupid person.
I mean, get month and be chilling.
Women get mad at me when I say that women in general have more opportunities and live life on easy mode. They get mad when I say that, but I truly mean if a girl's attractive or even mildly attractive, she's gonna have far more opportunities than a guy.
You know, it's actually as we're getting close to wrapping up. I'll just point this out.
Yeah,
please wrap up.
I think a large portion of the women we've had on Timcast IRL are in favor of repealing the 19th Amendment.
Oh, W women.
I'm not kidding.
W.
And it's like a joke where all of the guys will be like, no, there's like women should vote, and the women are like, no. And it's weird. But what I think is, I think a lot of
they even know. W.
No, but listen, women who are political and learned on a lot of these issues probably agree with the components. I don't think they'd agree with the solutions you propose. They would agree with the problems that are occurring. When you talk about women's value and all that, they'll completely agree with you on that. I think the women we have here would probably fall more to your camp about wanting to be married from looking at it holistically and generationally, but would also then be like, women shouldn't vote. It's kind of, I don't know, it's weird. I guess my point is, I think the political women we've had on the show, on our show, agree with you guys on the issues of social dynamics.
Yeah.
I doubt that, but
and again, like I said,
I'm assuming you just have a fucking moron conservative women then.
You know, feminism is a part of this and everything else like that. But yeah, I mean, it's simple. Like women have more opportunity now than they've ever had before because they're able to be
that's true
treated as equal while simultaneously still being able to get certain benefits and situations given to them simply because they're females.
I want to.
Men experience similar things, but okay.
I just want to make one point. Just because, I think a lot of
the only thing they're talking about is like the halo effect. It's like the halo effect of attractive young women. There's a halo effect, or in some capacity, for like men as well. Like people will look at you and have a certain perspective or a perception of you. It's the reason why like big tall guys, like obviously are going to be treated differently than like short guys. They're going to have different things to prove, right? I mean, it's just going to be like a generally different, it's just the general halo effect. But okay.
A lot of everything you guys are talking about comes down to societal programming of what we've been kind of trained by media and everything else to believe about how society should be today. And if you really, a lot of what you're saying is based on how your mind currently thinks, right? Of what you want and what it looks like it is. And all I want to try to get across before we wrap is like, do me a favor, do a little more digging into why you think the way you think, what experiences have led you.
Because because they're fucking idiots with too much money that don't understand what self-control is because they never got disciplined as a fucking child. That's what it is. There's nothing deep about these guys. They're glorified fucking idiots. They're babies. They're dumb. They watched too many James Bond movies. That's it.
You to that, and then also understand that your brain might be controlling you and not the other way around. A lot of people don't understand that they control the mind and they get to program the mind. The mind doesn't get to program you if you decide to do that. And so all of these things of the way women and men interact in the world, we're not slaves to it. We can chart our own path and our own mindset of what we want our relationships to look like. And again, if everybody's happy and healthy, that's good. But I don't want to get into such a binary generalization that men think that women are this way or men are this way.
Right, that's why I say like tendencies or not absolutes.
Yeah, but you also have to be able to look at trends and you also have to look at the world for the way that it is. And I would say our view on it and our adaptations is a very practical solution to dealing with a deregulated sexual marketplace where women have significantly changed. Like I think your strategy is very viable maybe 50, 60 years ago when women were different and you were more self-assured that you could find a woman that had family duties, that was more less promiscuous, had family values, was religious, there was social shame, there was social shame.
You ever hear the saying dress for the job you want? Very basic. If you want to be in a monogamous relationship with a good woman that's going to help you raise your kids, you're going to look for that and you're going to dress that way. If you're not going to want that and you're just going to want to fuck, you're going to do that as well. And you're going to attract people that are into those values. That's just the reality of the situation. You can reject it all you want. These guys are just justifying why they can go around and fuck women and pretend that it's somehow positive to, I don't know, the fucking family unit. It's not. This is why, like, Freshman Pit's biggest issue is that they're dumb little cowards that just can't admit they just want to fuck. They're not good for relationships. They're not good for marriage. They don't understand women. They have money. They know how to fuck. There's no level of intelligence with any of them. They're fucking morons. So
for being a hoe. There was not Instagram, there wasn't the internet, etc. But in today's modern day society where we live in a deregulated sexual marketplace, and what I mean by that is that you can literally hook up with anyone as long as there's age of consent, etc. Guys need to move differently and adapt to the normal.
Don't follow the trend though. Chart your own path. I think that's kind of my whole point. Like,
I get that.
You're following trend,
but you have to chart your own path. But here's the thing: if you're gonna go like MGTOW and not deal with women, that's cool. Then fine. But if you're gonna deal with the opposite gender and chart your own path, you have to be aware of what's in your path to a degree.
You need a better filter.
And see,
guys, stop finding girls on. Stop finding sugar babies. There you
I
go.
agree. You had many good points, bro. 100%. I'm glad you came to the show. I actually had a mention.
I agree with most of what you say.
But I will say this though. I will say this: it's good until it goes bad. So we're telling guys, understand the bad, so you can understand the good, and appreciate it. Ultimately speaking, bro, shout out to you for coming on. I appreciate your point of view as well.
Yeah.
And if
we agree on the family and the nuclear family is the backbone. We agree.
If you ever get divorced, tune into our podcast. Okay, cool.
No, I think Jason will be all right.
Yeah,
I think I'll be okay. You know,
He's got a lot of grandkids, and
it's gonna. You know, it really comes down to when you really make a commitment with somebody who is focused on like the families first over everything. Like we've had ups and downs and problems. Like marriage is not easy. Like do not let me fool you into thinking marriage is. We've had some hard things that we've had to go through. I mean, my son almost died when he was 18 months old, and so we've been through a lot. But like, it's really when you stop looking at what do I want, like what are the things that I'm desiring, and it becomes more of what are we building together. That's when it gets really exciting, and like it just like failure just becomes not an option.
No, you found a good one, and here's the important thing you just mentioned: duty, right? And in a marriage, here's the scary thing. We've had women come on our podcast and literally say, I left the marriage because I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
That's how so many modern day women think. They think marriage is about personal happiness. It's not about duty anymore. That's why I'm telling guys, find the girls that are willing to make it about duty and not personal happiness. Luckily for you, you found a girl that was about duty.
Wait. Wouldn't that be a woman who's like, I'm not going to sleep with you right away? We have to have like plans, boundaries, and duty?
No. I mean, I'm talking about the family preservation duty is what I mean.
Like, how are you going to find them if you're just banging them?
Well, no, hold on. Like, I see what you're saying, but wouldn't the ideal woman be the woman who says, I am not going to bang you?
No, I'll tell you why. Because, hold on.
No,
genuine desire.
He's going somewhere.
It goes both ways. Right. So ultimately, if I'm a guy, right, I like a girl, she looks great to me, I'm into her, off point. If a girl's going on a date with you, just trying to figure out, okay, is he actually a guy I want to be with? Is he going to be sexually appealing to me? He's actually going to be not turn me off? Okay, he passed all these barriers here, or I'll give him a shot. Now, if that happens.
Wait, what? Talking about? Holy fuck.
Hold on. Genuine desire.
He's going somewhere.
It goes both ways. Right. So ultimately, if I'm a guy, right, I like a girl, she looks great to me, I'm into her, off point. If a girl's going on a date with you, just trying to figure out, okay, is he actually a guy I want to be with? Is he going to be sexually appealing to me?
Yeah, you should both be doing that. You find somebody that looks attractive physically, and then you would try to figure out if you want to be with them long term. Is he suggesting that he already knows he wants to be with the girl? It sounds like what he's saying is like, I already know if I want to be with a girl or not the second that I see her, but these girls, they were trying to figure out if they actually want to be with me. What you're describing then is that you just want to fuck if you just look at how physically attractive they are, and then everything else is secondary.
He's actually going to be not turn me off. Okay, he passed all these barriers here, or I'll give him a shot. Now, if that happens the first day, second day, third date, cool. Now, if she makes you wait a week, a month, 2 months, why is she making you wait? Ask the question. It's because she doesn't see the value in you to say, you know what, he's worth me betting my
women leverage sex for compliance against men that they don't deem worthy. So I'm not telling you to like, if a girl doesn't give it to you, to like get rid of her. I'm not saying that. What I am saying though is that don't let a woman famoose you thinking I'm going to leverage sexuality against you for compliance and get resources and time.
Don't go on a date with a woman who's just hungry.
Yeah.
Bro, what you're saying is just like, don't waste your time on a woman who doesn't actually want to be with you. And you're trying to make it seem like provocative, profound advice, but it's just normal and boring. Yeah, no shit. You shouldn't be like, obviously, like if you're with a girl and for a month and like it's not going anywhere, you shouldn't be with them. Like, hot take, okay?
Pretty much. So many guys go out with these girls thinking that there's desire, but there really isn't.
Dude, girls are smart. Exactly. They know. Okay, I'll make them wait. Because guess what you'll think? I'm pure. I'm different. I guarantee you, Chad.
I mean, or the woman is making you wait because they don't want to fuck somebody on the first date, because then if the guy was only there for sex, he'll leave her. So they try to make him wait, and the idea is to vet them out. So if they wait 3 or 4 dates, the guy who's just sexually driven isn't going to engage with that. And then they realize like, oh, maybe this guy actually likes me. Like, you make it sound so fucking predatory. Like it's just so terminally online. It really is. It's just so weird, man. It's just like, no, the girls, they're making you wait because they're playing a game. Bro, they're making you wait because every other guy just fucks them and leave. Like, you're so dumb. Holy fuck, dude.
Down the street, they have to wait. First night. And he dumped her. Second day.
Negotiating in bad faith.
So it's like, who's really safe?
But I agree. If a guy can find a girl that's going to prioritize duty over her personal happiness, fantastic. But I think guys need to go out there and deal with a bunch of women to figure out who.
People in general should. I mean, like, your happiness should always be a factor, but sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do, and both men and women should be engaging in that. But okay. I'll play the fucking video.
Who that woman will be.
Run on. Any final thoughts? We'll wrap up and you guys want to shout anything out?
Yeah. Check us out on Rumble, rumble.com/freshfit. We're also on YouTube. And
I love that, by the way.
We got a huge...
Follow us on Rumble, but we're also on YouTube.
yeah. Shout out to Rumble, man.
Yeah.
And
we got a huge interview coming next month as well. Stay tuned for that.
Yep. And then we're going to talk to Tim as well because he's been trying to hide from us.
Yes, finally got him.
Interview.
Tim comes to Fort Lauderdale, right?
Yeah.
And surprisingly, he just leaves. But we're here too, man.
I was at Seminole playing poker.
Oh, man.
First of all, we had like 4 hours outside of work, and I was definitely going to the Hard Rock. I've seen too many Instagram videos. Like, it's gonna be so much fun. It was a blast.
Yeah, it's a big.
Come with us, man. We'll
crazy.
show you a good time in Miami too.
Yeah.
We got you, bro.
We're coming down in October
Okay.
for the event. I think we'll be there all week. Actually, we're gonna be there for a full week, and then we're doing a show. Actually, the tickets are on timcast.com. You guys should buy them. We got Patrick, Bet David, Don Trump Jr., Matt Gates, me and Luke Rutkowski as your hosts, and we're giving away a bunch of stuff sponsored by Public Square. Really excited for it.
That should be lit.
Yeah.
We should go, man.
Yeah, no, we'll probably pull up. Fort Lauderdale's about 30 minutes up, so yeah, we'll go. But yeah, guys, check us out, rumble.com/freshfit, and we're
we're in
on
Miami.
YouTube too. So
The event's in Miami.
yeah, no, we're
perfect.
Oh, okay, we definitely pull up.
So we get
Yeah.
VIP.
Probably there's no VIP, but you guys will probably just be hanging out backstage or something.
Yeah.
Cool.
If that is, I guess.
We'll pull up.
We'll figure it out.
We'll come, man. Support.
The only pitch I got, so highvaluedad.com is the new fatherhood group, and we are, I'm doing a lot more than talking. So we're actually just announced our first retreat. It's going to be elite. Like, so I went out and found some special ops guys who are like, 20-year Navy SEAL who did BUDS training, and a 160th Night Stalker pilot, like just really elite guys to put together the programming and really put together a really great plan to give
Where do
men,
they find this fucking random guy?
fathers, and business owners kind of their roadmap, their battle plan to kind of level up in their families and in their businesses. So
dope, man.
that'll be cool.
That's
So
awesome.
highvaluedad.com, it'll be in October 19th in Breckenridge, Colorado. So if you're interested, hit it up.
Right on. All right, everybody. Like I said, we got tickets available at timcast.com for
All right, I'm tapping out. This is fucking horrible.
the Miami look, and then we just only had it locked for a member. So
All right, I'm done. Cool segment. I'm done. This is fucking insane. Holy shit.